The story opens with a banner celebrating the school's 25th anniversary. A young man suddenly freezes, wide-eyed, thinking, "Don't tell me I just went back to right before the college entrance exam." In class 12A7 of number 1, an city high school, the familiar classroom and old faces make his scalp tingle. He grabs his head and stares at the blank test paper, completely confused, thinking if he really reincarnated, why not at least go back to college? Right then, information starts playing in his mind about Earth, once facing dungeon invasions from a world full of savage beasts. Those creatures would slip through cracks and invade, some strong enough to wipe out entire nations. To fight back, humanity created a beast awakening system to unlock personal talents. Those who awakened became humanity's greatest hope, their status far above normal people. Earth entered an era where strength ruled all, and a voice announced the transmigrator Yi-He had been confirmed and memories were being transferred. Back to reality, Yi-He was still stunned, thinking, "I'm a high school senior now?" Seeing his blank face, the class mocked him, calling Yi-He a useless idiot who still dared to dream of college. A sharp-tongued girl sneered and told him to drop out because his future would be at the very bottom. Yi-He thought calmly, just like in novels, there's always someone who leads the bullying. The original host lost his parents in high school, gave up on life, and his grades collapsed, dragging the class down. Yi-He sighed inwardly. The lazy one was the original host, yet he's the one taking the blame now. Just then, the teacher walked in and announced it was time for the gene awakening injection they trained 3 years for. He adjusted his glasses and warned those who never worked hard. Yi-He chuckled inside, that wasn't his problem. But then his gaze turned cold. Since he had this body now, he would settle all its debts. In the gene injection room, students gathered excitedly, guessing what beast they would awaken. Under pale blue light, the teacher slowly opened a suitcase. Inside were test tubes filled with blue liquid, the gene awakening serum made from countless beast genes. After injection, the body would choose a beast to awaken, and the stronger the physique, the higher the chance for a top-tier beast. The teacher told them to stay calm and endure the power before calling students up one by one. Needles pierced into the students one after another. Groans of pain filled the room as some collapsed, and others trembled violently, making Yi-He swallow hard. Finally, he went all in and stabbed the needle into his own neck, gritting his teeth as blue light glowed there. After a while, he felt something was wrong. Everyone else was in agony, but he felt nothing at all. The teacher noticed and stepped closer, while Yi-He forced a calm face and nervously asked if he got a defective serum. Right then, that annoying girl showed up again, laughing that Yi-He clearly failed his awakening. The whole class burst into laughter, saying a failed awakening meant his future was basically over. But the next second, Yi-He's face turned pale as his body shook violently, and a system panel appeared announcing an infinite monster template. The girl frowned, thinking he was just pretending because he failed. Suddenly, Yi-He's eyes changed, and a terrifying pressure spread out as he shouted for everyone to get away. Before anyone reacted, a massive explosion erupted behind him and shook the entire class. A gigantic ancient monster silhouette appeared, burning in overwhelming heat and roaring like doomsday itself. The shockwave blasted nearby students away, leaving everyone terrified and barely able to stand. Even the strongest students turned to look, including a fire-type girl staring in disbelief. A top Ica-type male student clenched his fists, clearly shaken by someone causing a bigger scene than him. The system displayed an A-rank legendary Godzilla template with atomic breath and a red evolution form, but compatibility was only at 3%. He stared at his hand and wondered if this was the golden finger meant for a protagonist. The students completely lost their composure, shocked that a single burst of aura had sent everyone flying. Even Wang Tongdong with a Tier 2 flame lizard was blown away, and people began guessing what terrifying beast Yi-He awakened. When things calmed down, Yi-He scratched his head awkwardly and apologized, saying he warned them already. The broadcast then announced all seniors had finished injections and should head to the stadium for bloodline testing. The scene shifted to the gene testing area, where beast bloodlines and martial levels would be verified. Each result caused an uproar, and one student awakened a Tier 3 insect bloodline and instantly rose to the top ranks. Then Chu Zhou, rank 1 in the grade, revealed 9th level martial apprentice and a Tier 3 ice demon dragon bloodline. Next was Miss Lu, also 9th level martial apprentice, but she awakened a rare Tier 4 nether sparrow bloodline that stunned everyone. Yi-He rested his chin and thought others had Tier 3 or 4 beasts, while his was labeled A-rank, which felt totally different. Just then, the speaker called Class 12A7 student Yi-He for testing, and he muttered if he really had to go that big. All eyes locked onto him with admiration and envy, proving once again that in this world, strength was everything. Yi-He slowly stepped into the testing room. Outside, the boys were still shouting excitedly, convinced his bloodline would shock the entire city high school. In another corner, a quiet boy watched everything, his deep eyes fixed on Yi-He as he thought this guy was worth waiting for. Soon, the final test result appeared. Yi from Class 12A7, 3rd level martial apprentice, beast bloodline unknown. The crowd exploded with laughter, saying even middle schoolers could beat him, and calling him a hopeless waste. Yet Yi walked out calmly, his expression strangely composed. He quickly realized Godzilla couldn't be detected by normal equipment, and the system showed new info about unlimited monster templates. Yi smirked. His system might be different, but it sounded insanely interesting. A chilling smile spread across his face as he thought, if pulls were unlimited, he could become the king of all monsters. The next morning, and city's sky was crystal clear as school life returned to normal. The thin teacher with round glasses frowned when Yi asked for leave to train on his own. Yi stood straight and said he had wasted too much time and now needed special training to catch up. The teacher warned him that without a solid foundation, passing the college exam was nearly impossible. But Yi insisted that as long as he worked hard with his awakened bloodline, he still had a chance, and the teacher finally agreed with a sigh. The scene shifted to the sunny streets of An City. Yi calculated that selling his house and compensation gave him over $1 million in assets, and he needed either higher martial rank or better compatibility. The system panel showed the infinite monster template, with Godzilla currently at 3 compatibility points. After thinking carefully, he realized the extra points came from the gene serum. His eyes lit up as he understood gene medicine could raise compatibility, meaning others trained to death, while he could just spend money. He immediately rushed to the An City Martial Center and scanned his student card at the entrance. But the moment he stepped inside, he froze. The place felt like a gathering of human-shaped monsters, all radiating heavy bloodline pressure. He could sense their surging vitality like volcanoes, and even hear beast-like roars within their blood. Yi smiled dangerously, muttering that both martial artists and beasts were future nourishment for Emperor Malara, and one day he would stand at the top of the food chain. While Yi was still looking around, a gentle voice suddenly called him from behind. He turned around and froze at the sight of a stunning girl with a captivating figure, teasing him for staring. Yi instantly blushed, apologized awkwardly, and said he came to buy gene serum but needed guidance. The girl tucked her hair behind her ear and explained gene serum was expensive and overuse could cause resistance. She added that experienced martial artists saved it for when their bloodline hit a limit, and the lowest tier cost 400,000 per tube. Yi's face darkened at the price, realizing his savings might only cover a few tubes, so he asked if there was any discount. She laughed, handed him a shiny business card, and introduced herself as Huangliang Li, saying her contact might offer him a deal. He accepted it like treasure, and thanked her repeatedly, while she smiled and said, maybe they would meet again. The scene shifted to the martial artist hospital. Standing at the payment counter with a bill over 1.4 million, Yi gritted his teeth and paid. He then spent another 250,000 at a weapon shop, watching his money vanish painfully fast. By nightfall, he returned to his tiny apartment in an old building. Sitting cross-legged, he trained as sweat poured down, and the system announced his Emperor Malara compatibility rose from 3 to 7, and his physique reached 7th level martial apprentice. Yi wiped his sweat and grinned, realizing 10 minutes of this equaled years of normal training. Laughing excitedly, he declared his next goal was to enter a secret realm. In this world, secret realms were ranked from E to S, and if An's rank lost control, it could mean humanity's extinction. At An City's rank realm number 3, Yi approached the entrance, noting it seemed deserted after years of overexploitation. He signed the life and death waiver without hesitation and received his pass. Standing before the spatial crack that looked like a giant eerie eye, Yi whispered that this was the entrance to the secret realm. The corner of his lips curled up, because in his mind, this was the starting point of the future Monster King. Without hesitation, Yi rushed straight into the crack. His body was dragged by an invisible vortex, like being thrown through twisted space into another world. Thud, Yi landed safely on the ground. Even so, the sight before him left him stunned. Countless colorful planets hung across the sky like gems in a cosmic sea. He stared upward like a child seeing a new world for the first time, realizing the secret realm was far beyond textbook descriptions. The ancient starry sky loomed above, while beneath his feet was a battlefield of life and death, and Yi smiled at the perfect stage. Suddenly, a red rabbit with vicious fangs revealed itself behind him, a first-year beast called the saber-tooth rabbit. Its ears twitched before it shot toward him like an arrow. Yi smirked, sidestepped easily, and grabbed its long ears like catching a naughty pet. With Emperor Molara's life sense ability active, nothing nearby could escape him. Crack! The rabbit's head exploded instantly in a spray of blood. A white beast core dropped, and Yi picked it up, noting it was worth about 1,000. But first-year beasts meant nothing to him. Now he wanted something stronger. Suddenly the ground trembled as a massive second-tier corpse demon worm burst from a crack behind him. Yi turned without fear, eyes shining with excitement as he drew his sword. Inside a rank realm number 3, the real fight began. He slashed hard, tearing into the worm's body as green blood splattered everywhere. Calmly, he observed that its back armor was tough, but its belly was its weak point. Enraged, the worm curled up and lunged back at incredible speed. Yi steadied himself and activated Lanshan Fist. A powerful force erupted from his hands, sending the giant creature flying like a kicked ball. The worm roared and spat dozens of spinning blade-like teeth toward him. Yi dodged in shock, muttering that even its teeth could be used as weapons. He barely avoided the deadly attack. But when he looked down, his favorite outfit had been sliced open, and he cursed furiously. Realizing a frontal clash was risky, he quickly reassessed and thought of another plan. His eyes suddenly lit up. His pupils turned deep blue as he roared, "Emperor Molara Bloodline, activate." In an instant, his physique rose to 21, his arm transformed into a massive claw, and a phantom demon beast roared behind him as green blood sprayed across the sky. Yi calculated that at this level he could dominate the worm, but the moment he exited the form, his body felt like it was about to explode from heat. He looked at his corroded battlesuit, and his face twisted instantly. He just bought it a few days ago for 2.5 million, and now a mere tier 2 beast had already turned it into scrap. That really hurt his wallet. Right then, his stomach growled like crazy. He froze for a second. Was it from overusing energy? First hunt ever, and he burned through fuel fast. Even worse, he forgot to bring food. As he searched his pockets for anything edible, Yi suddenly caught a strange scent. Wait, why does that smell so good? The culprit was the demon core from the corpse worm. The pale green crystal glowed softly and gave off an oddly tempting fragrance. Yi didn't even think twice. He opened his mouth and swallowed it whole. The system instantly popped up a notification. Compatibility with the Berserk Demon Emperor Lizard template increased from 7 to 7.3. It really went up. Yi nearly jumped in excitement. He had spent hundreds of thousands on gene potions for tiny boosts, and this one demon core gave him 0.3 in one go. A few more and it would equal a whole bottle. He stood there in tears, beast blood mixing with them at his feet. It looked tragic and ridiculous at the same time. Damn it, that was all money. Why did he even waste cash on potions before? But the mood lasted only seconds. He wiped his face and his eyes lit up, enough crying. Tonight, he would turn pain into results. His life magnetic field activated at once. A wave spread out from Yi like a biological scanner, sweeping across the entire forest. By noon the next day, Yi walked out of the secret realm still buzzing with excitement. Compatibility had reached 9, and his overall physique hit 15. White demon cores no longer worked on him, so selling them made more sense. At the exchange center, he placed 20 white demon cores and 1 green core on the table. The staff girl's eyes widened. A high schooler hunting this much? It sounded unreal. On the outside, Yi only smiled calmly, but inside he calculated fast. Rules said he had to hand over on 1/10 of the loot. With a green core included, 5 white ones were enough. Just like that, 200,000 Xia Nation coins went into his pocket. As he left, he even hummed. Money can't buy everything, but hunting sure feels better with it. At City's level secret realm number 4, the scene looked like post-apocalyptic ruins. Once glorious buildings were now broken concrete and dust everywhere. Beside the rubble stood a shiny old silver convertible. A man sat on it with arms crossed, smiling as he told Captain Lin that if they got the blood jade flower this time, the bounty mission would be cleared. The man with a greatsword on his back calmly replied that last time they had located it roughly, but Lao Chen was badly injured by a beast and couldn't join. The girl beside them frowned. Now they only had 5 people, while a D-level realm required at least 6. The buzzcut man nodded. The mood dipped for a second, but Lin He suddenly smiled and said he had found a replacement. The new member was Yi He. Everyone turned to look at him with doubt. Someone immediately asked, "You're only 9th stage martial apprentice?" Yi He casually picked his nose and said, "Yep, that's legit." But inside, he felt the pain of losing 100,000 to the black market for fake documents. They really ripped him off. Lin He glanced at the name on the papers and frowned slightly. The name sounded strange. Yi He shrugged and said it meant taking control. Suits his vibe pretty well. Lin He chuckled and dropped it. He said bluntly that Yi He's level didn't really qualify, but the team would treat this as a training chance, as long as he didn't become dead weight. Yi He gave a quick military salute and said understood. Honestly, he was satisfied. At least this team had some responsibility. The whole squad got into the car and headed straight into the secret realm. Their only target this time was the blood jade flower. The space around them shifted. Dust filled the sky and harsh winds lashed their faces. A vast desert stretched endlessly ahead. The leader said the locator showed the blood jade flower inside an oasis up front, guarded by a tier 2 general class beast. Yi looked back at the trail behind them and was stunned. Last time it was a lush rainforest. Now it turned into a sea of sand in a blink. This secret realm was pure lottery. No one knew what would show up next. Before Yi could think more, loud roars burst from both sides of the dunes. A pack of wolf-like demon beasts charged out at high speed. Someone in the team shouted in alarm, "Demon point rats," and were their target. The captain immediately ordered Hu Dae to handle it. The man at the back of the car stayed expressionless and slowly raised his weapon. Blades spun wildly in midair, dragging dazzling spirit light behind them. Every single one locked straight onto the heads of the charging beasts. Explosions rang out non-stop, like firecrackers going off in the middle of the desert. Hu Dae calmly reported it was done, like it was nothing. Yi almost clapped. Exploding flying knives like bombs? This quiet guy was actually terrifying. The car pushed forward for a bit longer. Then the team got out, and the scenery shifted from endless sand to dense forest. He asked why not drive straight to the oasis. The captain explained that the beasts there were extremely sensitive. Any noise would send them into a frenzy, so they had to move in quietly. He quickly assigned roles. Xiao would use a stun grenade to lure the target. Xiao Yu and Hu Dae would set traps. Lao Liao handled close combat. He would take it head-on. Then he smiled at Yi. As for you, just observe. Yi pouted and replied, sure, I'll just watch. The grenade was launched into the air and detonated. But instead of damage, it released a special pheromone, carrying the aura of a mightier beast, making monsters think their territory was invaded. Seconds later, a Tier 2 lightning dragon appeared. Its massive body looked like a moving tank, and its roar shook the entire area. The captain warned, it's here. At the same time, not far away. Amid piles of mutated rat corpses, a figure quietly appeared. It was a bald old man with a clearly sinister face. He picked up a blood-stained knife and licked the blade. His eyes flashed with madness, killing intent rising as he laughed like a lunatic. Suddenly, a terrifying roar thundered through the air. The massive Tier 2 beast charged in like a storm. Captain Lin reacted instantly, leaping into the air. His greatsword flashed and slashed down. One strike, and the beast's head hit the ground. Blood splattered everywhere. Xiao had just cheered when another voice came from behind, reporting the Earth Dragon was taken care of. Lin, he replied shortly. Good, now find the blood jade. But before he finished, a steel-hard scaled leg suddenly swept toward him from behind. A scream broke out at once. Yi was the first to react. He moved so fast the eye could barely follow. In a blink, he appeared above the captain, gathered all his strength, and smashed down with a punch like a falling mountain. The impact exploded like thunder. Rocks flew everywhere. Dust surged, and the ground shook like an earthquake. The entire team froze. Even Lin He's face changed. One thought flashed in his mind. A martial apprentice landing a critical hit on a Tier 2 beast and causing this much shockwave? Xiao stared wide-eyed. That was way too strong. Everyone rushed over to Yi in disbelief. Someone admitted his fist technique was insane. Yi just shrugged like it was nothing. Lin He seriously thanked him for saving his life and declared him an official teammate from now on. Yi muttered inside. At least that 100,000 for fake documents wasn't wasted. After they continued searching for a while, Lin He suddenly shouted in excitement. He found the target. The buzz-cut man ran over, holding up a blazing red crystal. Not only did they find the blood jade flower, they also got the Earth Dragon core. This was a jackpot. Xiao looked suspicious, but Yi stared with shining eyes, almost drooling. Lin He explained that blood jade could greatly boost compatibility with a monster template. The process was risky, but taking down the Earth Dragon and securing the blood jade meant a huge win. But before the joy could last, a cold stabbing sound echoed. Hu Dae suddenly drove a blade into Lin He's stomach. He smiled eerily and said, thinking about it won't change anything. The team instantly panicked, shouting for the captain. Lin He clutched his wound and tried to counterattack, but Hu Dae retreated fast. Gritting his teeth, he demanded, Hu Dae, what are you doing? Right then, the buzz-cut man stepped forward laughing like a madman. Isn't it obvious? We're cashing in big. Lin He stared at him. Huopeng. Yi frowned and asked quietly, wait, you guys know this bald dude? Xiao Yu gritted her teeth and explained that Huopeng specialized in ambushing martial artists inside secret realms to steal their loot. No one knew why he targeted them this time. Lin. He coughed up blood and shouted that the blade was poisoned. He glared at Hu Dae and demanded how he knew the blood jade's location, when even teammates only found out after entering the realm. The moment he saw that flash of light, he understood. During the earlier fight, Hu Dae had secretly planted something on his flying daggers. Hu Dae spun his knife and laughed arrogantly. He even mocked Yi, saying a college exam candidate should be studying, instead of hanging around with Bai Wuchang. Yi replied calmly like nothing happened. Exams? Of course, and his goal was very high. Huopeng's face instantly darkened. That clearly hit a nerve. He sneered. A guy who switches sides faster than flipping a pancake had no right to lecture anyone. He didn't bother talking anymore. Might as well send this nuisance on his way. Huopeng's teeth ground loudly, eyes icy. He turned to Hu Dae and ordered him to kill Yi. Hu Dae moved at once. Dozens of spirit-infused daggers tore through the air, forming a deadly net meant to shred Yi. But suddenly, a layer of blue light appeared around Yi. The daggers shattered on impact, like they hit solid steel. Before anyone could react, Hu Dae vanished. A warning shout rang out. He was preparing a sneak attack. In the next second, a scream came from above. Hu Dae dove down like a hawk, launching a crushing kick at Yi. Yi He showed no panic. He raised 2 fingers to his forehead and calmly said, "Perfect timing to test my new move." Blue spirit energy gathered at his fingertips and fired out as a sharp beam. In an instant, it pierced through Hude's chest. Before he could react, his body slammed to the ground, motionless. The entire team froze. Captain Lin's eyes widened in disbelief. A martial apprentice taking down Hude that easily? Yi He dusted off his hands, then made a finger gun gesture and blew imaginary smoke with pure mockery. Huopeng exploded in rage and demanded Yi He's identity. He was convinced Yi He had to be from some powerful clan. In the middle of the battlefield, Yi He stood firm without a hint of fear. He said he was from the Demon Emperor clan, then casually asked if Huopeng was about to kneel and beg. Huopeng's face turned red with fury. He roared that no matter what tricks Yi He had, he couldn't erase the realm gap. His martial skill activated. Behind him appeared the shadow of a massive black bear with crimson eyes and a savage aura. His muscles swelled violently. With a roar, he charged like a beast out of control. Yi He remained still. He smirked and struck first. A burst of energy shot straight at a vital spot, forcing a miserable scream out of Huopeng. Huopeng clutched his leg in agony, face twisted, almost in tears. Even so, he threw a giant punch at Yi He, but Yi He had already leaped into the air. Huopeng refused to give up and jumped after him. Yi He couldn't help but sigh. A Tier 2 martial artist was different. His internal energy was thick. That last hit wasn't enough. Both landed back on the ground, and Huopeng's massive palm slammed down instantly. But it hit nothing. Yi He had already circled behind him. His calm voice sounded like a death sentence. "My turn." Spirit energy surged into his arm. Air currents spiraled as he unleashed his fist technique. Punch after punch exploded like thunder, all crashing into Huopeng. His huge body trembled non-stop like a sandbag being tortured. Finally, even his reinforced form couldn't hold on. Huopeng reverted to normal, face swollen beyond recognition. The onlookers stood there with mouths open. This level of strength was just ridiculous. Huopeng staggered up, still unwilling to accept defeat. He gritted his teeth and accused Yi He of using poisonous tricks. Such methods were despicable. Yi He laughed, but his eyes turned cold. Countless people wanted him dead. Who did Huopeng think he was? Lost already and still talking big. Cut to the center of an city. Special aircraft flew overhead, dropping red flags marked with Martial Academy emblems. The square was packed with banners and festival energy. The broadcast announced that the entrance exam for City Martial University was about to begin. On the central stage, a commentator in a flashy golden suit held a mic and went live. He announced that this year's format was still real combat arena. Win and advance. Lose and you're out. The exam would last 3 days. The first 2 days were massive eliminations. All high school students would fight together. On the final day, the strongest would finally stand out. The commentator raised his hand, voice full of passion. The candidates carried humanity's future on their shoulders. Fight for yourselves and for the world. As he declared the opening, the entire stadium erupted in cheers. In every arena zone, battles exploded instantly. On Ring 1, 2 male students clashed fists and kicks like wild beasts locked in a cage. Ring 4 hadn't even started yet, but the tension between a boy and a girl was already thick. Something big was about to happen. Ring 6 was strange. Only Huang Tongtong stood on the stage. Her opponent, Yi He, was nowhere to be seen. The commentator frowned at the clock and repeated the rules. If Yi He failed to appear after the match began, he would lose by default. Huang Tongtong narrowed her eyes at the stands, growing angrier. Last tournament ruined her reputation. She planned to use the blazing fire lizard this time to take it all back, and now her opponent didn't even show up. The audience started whispering. Skipping the college exam match? That was embarrassing. Some even mocked that he was probably hiding under his blanket at home. Just as the referee was about to declare Yi He forfeited, something happened. Boom. A terrifying aura rushed toward the arena. From the distant sky, a powerful energy tore through the air. Spirit pressure pressed down, making the whole area tremble. Everyone looked up at once. The crowd froze in shock. Someone was flying over? How strong did you have to be to do that? The figure slammed down from above, impact kicking up dust everywhere. Even Huang Tongtong had to shield her eyes. Looks like the main character finally arrived. As the dust cleared, before Huang Tongtong could see clearly, something shot toward her face. It was the sole of Yi He's shoe. Bang! She was kicked straight into the air like a ball. Under the blazing sun, Yi He raised a hand to block the light and sighed in relief. Just made it in time. Any later and he'd have to retake the exam next year. Huang Tongtong crashed down and lay motionless, eyes wide, legs twitching. The loudspeaker quickly announced victory for Yi He. Even he blinked in confusion. That was it? The stands exploded. One kick and it was over. He dropped from the sky and ended it in seconds. No one saw that coming. Right then, the system activated. Stats flashed before Yi He's eyes. His new physique compatibility had risen significantly. He smiled slightly. The blood jade really worked. Now he could just enjoy the show. A few matches later, the rankings updated quickly. Long Tao from City No. 4 High faced Yi He from City No. 1 High. The result was the same, Yi He won. Then Long Dao from City No. 3 High stepped up. The outcome didn't change. Yi He still won. The entire stadium felt like it would explode. Every match ended with a single kick. No extra second needed. Pure strength crushing all doubt. The announcement echoed again. Yi He from City Number 1 High had secured 3 consecutive victories and officially advanced to the 3rd elimination round. The moment he stepped off the arena, representatives from various universities swarmed him like bees, each trying to recruit him. Some invited him to Dongshan. Others offered full scholarships and generous benefits. Everyone wanted a promising martial artist like Yi He. Yi He simply smiled, a faint unreadable glint in his eyes. After adjusting his collar, he answered seriously. His goal was Huadu University. The atmosphere changed instantly. The same people who were warm just seconds ago turned cold. Some mocked his confidence before even reaching the finals. Others smirked and told him to call them if he failed later. Yi He could only smile helplessly. After all, Huadu University was the peak of the martial world, top 5 globally, and the dream of countless students. In a small city like An City, only a handful could enter that place. Yi He looked up at the sky and smirked. In the martial world, strength speaks. Once he held the championship, no one would dare question him. Before he could enjoy the momentum, 2 men in suits walked toward him. Their serious faces looked like they were about to start a military briefing. One showed his badge and coldly requested a strength inspection. Yi He calmly stretched out his hand. After the scan, the bald man's eyes widened in shock. Half a month ago, you were 3rd stage, martial apprentice. Now you're 9th stage? Yi, he crossed his arms and asked back, are you accusing me of cheating? Instead of answering, the man questioned his frequent visits to 11 secret realms before the exam. Yi He let out a breath, a hint of loneliness flashing across his face. Before his father passed away, he said if you want to break human limits, you must pay a price. Since then, Yi He kept diving into secret realms, forcing himself to evolve through battle. The 2 men stared at him like they had heard something unreal. Unlocking gene potential? For real? Their faces turned pale. They hurried off to report to higher authorities. Yi, he stood there, feeling strange. Looks like he had just landed on someone's watch list. During the break, Yi He scrolled through his phone. The internet was full of encouragement videos. Fathers cheering their sons on, mothers gently saying, just do your best. Even uncles promising celebration parties if they passed. Yi He leaned back in his chair, eyes slowly dimming, and sighed. He remembered the family interview segment. His heart felt empty. No one stood behind him. No one truly cared. But far away, his former homeroom teacher was quietly watching the screen and murmured sincerely, Yi He, keep going. I'm always watching. Just then, the loudspeaker pulled him back to reality. The next match was about to begin. Yi He from City Number 1 High versus Luo Xuan from City Number 3 High. The moment Luo Xuan's name was announced, the stadium erupted. He was the top senior of Number 3 High, 8th stage martial apprentice, and had awakened a Tier 2 beast bloodline. Both his parents were martial artists, a true seeded contender. On the stage, Yi He casually stretched like he just woke up and told his opponent to move first. Luo Xuan sneered, spirit energy bursting out. He asked if Yi He knew who he was, but whether he knew or not, the result wouldn't change. Yi He nodded seriously and replied, exactly, because the winner will still be me. Luo Xuan roared in anger and activated his martial skill. His arm mutated into a beast-like form and shot forward. The distance closed fast. Just a bit more and the punch would smash into Yi He's face. Crack. Yi He caught the punch with one hand. Spirit energy collided with a loud boom, but he only tilted his head in evaluation. Compared to that bald guy before, this lacks power. Luo Xuan screamed and dropped to his knees, like all his strength had been drained. Yi He slowly raised his hand, spirit energy gathering brightly. Boom. His palm slammed down, driving Luo Xuan straight into the arena floor. Cracks spread across the ground like spiderwebs. The loudspeaker immediately declared Yi He the winner. He dusted off his hands and smiled lightly. Do I even look like someone taking an exam? The stadium truly exploded. Another complete stomp. The number 1 seed Luo Xuan barely appeared before getting buried. Everyone stared in disbelief. One student grabbed his head, worldview shattered. Tier 2 beast bloodline and 8th stage martial apprentice sounded terrifying, yet he still got on shot. Yi, he stood calmly on stage, like drifting clouds, clearly leagues above the rest. Some girls even screamed that they wanted to have his babies. Another person shouted until his voice cracked. This time Yi He used his hand, but still only one move. Absolutely overpowered. Someone even swore they'd eat their shoes if Yi He didn't reach the finals. In a corner of the stands, a male student silently watched the entire match, then muttered to himself. His eyes were filled with pure determination. Yi He didn't disappoint him, but in the finals, he believed the winner would be himself. In the online admissions office of Huadu University, a stern man pointed at Yi He's image on the big screen. He ordered his team to get all of Yi He's information within 30 minutes. At the same time, another arena was already boiling. The referee hadn't even signaled yet, but the crowd was roaring. 2 genius goddesses were about to clash. Some fans were so hyped they even dropped their anonymous IDs. They swore this was a match you absolutely couldn't miss. One side was Liu Qingju, the precious daughter of the Liu family. The other was Jia Shaoling, the queen of number 2 high school. Ice versus fire. Just hearing that was enough to send the crowd crazy. The whistle blew. The battle officially began. Shaoling didn't wait a second. She charged like a storm and opened with a crushing kick. Then she mocked Qingju, curious how long that cold face could last. Facing that pressure, Qingju stayed silent. She calmly activated the Liu family's secret art. Streams of spiritual energy began to move. They twisted into a vortex and wrapped around Shaoling's legs. A strange pulling force dragged her back several steps. Shaoling frowned. Her eyes turned serious. She was done playing around. She closed the distance and threw a heavy punch at Qingju, but the moment it landed, the swirling energy locked her fist in place. Shaoling's expression changed instantly. She realized she had walked straight into a trap. Qingju remained calm as ever. Then she unleashed the Xuanwang Hunyuan strike. The palm force crashed down like a tidal wave. The commentator almost blew out his mic. A high schooler using a Xuanhuang martial skill? That level of talent would make top universities fight over her. But Shaoling refused to fall. She gritted her teeth and activated her bloodline power. In an instant, her body transformed. A massive phantom tiger appeared behind her, roaring as if tearing the air apart. The arena exploded. It was the Tier 3 Shock Shadow Tiger King bloodline, violent and rare, and she had full control over it. Shaoling smirked confidently at Qingju. She thought Qingju relied only on martial skills and kept forcing her to use the Nether Sparrow bloodline. Qingju simply replied, calm as ever, that this was already enough. The provocation hit nothing but air. Qingju didn't care at all. That indifference made Shaoling furious. Shaoling stopped talking. Spiritual energy gathered around her claws as she lunged forward. They collided like 2 bolts of lightning. Shaoling aimed a punch at that icy face, but Qingju dodged with ease. Shaoling cursed inwardly and spun around, launching a rapid series of kicks at Qingju's lower body. Qingju softly chanted. She raised her finger to her forehead and activated the Hunyuan Jade Finger. She quickly formed a hand seal and tapped directly into Shaoling's attack. A massive vortex of spiritual energy erupted like a tornado, swallowing the force whole. The commentator screamed out every secret art name as explosions thundered across the stage and dust covered the arena. The entire crowd stood up at once. Everyone wanted to see who was still standing. As the dust slowly cleared, one figure remained steady like a mountain. It was Liu Qingju. Someone muttered in disbelief that Jia Shaoling seemed to be in serious trouble. Her face turned purple. Then her body collapsed like a puppet with its strings cut. The arena completely exploded. Using only martial skills to defeat a 9th stage martial apprentice with a king-tier bloodline was unbelievable. The crowd chanted Qingju's name like a superstar. Some even revealed her bloodline was the Tier 4 Nether Sparrow. Against normal fighters, she probably wouldn't even feel a thing. Just as the hype hadn't settled, the big screen announced the quarterfinal draw of the 8 Kings tournament. Representing number 1 high school of Ansheng, Yi He stepped forward to draw his lot. A ball marked with the letter A appeared in his hand. Yi He raised it up for everyone to see. At that moment, a tall boy walked over with a friendly smile and said he also drew A. Looks like they were destined to fight. After a short intro, they confirmed each other's identities. Shen Guang laughed and said their match was second so they could warm up by watching the opener. Right then, the announcement for the first match echoed through the arena. On the screen, a sword-wielding boy was completely dominating. His strikes were lightning fast. His opponent didn't even understand what happened before being smashed into a blur. He was slightly surprised when he heard the name Chu Zhou. Turns out, he was also from number 1 high school of Ansheng. They were schoolmates. In the stands, the principal of Qingfeng Private School slammed the table in anger. Losing this badly right at the start was hard to accept. Yi He tilted his head and asked how that Luo Shi compared to Shen Guang. Shen Guang smiled confidently and introduced himself as the top martial artist of Qingfeng's senior class. He claimed even 2 of his teammates combined wouldn't match him. But after staring at Yi He for a moment, his gaze sharpened. He admitted the one who caught his attention most in this exam was Yi He. Since childhood, his instincts had been sharp, and Yi He felt like a sleeping volcano, hiding a monster side. He chuckled and said it was their turn to step onto the stage. The broadcast rang out. The top 8 contestants were about to begin the next battle. Shen Guang of Qingfeng Private School versus Yi He of number 1 High School of Ansheng. They stepped onto the stage and faced each other under blazing lights like a real battlefield. The host shouted into the mic, his voice almost breaking from the hype of this quarterfinal. On one side was Yi He, known as the One-Kick Superman. On the other was Shen Guang, heir to an ancient martial lineage. Before the audience could even settle, the stage erupted with terrifying pressure. Shockwaves swept across, forcing people to shield their faces, like it was the apocalypse. On stage, Shen Guang wiped the blood from his nose and smiled meaningfully. He was clearly testing Yi He's strength. His body glowed with golden light, like he was shining from within. Yi He analyzed quietly. That energy seemed to affect cells directly, while also forming a unique defensive layer around his body. Yi He smiled faintly. His eyes burned with excitement. This was the kind of opponent worth conquering. Shen Guang snorted and said he would now show Yi He the essence of his family's martial arts. The moment he spoke, he unleashed Xing Yi Quan. As his palm moved, a golden snake phantom shot forward like lightning. And it didn't stop there. The next move followed instantly. A massive beast phantom swept across the stage, blowing away the surrounding spiritual energy. Yi He could only think one thing, too fast. A mountain-heavy punch slammed straight into his stomach. The host nearly screamed as Yi He was hit head-on for the first time. The entire crowd held their breath as blood sprayed from Yi He's mouth. He dropped to one knee to steady himself, but was still pushed back a long distance. Shen Guang gave him no time to recover and chained another killer move. A raging bear phantom roared as crushing force pressed down on the stage. Yi He gritted his teeth and blocked, but his mind was racing. This wasn't just physical power. Shen Guang's martial energy invaded his body, causing double damage. He was on a completely different level. What shocked Yi He more was how flexible Shen Guang's arm was. His attack angles shifted non-stop like a speed cheat. In a blink, Shen Guang appeared behind him and locked him down. He whispered that Yi He was only half right. He could not only inject martial energy into others, but also seal theirs. As soon as he finished speaking, he flipped Yi He into the air like tossing a sack. But the combo wasn't over. Shen Guang leapt up and unleashed Tiger Smash. A fierce tiger phantom roared, tearing toward the sky. Mid-air, his figure shot upward at incredible speed. From below, he looked like a giant eagle spreading its wings to hunt. Shen Guang's roar echoed across the arena. He declared Yi He had no chance of beating him. The kick crashed down from the sky with a deafening explosion. The stage shook violently as smoke swallowed everything. Shen Guang landed in the dust and laughed with confidence. He believed that Xing Yi combo had sealed off all counterattacks. Even the host started wrapping it up, saying Yi He was basically done. Any normal martial artist would have lost half their life from that. But just as everyone thought it was over, something moved inside the smoke. Shen Guang's smile vanished. He turned sharply toward the disturbance. From deep within the haze, a pitch-black surge of spiritual energy erupted like a beast awakening and tore into the sky. As the dust thinned, Yi He's eyes appeared, cold enough to chill the spine. He admitted Shen Guang was strong, but this was only the beginning. Shen Guang froze on the spot, stammering. His mind nearly crashed at the sight. Yi He stepped forward slowly, his aura heavy like death itself. Shen Guang trembled, thinking only one thing. What kind of bloodline was this? In the central observation room, the judges' expressions all changed. System alarms suddenly blared. One judge widened his eyes as the energy index spiked beyond normal limits. The host announced the arena was sealed with specialized martial barriers to stop the energy from spreading. Yi He's true beast form wasn't in any database. The crowd below buzzed in shock. Everyone wondered where his bloodline came from. It clearly wasn't ordinary. Yi He understood better than anyone. There had never been any record of the Demo law in this world. Shen Guang had no time to think. Blood streamed from his nose, and his protective martial aura began to shake. The danger was real. Without hesitation, Shen Guang activated the Golden Crystal Ape bloodline. The host shouted in excitement. Another Tier 3 King level bloodline had appeared. Gathering all his strength, Shen Guang combined Xing Yi Quan with Snake Strike and charged like a hurricane. Yi He responded instantly with Lanshan Fist. The punch burst out like a sun rising in the arena, its light tearing apart all the smoke. As visibility returned, Shen Guang looked at his blood-covered arm in shock. If he had reacted a second slower, it might have been gone. So much for his earlier confidence. Across from him, Yi He stood firm as a mountain, calm and terrifying. He said Shen Guang was impressive, but the result would not change. Shen Guang's pupils shrank. This monster was on another level. The host nearly blew the speakers from screaming. This had turned into a clash of rare bloodlines. One Tier 3 King level, the other beyond system analysis. Shen Guang's mind spun wildly. After Yi He's eruption, facing him felt like staring into a bottomless ocean. While he was still thinking of a counter, Yi He rushed in like a storm and casually reminded him not to zone out. The words sounded light, but what followed was a brutal flurry of blows. Shen Guang immediately used Xing Yi Quan with Snake Strike to counter. His arm moved like a hunting serpent, wrapping around Yi He's arm to suppress him. But no matter how he pulled, Yi He didn't budge. Shen Guang gave a helpless smile. Direct strength wouldn't work. His real target was behind Yi He. The moment he finished speaking, he leapt into the air. A massive foot slammed down from above like the sky collapsing. The stage trembled violently as dust exploded everywhere. Shen Guang didn't relax. He quickly pulled back to widen the distance. When the dust cleared, Yi He was still standing there, not even a scratch on him. He slowly lifted his foot and crossed his arms, looking at Shen Guang like a teacher, staring at a rookie student. Blue spiritual energy gathered around Yi He. His aura surged. A big move was coming. But at that exact moment, Shen Guang suddenly shouted that he surrendered. He even dropped to his knees on the stage. Yi He froze for a few seconds, completely speechless. He had a whole combo ready, and his opponent just gave up. He lowered his hand and sighed, dispersing all the spiritual energy. Fine, this was enough. The light around him faded. His body returned to normal. He looked like someone who had finally dealt with a long headache. According to the rules, once someone admits defeat, the opponent must stop. The host immediately declared Yi He of Nober 1 High School of Ansheng the winner. With just that sentence, the arena exploded. Students, teachers, even parents shouted Brother Yi at the top of their lungs. Online, memes flooded everywhere. Before the match, Shen Guang was unbeatable. After the match, he admitted he wasn't strong enough to force Yi He to get serious. Yi He's fanbase skyrocketed. New groups kept forming because the old ones were already full. Everyone debated the championship. Some backed Yi He. Others mentioned Liu Qingju or Chu Zhou. A few even claimed the rest were just side characters. While social media was on fire, a different scene played out in one corner. The principal of Qingfeng Private School was red with rage. He pointed at Shen Guang and yelled. The school had invested so many resources in him, and he dared to surrender. If he didn't repay it, he could forget about university. Unlike the furious principal, Shen Guang stayed calm. He gently placed a hand on the man's shoulder, enough to make him flinch. He said surrendering was to protect his foundation. If the principal wanted to take Yi He's punch himself, he could gladly give up his spot. He would remember the school's support, but never threaten someone stronger than you. Hearing that, the principal instantly softened. Sweat poured down as he quickly changed his tone. Just then, the updated rankings appeared on the big screen. The 4 semifinalists were revealed. No one High School of Ansheng took 3 spots. A total victory. In the school's VIP area, the leaders were ready to throw a party. One teacher fanned himself, grinning like he hit the jackpot. Teacher Liu stared at Yi He like he was priceless treasure. On the main stage, the host announced the semifinal draw. Each contestant stepped forward to receive a glowing ball. Yi He looked at his symbol and frowned slightly. A familiar voice sounded beside him. Holding the same symbol was Liu Qingju. The moment they stood together, the arena and the internet both exploded. The most anticipated battle had arrived. 2 geniuses from the same school in the semifinals. Netizens split into factions instantly. Some supported Liu Qingju. She had crushed opponents with the Xuanhuang skill, without even using her Tier 4 Nether Sparrow bloodline. Others argued back. Shen Guang also had a high-tier bloodline and still forced Yi He to awaken his true power. That meant Yi He's bloodline was even more terrifying. The debate went wild. The arena was heated to the extreme. It felt like it could explode at any second. Yi He and Liu Qingju stepped to the center of the stage. The referee raised his hand. The tension was razor-sharp. The start signal sounded. The battle began instantly. Yi He didn't hesitate. Demonic energy burst out violently. Black waves swallowed the surrounding space. Facing that pressure, Qingju calmly raised her hand. Not a hint of fear. Inside the spreading darkness, Yi He's body began to transform. The pressure skyrocketed, like a mountain crushing down. Even breathing felt heavy. But Liu Qingju wasn't afraid. She smiled instead, confident and excited. She truly wanted to see how strong Yi He was. In seconds, the demonic energy thickened and covered the entire stage. The audience below was stunned. They couldn't see a thing. The host slammed the desk and shouted. How would Liu Qingju respond to Yi He's dark assault? Was he about to reveal even more power? Inside the thick black mist, Yi He locked his eyes on the blurry figure ahead. He knew Liu Qingju's martial skills were nearly flawless. Hurting her would not be easy. This was a true rival, strong in power and sharp in mind. If the fight dragged on, the disadvantage would fall on him. So he shot straight into the air, power gathering in his fist, and roared as he launched Lanshan Fist. Qingju reacted instantly. She raised a defensive barrier, already planning to block first and counter later. But just as she prepared to receive the punch, something unexpected happened. Yi He never threw the fist. Instead, his massive tail suddenly swept across. Qingju's face changed as she retreated fast. She was furious. He shouted punch but attacked with his tail. This guy never followed the script. Yi He gave her no time to breathe. He closed in, roaring like a wild beast. Violent power gathered again in his fist. Without slowing down, he leapt forward and charged straight at Qingju's guard. The two clashed in an intense exchange. Every move was broadcast live. Netizens screamed non-stop. Yi He was like a raging monster. Even calm Liu Qingju was thrown off rhythm. One tiny mistake, and he closed in and smashed a punch into her stomach. Qingju was blasted backward. The entire arena jumped to its feet. But Yi He had no intention of stopping. His hand turned into sharp claws, eyes locked like a predator. He twisted his body to build momentum. A crescent slash tore through the air, like a reaper's scythe. Qingju's expression tightened. She knew she was being pushed to her limit. No hesitation. She shot into the air to dodge the fatal strike. Yi He clenched his fist and watched with excitement. Where are you running, Liu classmate? Before she could stabilize, he chased up and unleashed a barrage of punches. Qingju's mind was in chaos. This guy was a monster. He never seemed to tire. She calculated quickly. She still had 2 Xuanhuang skills left. One defensive, one offensive. If she had time, she could turn this around. But Yi He gave her no opening. Punches and kicks crashed like a storm, crushing every counterplan. She was barely holding on, burning all her strength just to survive the assault. As Yi threw another heavy punch, a feather suddenly appeared on his fist. He paused, confused. Even he didn't fully understand what was happening. On the other side, Qingju's body began to change. Her eyes turned cold and wild. She knew she had reached her final limit. Glowing feathers appeared around her. One, then two, then countless more. In an instant, Liu Qingju entered a new form and shot into the sky. The form was breathtakingly beautiful, yet suffocatingly powerful. Behind her spread brilliant purple wings, radiating terrifying energy that shook the air itself. The arena finally erupted. Goddess Liu Qingju had revealed her true bloodline, the Nether Sparrow. From above, she spoke calmly but with pressure. Yi, be careful. Even I'm not sure I can fully control this power. Yi burst into laughter under that pressure. His eyes blazed with excitement. He said he had only used about half his strength so far. The moment he finished, Qingju turned into a streak of purple light and dived down, her wings wrapping around Yihe's body and locking him briefly. Seizing the chance, she circled behind him and gathered spiritual energy between her hands, preparing Hunyuan Jade Finger. But Yi was still crazy as ever. He didn't dodge. He spun around, clenched his fist, power surging, and roared as he unleashed Atomic Explosion Fist. The air above the arena twists as two forces crash head-on. Then a massive explosion shakes the ground and sends shockwaves everywhere. The crowd below erupts in chaos, screaming in panic, wondering if this is really just a student match. On the stage, Qingju throws both arms up to block, barely enduring the terrifying aftermath. Only when the tremors fade does she slowly open her eyes. And Yi in front of her looks completely different now, dense energy surging around him like wild waves. A layer of metal armor covers his body, his eyes glow bright blue, and a massive power gathers at his mouth, ready to fire. The pressure in the air doesn't ease at all. Yi stands there like a mountain, energy rolling around him like lightning tearing the sky apart. Qingju's face instantly changes. This fluctuation means things are already slipping out of control. She looks at Yihe's back, where the glowing spikes keep flashing as a huge force compresses and slowly channels toward his mouth. A worst-case thought flashes in her mind. His true beast form is still building power. Right then, a violent surge erupts deep inside Yihe's body. A gigantic spinning beam blasts out with a piercing roar and shoots straight at Qingju, the pressure so overwhelming that even the spectators tremble just watching. With no other choice, Qingju spreads her wings and uses them as a shield to block the attack. The brutal force presses down so hard she can barely open her eyes. Countless purple feathers are ripped apart and scatter through the sky. In the chaos, she grits her teeth and activates her awakened power. Her bloodline ignites, turning the falling feathers into countless special mirrors. Yihe's terrifying attack is instantly reflected back by those mirrors. From the stands, the announcer's voice suddenly blares in panic. Yihe's attack is being sent back at him. The audience below turns pale, almost ready to flee in terror. In the sky, streams of black energy collide violently with the defensive barrier. Explosions of light burst everywhere like fireworks in broad daylight. In the VIP viewing area, Mayor Huang Jing of City watches calmly. He smiles faintly and says, "Look closely. Today City will witness the strongest top scorer in history." Down below, the commentator keeps shouting into the mic, even joking that without the barrier, he'd be ashes by now. Back on the arena floor, drops of blood begin to fall. It's Qingju's blood. Her body is covered in wounds, her beautiful purple wings nearly torn apart, her clothes in tatters. She's almost out of strength. Blood stains her lips, her vision blurs, yet her will hasn't completely broken. But one move already shattered her defense. Can she even win this? In a split second, childhood memories flood back. Since she was young, she carried the hope of reviving the Liu family. A familiar voice echoes, "Qingju, you are the Liu family's hope. You must not lose." Her frail mother appears in her mind, gently stroking her hair with red eyes, saying she gave up everything just to secure her daughter's future. In that memory, Qingju kneels down and cries out, "Mom." Those words still ring in her ears. She has to win not just this match, but every match after. Yet this time she trembles and whispers, "Mom, I'm really so tired." Her heavy eyes slowly look forward. Yi still stands tall like an undying flame, the battle intent in his eyes fierce like a beast not yet satisfied. Qingju tells herself silently, her eyes flash with stubborn resolve. Yi is terrifyingly strong. Maybe losing to someone like him wouldn't be so hard to accept. She rushes forward with a bitter smile, deliberately exposing a flaw, believing Yi will notice and end it all. With that thought, she lightly strikes Yihe's chest, the blow so weak it carries almost no threat, yet strangely Yi doesn't dodge. Qingju looks up in confusion and softly asks, "Why didn't you avoid it?" Yi stares into her eyes as if reading her thoughts and slowly says, "Classmate Qingju, why has your fighting spirit completely disappeared?" That question freezes Qingju on the spot. Her eyes widen as if something just hit her heart. Before she can recover, Yihe's aura explodes. Blue light floods his body. Atomic power surges out, and he roars, "Are you looking down on this fight?" The moment he finishes, Yi dashes like a storm, his glowing fist aimed straight at her face, determined to claim the top spot head-on. The counterattack is so sudden Qingju can't react in time. She can only raise both arms to block. But Yi has no intention of stopping. His punches rain down non-stop. With every blow he shouts, "Get serious, get serious," and Qingju staggers back until she finally screams in frustration. "No one has ever treated me like this. I was clearly going to give you the win, so why are you pushing me this far?" Between clashes, she fights back and yells, "Stop hitting a woman's face, you jerk," anger mixing with pain and humiliation as her power suddenly surges. Only then does Yi stop. He bends down with an innocent smile that still looks suspicious. That's right, if you don't want to get beaten, then fight properly. Pushed to the absolute limit, Qingju's bloodline finally undergoes a complete transformation. She stares coldly at Yi, her voice firm just as you wished. "Now I'll crush you with my full power." Bathed in purple light, Qingju rises into the air, her massive wings glowing as the sky trembles. Yi smirks, "Finally using your true beast form. Now this is a real fight." And he transforms as well. Hard scales cover his body as blue flames erupt around him. Yi shouts and the ground beneath him explodes. This is a body art fused with Gengqi Gong and his beast power, a skill called nuclear light combat. He shoots upward like a cannon shell, his aura so intense it makes everyone's skin crawl. Facing that terrifying charge, Qingju narrows her eyes, danger flashing in her purple gaze. She knows she can't stand still. Instantly, a massive vortex gathers around her and turns into a towering purple tornado. Yi rushes straight in and gets swallowed into the eye of the storm. But the next second, a violent punch detonates from inside, shattering the tornado into pieces. Qingju takes a deep breath and prepares to counterattack. She opens her mouth and releases a purple shockwave with overwhelming force. Yi looks like a living rocket powered by nuclear energy. As he crashes straight into it, the collision shakes the entire arena like the end of the world. The backlash pushes Yi back, and he crosses his arms to block. His eyes turn icy blue, killing intent rising. "You think you're the only one with trump cards?" The large scales on his back begin to glow brightly. Qingju grits her teeth, that move again, but this time she refuses to retreat and abandons defense to unleash the Liu family's strongest technique. Suspended in the air, purple energy surges around her like a tide as she declares, "This time I'll face you head on." But just as she finishes charging, Yi shows no mercy and fires a massive atomic breath like a falling meteor. Qingju tightens her body, condensing a radiant purple sphere in her palm and shouts, "Bloodline power." The sphere explodes into light and transforms into countless netherblood arrows filling the sky. The two ultimate forces finally collide. The commentator screams into the mic, "Yi's atomic breath and Qingju's netherblood arrows have clashed. This level is far beyond their control." To protect the audience below, Mayor Huang Jing of N-City is forced to step in. He immediately activates mechanism art, raising 3 massive walls like a fortress around the arena. But the instant the two forces make contact, all 3 walls shatter like glass. The stands descend into chaos, everyone's faces pale with fear. Even the mayor's defense was destroyed. If they were any slower, the whole crowd would have been wiped out. Below the viewing area, Huang Qing wipes the sweat off his forehead and sighs. The 3 layers of earth-veined divine walls were built too fast and lacked stability. Who would expect 2 monsters like this to appear? As the dust slowly settles, a staggering figure appears on the arena floor. Blood keeps dripping from Qingju's hand onto the cold ground. She has returned to normal form, her radiant purple wings gone, one arm twisted and bruised. Nearly useless, her beast power completely drained. Even like this, Qingju lifts her head and stares forward, not a hint of surrender in her eyes, still telling herself she can keep fighting. He slowly walks toward her. Shockingly, there isn't a single wound on his body. He frowns in confusion. That attack should have hurt her, yet I feel nothing. If that radiation stayed inside me, wouldn't that be a disaster later? Qingju bites her lip until it bleeds, tears sliding from the corners of her eyes. She shouts with reddened eyes, "I never wanted to fight to this extent. Why did you keep dragging me into this?" He doesn't answer right away. He simply sits down in front of her and quietly looks at the injured girl. After a few seconds, he speaks, half serious, half teasing. "Do you really not want to fight? Or are you just afraid to admit you like winning? When you went all out, I felt that emotion clearly." His words hit the deepest part of Qingju's heart, and she freezes, staring at him. Her thoughts turn chaotic. It's true, just now she wanted to defeat him as fast as possible. All her life she thought she hated fighting, yet during the clash she felt something strange, not for family, not for responsibility, but purely for herself. At that moment, Yi gently places a hand on her shoulder. Qingju jolts and blushes instantly. Yi smiles lightly and channels energy through his hand, saying, "In battle you carry too many unnecessary thoughts." Warm energy flows into her body, her nearly crippled arm heals at a visible speed. Even the radiation effects vanish. Yi stands up and turns away. "That's why you lost." Qingju stares at her fully restored hand in shock. A new thought rises in her heart. Yi is the strongest opponent she has ever faced. Suddenly, Yi looks back with a gentle smile. Next time if we get the chance. I'd like a truly fair fight with you, Liu Qingju. Those words crash into her heart like a tidal wave. Her face turns red to her ears. Her eyes sparkle. In her mind there is only one thought. Classmate Yi, you're just too dazzling. The smoke finally clears. Yi stands at the center of the arena under the sunlight, like a hero bathed in glory. The announcement rings out. The first semifinal has ended. The winner is Yi from City No. 1 High School. Yi looks up at the sky and raises his arm with a victorious smile. Below him, the cheers explode like they might flip the entire stadium. Under the blazing sun of City's exam grounds, the broadcast continues. After Yi defeats Qingju, Chuzhou also secures his win. The final showdown for the top scorer is about to begin. On one side is the dark horse rising like a meteor from City No. 1 High School, Yi. On the other side is the long-awaited orthodox genius, Chuzhou. The live viewership skyrockets, the numbers spin wildly, and finally surpass 400 million people watching this match. On the arena, Chuzhou slowly draws his silver-blue sword. Energy surges around him as he says seriously, "Please guide me." Yi answers with a dangerous smile, his tone lazy but his eyes sharp as blades. "Come at me, no need to hold back." Chuzhou wastes no time and strikes first. With one swing, countless sword intents burst out. In the blink of an eye, a rain of swords fills the sky and crashes down toward Yi. Facing the dense assault, Yi stands still without a hint of pressure, looking like he's calmly waiting for his meal to arrive. Only when the sword energy reaches his face does he finally begin gathering atomic power into his fist. Power erupts like a volcano. His arm ignites as he roars. Explosive punch. One strike and all the sword energy shatters instantly. Chuzhou is forced back by the shockwave, losing balance and scrambling to defend. But Yi doesn't chase. He fights in the simplest and most brutal way, crushing every clone head-on. With that defense and raw power, no one his age can handle him in close combat. Realizing close range is useless, Chuzhou immediately changes tactics. If melee won't work, then hellfight from a distance. His bloodline erupts violently as he pushes his awakened power to the limit. His body transforms, hands turning into sharp claws. A third eye opens on his forehead, glowing eerie blue. His true bloodline form finally appears. Dragon God. Without hesitation, he swings his arm and shouts, "Bloodline power, frozen seal," and the livestream chat instantly explodes. The viewers go crazy. Chuzhou now looks like a real demonic dragon reborn. Everyone shouting for him to defeat the demon King Yi. Terrifying cold sweeps the battlefield. In seconds, the entire arena turns into a frozen world. Even Yi is sealed inside a massive ice mountain. Chuzhou pants heavily, his face turning pale. That move drained him badly. But suddenly the live stream erupts again as the ice mountain starts melting at insane speed. Deep within the ice, an extremely terrifying energy begins to awaken. The giant ice block is shattered by Yi as if Hez crushing a piece of candy. Chuzhou's eyes widen, his mind blank. How is this even possible? Before he can react, the counterattack is already upon him. He hurriedly raises another ice barrier. A deafening explosion follows, dust surging like a tidal wave across the arena. When everything settles, only heavy footsteps echo across the battlefield. Yi emerges from the smoke in full awakened state, black armor covering his body like a war god from the shadows. He sneers, "Your dragon power is useless against me now. Maybe I was born to counter you." Chuzhou can only sigh bitterly inside. The gap between them is just too great. Still, he grits his teeth and grips his sword. "This will be my final move. I was saving it for Liu Qingju." Chuzhou pours every last bit of strength into his greatsword, forcing all his energy into it and unleashing his strongest skill, Eternal Soul Sword Intent. Below the stage, Huangqing can't stay calm and blurts out, "True sword intent. How old is this kid?" On the battlefield, once fully charged, Chuzhou shoots forward like lightning, overwhelming sword energy crashing down with a world-shaking explosion. A few seconds later, in the eerie silence, drops of blood begin falling to the ground. All eyes shrink as Yi lifts his bleeding hand and smiles faintly. "Get a better sword next time. Maybe you'll have a slightly better chance." Chuzhou's face changes instantly. He slowly looks down at the sword he placed all his hope on. It has already shattered into countless pieces, his heart filled with shock. Staring at Yi who still stands calmly, Chuzhou can't help but ask, "How big is that chance?" Yi smirks. "Not bad. Maybe just a little higher than the chance of a dog successfully climbing a mountain." Hearing that, Chuzhou almost coughs up blood, then takes a deep breath and raises his hand. "I concede." The announcement echoes through the stadium. The City College entrance exam finals have ended. The ultimate winner is Yi. The live stream explodes like a volcano, viewers spamming that Yi never disappoints. Yi, the biggest dark horse of this year's exam, has crushed all doubts. From last year's bottom-ranked student, he climbed step by step and defeated the number 1 genius to claim the top scorer title. The entire stadium chants like a tidal wave, "Yi." The commentator chokes with emotion. After 3 days of fierce battles, the martial arts champion of the 24th and City College entrance exam is finally born, Yi He of An City No. 1 High School. While the crowd goes wild, the main character simply scratches his head shyly and mutters, "Finally reached my goal." A reporter rushes over and shoves a mic in his face, asking non-stop, "Your power was built step by step. Now that you're the top scorer, what do you want to share?" And Yi He can only smile bitterly inside. He quickly puts on a serious face, clears his throat and says loudly, "First I want to thank my teacher. He never gave up on me at my lowest and always pushed me forward." In another corner, the homeroom teacher hugs the TV and cries miserably, shouting, "I don't deserve this, Yi He. I was just afraid of losing my job. I didn't even see your potential." Right then, the principal stands behind making hand gestures, like, "Don't forget me." And Yi He turns around in confusion. "Principal?" The principal signals again very clearly, "Promote the school, and I'll add 2 million to your scholarship." The moment Yi He sees the money signal, his eyes light up, his smile switches to full brightness as he starts passionately praising the school and the principal. He even compliments himself, saying the biggest credit goes to his talent and hard work, confidence basically overflowing the screen. Suddenly, the system pops up a notification. "Congratulations, host, for earning the top scorer title and receiving 1 random skill draw." Yi He gets excited instantly. Looks like the system still hides a bunch of secret achievements waiting to be unlocked. After leaving the arena, instead of enjoying his glory, Yi He runs like he's being chased by the law, and behind him is a whole pack of reporters hunting him down with endless questions. One stubborn reporter sticks close and starts asking about romance, who's prettier and who he likes. Yi He's face darkens, and he speeds up and vanishes. He declares he has no time to play with them, but the reporters refuse to give up. The scene shifts to the basketball arena. After finally shaking them off, Yi He sighs in relief, feeling even happier knowing the system can accumulate more skills beyond monster samples. But before the joy lasts, a stranger's voice congratulates him from behind the stands. Yi He jumps, thinking not another reporter. This time it's not media, but a man with a briefcase and an unreadable smile who introduces himself as coming from Manhwa Capital. After some small talk, the man gets straight to the topic of gene locks. The moment Yi He hears those words, his mind spins in confusion. Inside, he panics, because he never unlocked anything. All his power came from absorbing monster samples through the system. The man calmly asks if he heard about gene locks from his father. Yi He thinks for a moment and confirms it. The man then hands him a thick file and asks back, how would an ordinary taxi driver know such concepts? That sentence hits like lightning, and a wild thought flashes in Yi He's mind. Could his father be some hidden master? The man explains that due to Yi He's special case, Manhwa Capital has authorized partial access to a classified file for him. Yi He takes the file, his expression gradually turning serious. On the first page, 3 words stand out: Prometheus Project. Once the top biological gene research organization on Blue Planet, later wiped out after a major incident, its core members scattered into society, and Gene Lock was their highest secret project. Reading this, Yi He's heart surges violently. His father was not an ordinary driver, but a high-level member of Prometheus. Seeing his reaction, the man reassures him that the nation means no harm and only wants him to know the truth, while Yi He keeps a calm face, even though inside has completely shaken. Noticing Yi He's cold but controlled response, the man pauses briefly and adds that he is now a talent under special national attention and his safety will be fully protected. The moment he heard that, Yi He instantly went into self-love mode. Damn, being famous really isn't cheap. The bigger the name, the more eyes on you. Everywhere he goes, people stare. What a headache. The man let out a soft sigh, his tone easing as he excused himself and left. Once the guy was out of sight, Yi He clasped his hands politely, looking serious on the outside. But behind that straight face, he was grinning like crazy, finally free. Not only did he get into Huadu University, he also secured 2 million in scholarships, plus over 100,000 in bonuses. But what really thrilled him was the chance to draw a new ability. Just thinking about it made his blood pump. Yi He couldn't wait and immediately summoned the system panel. A bright vortex appeared before him, like a space gate slowly opening. Yi He stared without blinking, his eyes shining like headlights. Then a purple card slowly emerged, surrounded by a mysterious glow. The ability revealed before Yi He was Supergiant Transformation, a massive skeletal form ranked D. The info panel flashed up: giant bloodline, maximum height 60 meters, several special traits included. Yi He burst out laughing. Supergiant Transformation? Sounds insanely overpowered. The system added a small note: ability templates can stack. The moment he read that, Yi He's brain started racing. If he fused this with Guangxi Di Mola, what kind of monster would that create? An image formed in his mind: a colossal titan with a superhero's build, the wild aura of a gorilla, and a terrifying long tail behind it. This thing was far beyond normal. Yi He laughed. already imagining himself as the king of monsters. The scene shifted to a dim room, lit by a faint lamp over a cold wooden table. A muscular man was on the phone, saying he would stop taking missions for a while due to personal matters. The voice on the other end replied firmly that once all schedules were done, he would withdraw. On the table was a small circular slot, like a fingerprint scanner. The man pressed his thick finger down hard. A sharp cracking sound echoed. His face looked terrifying, anger practically burning in his eyes. Just then, an urgent call came in. They reported that his brother's body wasn't found in the secret realm, but radioactive anomalies were detected where the signal disappeared. Beside him, footage of the Anchang Academy finals was playing, the match where Yi claimed victory. The man stared at the screen, his gaze cold enough to kill. He muttered that he had warned his brother not to step into this world. Once you enter, there's no turning back. Before their mother died, she made him promise to protect his brother. Yet in the end, the boy still chose this path. When the name Yi and the title Anchang Top Scholar appeared, his eyes narrowed. His grip tightened around the screen as if he could crush it. He admitted Yi was a rare genius. Even Huadu University would fight over him, but it seemed he wouldn't live to see enrollment day. Back at the residential area, Yi spotted a delivery staff carrying a huge package right at his door. After signing for it, he looked confused. I'm about to enter a secret realm to test my new ability. Who sends something at a time like this? Inside the package was only a handwritten letter addressed to Yi. It said the Central Research Institute of Huadu had discovered a new C2-level secret realm at 3 p.m. in Hongshu Mountain on the outskirts of Anchang. The sender planned to explore it and asked if Yi wanted to team up. Signed, Chuzhou. Yi stared at the letter for a few seconds. Seriously? Who still writes handwritten letters in this era? Did this guy just time travel here or what? The scene shifted to late afternoon. The sunset dyed Hongshu Mountain in blazing red, like it was on fire. The place was packed, more crowded than a festival. People carried weapons, maps, ability detectors, even instant noodles. Yi froze when he arrived. Damn, at least 1,000 people gathered here. A new secret realm never fails to draw a crowd. As Yi scanned the area, a familiar voice called out. He turned around. It was Chuzhou walking toward him. Yi nodded back like greeting an old acquaintance. The guy seemed stronger again. Yi forced a laugh, but inside he tensed up. This guy's intuition was scary. Just a glance and he noticed. In truth, Yi had used his exam bonus to buy gene serum, pushing supergiant transformation compatibility to 35%. Low-tier monsters really paid off. Cheap and effective. Not wanting to stay on that risky topic, Yi quickly changed the subject and asked which university Chuzhou planned to enter. The answer came instantly. Huadu University. Yi grinned. Looks like they'd be classmates. But he soon noticed Chuzhou's odd expression, like he wanted to say something but held it back. Suddenly, a horrifying tearing sound echoed in the sky. Everyone looked up. A pitch-black crack was spreading open, like a monster's mouth. Shouts erupted everywhere. The secret realm had opened. As the rift stabilized, the first thing that came out sent chills down everyone's spine. Its head was as big as a bus, and its teeth looked ready to crush anything. A massive three-headed bird appeared. Its feathers were blood red. Its wings spread wide enough to block the light over Hongshu Mountain. Each flap sounded like thunder, shaking the ground. A warrior below shouted for everyone to attack. The realm was open. Kill the beast first, then enter. In an instant, hundreds of warriors shot into the sky like a tidal wave, their momentum soaring. The three-headed bird barely had time to react before getting overwhelmed. Its three heads spun wildly, panic obvious in its eyes. It screeched non-stop, like calling for backup. It had just poked its head out and ran straight into an army. So much for early birds getting rewards. In just a few minutes, the beast was dead. Cheers exploded across the area. The moment they stepped into Hongshu Mountain's secret realm, the scenery changed. The lush green mountains vanished. In their place stood a cold, gloomy forest. Purple leaves covered every tree, giving the whole place a sinister vibe. The crowd rushed in behind them, afraid of losing benefits by even a second. Yi moved with the flow, eyes sharp and alert. After a few more steps, a heavy stench of blood hit his nose. Yi frowned. The smell was overwhelming. Did these monsters just finish a feast? Deep in the forest, a violent roar shook the treetops. Someone shouted a warning. The beasts had been lying in ambush, waiting for prey to walk in. By national rule, warriors entering a secret realm must clear the monsters first. Duty and opportunity combined. The battle erupted instantly. Blood splattered everywhere. Screams mixed with clashing steel. One warrior sliced off a giant beast's head, black blood spraying like a fountain. The longer they fought, the tighter the team coordination became. Large monsters were surrounded and taken down one by one. The scene looked like a high-budget action film. In one corner, Chuzhou suddenly shouted and activated his ice bloodline. Freezing air burst out like a snowstorm. The area ahead froze solid. The monsters caught in it shattered like crystal statues. But at that moment, a beast silently circled behind him, jaws wide open, ready to bite. From afar came a shout. Atomic punch, explosive fist. A beam shot forward like lightning, piercing straight through the monster and blasting a hole in its body. After a final scream, it collapsed. The one who acted was Yi-hee. He shrugged calmly and reminded Chu-jo not to forget his back while going all out. Chu-jo turned, slightly embarrassed, and thanked him. Yi-hee just laughed and said copying homework in college would be enough. Not long after, every monster in the realm was cleared out. Corpses lay everywhere like a post-apocalyptic battlefield. Yi-hee dusted off his hands and casually remarked that none of these beasts seemed very good at fighting. Before Chu-jo could reply, his face stiffened. Behind Yi-hee was a small mountain of monster corpses, flesh melting into a gruesome mess. His eyes trembled. Damn, this guy had taken down that many already? The beasts Yi-hee killed looked extremely abnormal. No clear wounds on the outside, but inside they were completely rotten. It felt like their life force had been erased from the core. His ability was like an invisible terror. No color, no sound, no warning. Yet it destroyed everything from within. Wherever Yi-hee passed, nothing survived. He looked like a walking disaster. People around him started whispering. Some even suspected a hidden expert was secretly helping. There was no way someone could clear monsters that fast alone. Others quickly shut that down. The top scorer of this year's Anshung exam was here. Some couldn't believe it. A mere martial apprentice doing this? Someone sneered back. If you watched the exam live, you'd know. That student handled 10 people by himself like it was nothing. The students nearby grew more excited. They crowded around Yi-hee like fans meeting a real celebrity. Soon, loud cheers erupted from afar. News spread fast. The leader of the Beast Tide had been killed. The remaining monsters were retreating. Chu-jo finally let out a breath. The first wave was over. Over 1,000 warriors had entered, but now only around 800 were still standing, and many were injured. Yi-hee, however, looked completely out of place. He dragged several large squeaking bags behind him and complained helplessly about too much loot to carry. Chu-jo glanced over and froze. Damn, they were all monster cores. Without hesitation, Chu-jo took out a shiny ring and said it was his storage ring. Just toss everything in for now. Yi-hee stared at it, half joking. That thing was worth tens of millions. Looks like this guy was secretly rich. Right then, someone rushed over with urgent news. Boss Wu-sen had arrived. The moment they heard the name, the crowd cheered like a savior had appeared. If he hadn't taken down the Lord-level beast, many would have died today. Soon, a muscular man appeared. Strange tattoos covered his body. Every step carried mountain-like pressure. He walked straight to Yi-hee, greeted him, and confirmed he was the Anshung top scorer. After hearing his subordinates describe Yi-hee's performance, Wu-sen immediately invited him to join the Wu-hen Wolf Martial Group. It wouldn't affect his studies. Top-tier Dayu, even an S-level contract on the spot. Yi-hee was genuinely surprised. Why were they valuing him this much? The people around were stunned. It was rare enough for Wu-sen to show up in person. An S-level contract was almost fantasy for ordinary warriors. Before the atmosphere could settle, a girl riding a black tiger appeared in the distance. Her long dress flowed in the wind. Her eyes were sharp as blades. The moment she saw Wu-sen, competition ignited. She turned to Yi-hee and made her offer directly. Their martial group was slightly smaller, but if he joined, he would receive 15% of the group's monthly cultivation resources. The crowd nearly exploded. A high school student being fought over by two major martial groups was beyond exaggerated. Under countless expectant gazes, Yi-hee scratched his head and calmly said he had no plans to join any martial group for now. The mood instantly cooled, yet Wu-sen showed no displeasure. He even warmly shook hands and said to reach out anytime. Everything felt normal until he suddenly frowned and asked which hand Yi-hee had used to shake. Yi-hee replied casually, "The right one. As for what it did earlier, better not ask." While Wu-sen was still busy cleaning his hand in slight panic, Chu-jo stepped forward. The Beast Tide was handled. Now it was time to truly explore the realm. Endless ancient forests stretched everywhere. He pointed upward. Climb to the treetops first and check the terrain. Yi-hee agreed immediately. The two shot upward without hesitation, slicing through the sea of red leaves like twin streaks of light. Chu-jo glanced sideways, shocked by Yi-hee's speed. In just a few breaths, they stood atop the highest canopy. Red leaves swirled around them, like a rain of blood falling from the sky. But the moment they steadied themselves, Chu-jo took half a step back. His eyes widened in shock. What the hell is that? Before them was a massive existence that covered the sky. Its scales were layered like mountains. Even its breathing shook the entire forest. Chu-jo swallowed hard. This monster had to be over 1,000 meters long, completely beyond imagination. While others were speechless, Yi-hee's eyes lit up like head-found rare treasure. He grinned with excitement. This isn't that unbelievable. We're still young. Give it a few years and we might hunt beasts this size. Maybe even uncover the real secret of this place. Seeing Yi-hee's reaction, Chu-jo could only admire him. As expected, it's Yi-hee. Most people would feel crushed by pressure. This guy just gets more excited the stronger the enemy is. Not just in martial skill, but mentally too, the gap was huge. Chu-jo silently sighed. Yi-hee was the true model of a warrior. Too bad he had no idea that Yi-hee was already thinking, your monster cores will all end up in my pocket. But soon after, Yi-hee's expression turned serious. He activated his sonar detection ability, waves spreading across the entire realm. Life signals appeared everywhere, except in the southeast. That area was completely blank. No life at all, like a piece cut out of the world. Yee, he muttered softly. The more abnormal a place is, the more worth checking. Bigger waves mean bigger fish. He pointed into the distance like giving an order. Chuzhou followed his gaze and saw a massive lake deep in the forest. Yee, he spoke. Let's check that out. The deeper they went, the stranger the air felt. The forest was dead silent. No birds, no wind, only their footsteps crunching on red leaves. As they approached the lake, Yi He's eyes suddenly brightened. Near the shore stood a familiar figure. It was Yule, the one who helped him buy gene serum before, and once said his future was bright. Yule recognized him first, her face filled with surprise before she laughed. Isn't this top scorer Yi He? Didn't expect the kid from before to grow this strong. The girls beside her started buzzing. You even know the Ancheng top scorer? Hurry and introduce us. During the Beast Tide, he was insanely impressive. Yi He felt a bit embarrassed by the praise but stepped forward politely. Sister Yule, how long have you been here? She smiled. Not long. 2 strong swimmers just went down to check the lake. Right then, a head suddenly popped out of the water. A young man with soaked hair grabbed the shore, face full of excitement like he'd found a mountain of gold. He shouted the moment he surfaced. We hit the jackpot. We're rich this time. Yule frowned. Rich from what? He spoke non-stop. There's a ruin under the lake. A real ruin. We struck gold. Hearing that, even Yule couldn't hide her joy. Really, finally found a major opportunity. Yi He turned to Chuzhou, confused. What's a ruin? Why is everyone so excited? Chuzhou immediately explained. In secret realms, there are sometimes ancient mysterious structures, remains of past civilizations. They're called ruins. Many modern martial theories and even gene technology came from discoveries there. Yi He's eyes instantly lit up. So entering a realm isn't just hunting monsters. You can dig up treasure too? But at that moment, Yu Yang from Yule's group grew alert. His hand rested on his sword hilt, eyes sharp. There are others here? Who are you two, listening to our conversation? Sensing tension, Yule quickly stopped him and explained who they were. After hearing it, Yi He narrowed his eyes coolly. Relax, big bro. We're not here to cause trouble. We can even help explore the ruin. Yu Yang studied them for a few seconds before asking the key question. If we find something valuable, how do we split it? Yi He spread his hands like a pro negotiator. We're just external support. Whoever contributes more takes more. Fair and simple. Yu Yang stared at them a moment longer before nodding reluctantly. Fine, you can tag along for now, but don't try anything funny. Outwardly calm, but inside he kept reminding himself. The future top scorer and runner-up are major figures. Best not make enemies. One by one, the group dove into the water, cold wrapped around their bodies. Visibility was almost zero, only the faint shoulder lights guiding the way. Yu Yang led in front, moving like a trained shark. After swimming quite far, they finally reached a submerged cave at the bottom of the lake. Yu Yang raised his hand to signal a stop and said urgently, "Pass through here," and we're there. But right after speaking, he sensed something wrong. Where's Li Wei? He was told to guard this spot. A bald teammate wiped water off his face and guessed. Maybe he found something good and went in first. Yu Yang immediately grabbed his communicator and kept calling, like a parent who lost a child in a mall. Li Wei, respond if you hear me. Li Wei. Only the steady sound of dripping water answered him. The silence felt wrong. Yula stared at the cave entrance cautiously. Did you check this place carefully? Any monster traces? Yu Yang replied with less confidence. Li Wei and I scanned it before. Not even a strand of fur. It was like everything had been wiped clean. A girl behind them spoke softly, her voice trembling. This is scary. Li Wei just vanished. Should we really keep going? But greed had already taken over Yu Yang's mind. To him, what lay ahead wasn't danger. It was a chance to change his life, he shouted. We're going in. Wealth is right in front of us. If you're scared, go back. If you want to rise, move forward. The others stayed silent, but their eyes said everything. Sometimes money is scarier than monsters. Yu Yang scanned the group and nodded. No one's leaving. Let's go. So Yule's team continued deeper into the cave. The air grew colder. The dripping water echoed like a countdown to something terrible. Suddenly, Yu Yang shone his light on the damp ground and spotted a trail of footprints leading ahead. The moment Yi He saw it, his eyes sharpened. He glanced at Chuzhou. The two exchanged a silent look. Yi He mouthed, something's wrong. Chuzhou nodded. The timeline doesn't match. Yula said they just arrived at the lake not long ago. Yet they had already found a hidden path leading this deep. Yi He sneered inwardly. It felt like someone had unlocked a hidden map for them in a game. Chuzhou tilted his head slightly, gaze turning cold. This place has a problem. Should we warn your acquaintance to retreat? Yi He smirked, the kind of smile a villain hides before revealing a trump card. He mouthed back, relax. I haven't even played my ace yet. After passing through the pitch-black tunnel, Yu Yang led them into a bizarre chamber. The ceiling was covered in thick, hanging algae, drifting like long hair underwater. From those strands dangled countless white skeletons and gray monster cores. Yu Yang's face changed instantly. These are monster cores, but the energy inside has long been drained. He looked around, growing pale. No wonder they saw no monsters from the start. Something had already cleared them out. Yule's confused voice came from behind. Yu Yang, where's the ruin? We're here, aren't we? Before anyone could answer, a girl in the team trembled and pointed forward. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. The Thats. In the middle of the hanging algae was Li Wei's corpse. His body was tightly wrapped in strange vines. He was shriveled dry, like a mummy drained of everything. His face twisted beyond recognition. Even his monster core was completely empty. The air froze. Yula turned deathly pale, her eyes filled with disbelief. Li Wei is dead? Yu Yang collapsed to his knees, clutching his head and screaming in despair. Where's the ruin? Where's my ruin? What did we even come here for? But as he was losing it, something horrifying happened. Bulges rose under the skin on his head, as if something was crawling beneath. His whole body trembled. Li Wei died from the vines. I think I am also. Before he could finish yelling run, his head exploded on the spot. A wet burst echoed. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere like hellish fireworks. From the shattered neck, countless long tentacles shot out, writhing wildly like creatures from the deep sea. Eula screamed in terror. Yu Yang, don't tell me Hez. She did not even finish her sentence before a streak of energy shot past. The attack pierced the remaining head, or more precisely, the monster controlling Yu Yang's body. The one who moved was Yi He, eyes cold and steady. This thing was clearly not simple. After killing 2 martial artists, it even hid inside a brain to use the body as bait. Yi He scanned the cave and muttered, "Looks like we walked straight into its hunting ground." And then a massive shadow began forming above them. A twisted demon beast revealed itself, tentacles lashing wildly. Every exit was sealed, even the cave entrance blocked by a giant boulder. No one was getting out alive this time. Suojo took a sharp breath. I have read about this before. It is Ghost Demon Vine, a second-rank king beast. The moment they heard that rank, Eula turned pale. We are only first-rank martial artists. This is suicide. But Yi He just smiled with killing intent. Rank does not matter. I will smash it like tofu. Suddenly, a thunderous explosion erupted behind them. Rocks and dust blasted everywhere. From the smoke walked out a muscular man in torn clothes, aura blazing. Yi He, I am here for your life. It was Xue Lang Yan, an 8th stage martial artist. Yi He glanced back calmly. Oh? Someone still remembers me? The big man laughed. I heard someone used nuclear radiation against a beast tied in Gongshu Mountain's secret realm. I knew it was you. I tracked the leftover radiation all the way here. I suppressed my aura until my heart nearly stopped. Yet you still sensed me. No wonder you pushed the Huo family into a corner. Yi He squinted at him. Wait, who are you? Do we know each other? That honest question made the man's face twist in rage. Stop pretending. I am here for revenge. He charged like a storm, fists flying, but seconds later his expression changed. Wait, this is Ghost Demon Vine's nest? Was I lured here? He roared angrily. Yi He, was this part of your plan? The Ghost Demon Vine kept draining martial energy and releasing neurotoxin. Panic flashed in his eyes. If this continues, I am dead. Meanwhile, Yi He stood with folded arms. You are overthinking. This is our first meeting. On the other side, the vines tightened around the muscular man. He exploded with power and roared. I came for Yi He. I am not here to fight you weeds. Their clash shook the entire cave. Rocks rained from the ceiling. Eula shouted, this place is collapsing. At the peak of the chaos, Yi He's voice rang out behind them. Move aside. They turned and saw his body shifting into gorilla form. Muscles bulged as nuclear energy gathered in his mouth. A blinding sphere compressed rapidly, then shot straight into the ceiling. The rock above was pierced open, creating a glowing exit in the darkness, like a portal to another world. Yi He pointed upward. Eula, take everyone and go first. But at that moment, the big man shattered the vines and stared at Yi He with bloodshot eyes. Do not think you can escape. He poured all his strength into a meteor-like punch. Just as danger peaked, icy sword chi sliced through the air. Suojo stepped in front of Yi He, sword raised. As long as I am here, you will not touch him. The muscular man sneered. I am an 8th stage martial artist. You think that little sword chi can stop me? Right when tension hit the limit, Yi He's voice exploded like an alarm. Hey old man, where are you looking? In the next instant, a punch wrapped in core nuclear energy shot forward. So fast, there was no time to react. It was like a mini nuclear reactor smashing into him, driving his body into the ground, and leaving a human-shaped crater. Yi He looked at Suojo and said firmly, you go first. He is a high-level martial artist. Facing him together right now is still too much. I will take this fight. No one wasted time arguing. They rushed back to the shore as Ghost Demon Vine went berserk, tentacles thrashing and turning the water into mud. It had revealed its true body. This time, it wanted to drag everyone to hell. The moment she climbed up, Yule looked around anxiously. Where is Yi? Suojo said nothing and silently stared back at the flooded cave. Under the water, Yi He's energy erupted violently. Shockwaves shook the riverbed, making the whole stream roar. Through the mist, Yi He transformed into a new form. A colossal primordial titan rose, and a giant metallic arm burst from the water, grabbing the stunned martial artist. He did not even understand what happened, before his body was crushed like a grape, turning purple and limp as he dropped. No chance of survival. The impact sent tremors everywhere. The riverbank shook, trees tilted, and birds scattered like a disaster had struck. In the chaotic steam, Suojo thought he saw a towering titan standing in the cave, but in a blink, it was gone, leaving only thunder and smoke. Soon Yihi swam back in normal form, soaked and slightly tired but calm. Suojo rushed over, and Yihi only sighed and pointed at himself. "Can I get some clothes first?" After changing, they sat down to rest. Suojo asked about the explosion. Yihi half lied. That guy had a plasma bomb and tried to take Ghost Demon Vine down with him. Suojo stared. "A plasma bomb? That is banned military tech, and the blast did not look normal." Then Suojo mentioned what he saw. "I think I saw a giant too." Yihi turned away, sweat forming. "No way. The explosion must have messed with your eyes." On the outside, he stayed calm, but inside he was screaming. "That was close. I almost exposed my monster ability. I even overdid it. The martial artist was crushed so badly there is nothing left to investigate. At least I got the Ghost Demon Vine core." Eula stood up and waved. "We will head out first. We could not help and only dragged you into danger." Yihi smiled. "Do not worry. Consider this repaying what you did for me before. If you repay me again, I will owe you more." They both smiled, but there was more behind it. After everyone left, only Yihi and Suojo remained. Both looked cheerful, yet their eyes were sharp. Now the real fun begins. Time to hunt. 3 days later, at the exit of Hongshu Mountain Secret Realm, a loud crack echoed as Yihi and Suojo finished their journey. They shot out of the spatial rift like bullets. The moment they landed, they barely had time to fix their clothes, because both of them looked up at the same time. In front of them stood a newly built town packed with buildings, while massive cargo planes flew overhead non-stop. Suojo gaped. "Wait, it has only been 3 days. This was empty land before. Now it is a full mining base." Yihi frowned at the crowd. "The construction speed of Xia country is terrifying." They quickly went to the reward exchange center. Yihi slammed a giant bag of spirit stones on the counter, shaking the desk. The staff nearly dropped her tablet. "Sir, please be gentle. Damaged goods will not benefit you." Yihi scratched his head awkwardly. "Sorry, there is just a lot. I was worried you would not finish counting before lunch." The staff kept her professional smile. "Do not worry, we are used to this." Hearing that, Yihi finally relaxed. He removed his spatial ring like he was unsealing a treasure. "All right, let us begin." One massive sack of spirit stones after another appeared, lining up like a small wall. 1 bag, 2 bags, then 3, 4, 5. It did not stop. Each new bag made the counter sink lower. The staff's expression dropped at the same pace. She stopped looking at the stones and stared at Yihi like he was some legendary underground boss. When the last bag landed, Yihi clapped his hands. "That is all. Really, I am done." The staff swallowed hard, her ledger suddenly heavy. "Sir, have you taken everything out?" Yihi gave a suspicious smile, like he just sold a treasure vault as street veggies. "That is it for this batch. Please count fast. We still have a pile of spirit herbs." The appraisal area instantly turned lively. People crowded the table like they found a treasure. Someone shouted at a 300-year 7-star grass. Another yelled at the sight of 6 harmony flower, key material for Chi Si pill. An old man calculated fast. "These herbs alone are over 30 million, and prices are rising." A young man shook his head. He got rich overnight. Another scoffed. "Lucky? Try picking these up yourself and see if you survive." Yihi stood with folded arms, calm as ever. White cores and green cores no longer impressed him. He calculated silently. 5 green cores from third-order beasts, plus the yellow core of the second-rank King Ghost Demon Vine. That was the real prize. Soon his bank app rang. 27,507,000 yuan credited. Beast cores were done. Now he needed a buyer for the herbs. As he walked out, a glossy black supercar stopped sharply in front of him. An elegant old man stepped out, smiling warmly but with fox-like eyes. "Hello, Yihi, right? I am Li Yutian, owner of Pinghe Pharmacy. I will pay 1% above market." Yihe's mind lit up in alarm, so his info leaked. Those old foxes at the appraisal center sold it. Still, he needed a buyer. Money delivered to his door was convenient. After settling the deal, Li Yutian nodded in satisfaction. Before leaving, he added, "Next time you have good goods, come to me first." Not long after the car left, his phone rang again. Over 7 billion yuan added. He frowned thoughtfully. With this money, even a small upgrade would be worth it. In the end, strength is what matters. Normal gene drugs and low-rank cores no longer worked on him. But he sighed. His system panel was painfully picky. Things like blood jade fruit or Heidier gene serum were still out of his reach. Suddenly a spark flashed in his mind. He snapped his fingers. Right, there is still martial arts. Old memories replayed. During the college entrance exam, he relied mostly on the system and monster power. In pure martial arts, he was still below his senior brothers. Add stronger techniques, and he would be complete. "Fired up, Yi," he shouted. "Old Dung, I am here to get some goods." Then he shot off like a rocket, leaving dust behind. At Ancheng High School, inside the principal's office, the quiet room echoed with the gentle sound of tea being poured. The principal looked thrilled, like meeting a long-lost relative. He laughed and patted Yi He's shoulder. "I did not expect you to return." "Yi," he smiled. "I came back out of affection." The principal grew even more excited. "You are our top scorer, the pride of Ancheng, even of the education system." He sounded like giving a grand speech. Yi opened a small box and presented a large ginseng tonic bottle. Just a small gift from Pinghe Pharmacy to show respect, nothing else. The principal's eyes lit up. This student was not only talented but also thoughtful. Smiling naturally, Yi revealed his true purpose. He wanted powerful martial skills to boost combat strength. Since he had not enrolled yet, he could not access university resources, so he thought about seeking help from martial families. The principal looked surprised. You already passed the entrance exam. Why rush? Yihe's eyes turned firm. I refuse to stand still while others surpass me. The principal nodded deeply. A genius like this cannot be restrained by rigid rules. Yi followed up smoothly. Rules are fixed, but people are not. Luckily, some understand that. The principal laughed in satisfaction. The next morning, while Yi was showering, his phone suddenly rang. The principal's voice came through. Everything is arranged. You can go now. Yi thanked him and asked which family agreed. There was a short pause. The Liu family of Ancheng. Yi blinked. They really agreed to pass down a secret technique? In the outskirts of Ancheng, an engine roared through the air. On a large motorcycle, a young man carried a blonde girl behind him. She clung tightly, nervous at the speed but still praising him. The guy, Jay, boasted confidently. Then, a voice suddenly cut in. Focus on driving. Daydreaming on the highway is how your family ends up writing your obituary. They turned around and saw Yi riding a bicycle behind them. Jay frowned. That rusty bike wants to race me? He twisted the throttle instantly. The motorcycle shot forward like a rocket, dust flying. He believed no one could match him. The girl kept cheering. Yi smirked. Looking down on me? Fine. In the next second, energy burst out. The bicycle accelerated violently like it had a jet engine. He passed them in a flash and tossed a line back. Hey buddy, that speed is a bit much. Jai and the girl froze, wind slapping their faces. Since when did bicycles evolve to chase airplanes? Finally, Yi stopped in front of a massive estate. A Western-style villa stood before him, black iron gates finely carved and a perfectly maintained garden. Clearly not an ordinary place. Yi quietly released his aura to probe. Instantly, he felt several terrifying presences. Just a few invisible waves made his scalp tingle. Real powerhouses lived here. The gate slowly opened. Liu Qingju stepped out and waved gently. Yi joked, "Not happy to see me?" Qingju blushed and hurriedly explained, "Mom told me to come get you. She is waiting." Yi followed her across the grand garden. Servants tended the plants like a noble household from a movie. Soon they entered the main hall. Qingju raised her voice, "Mom, Yi is here." High heels clicked rhythmically on the marble floor. A platinum-haired woman with striking red lips appeared at the top of the stairs. She descended gracefully, yet her aura was overwhelming. Just one look demanded attention. She was Qin Lan, head of the Liu family. Her greeting was gentle but carried authority. The moment Yi saw her, his mind short-circuited. His blood surged so hard his nose almost smoked. Only one thought echoed in his head. Chancellor, now I truly understand. After the Liu family exam, returning home after her defeat, Liu Qingju faced her mother, who always held high expectations. They sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Qingju lowered her head and spoke first, voice trembling. But instead of anger, her mother simply folded her arms calmly. Do not pressure yourself too much. The TV replayed the battle. Qin Lan said she watched the entire fight with Yi. In her eyes, her daughter did well. Yi's strength, even in the capital exam, would count as a true dark horse. There was no need to blame herself. Being acknowledged instead of scolded made Liu Qingju freeze. She never expected this outcome and did not know what to say. She lowered her head, trembling slightly in self-blame. Her mother slowly stood and spoke of a long-planned future for the Liu family. Your brother cannot carry the family. In this generation, only you can. She stepped closer and gently touched Qingju's face, her gaze softening. But you are a girl and so beautiful. Then she laid out the truth. Your father passed early. The Liu family has no grandmaster to back us. Our power is declining, trapped in a small city like Ancheng. If a major clan demands marriage alliance, we cannot refuse. That would mean handing over a century of legacy. So I want you two together. What do you think? Qingju was stunned. She never imagined the topic would turn like this. Her cheeks flushed and her heart pounded. Her mother calmly evaluated Yi. Outstanding talent, simple background, huge potential, and not the type with a twisted heart. You do not need to answer now. Spend time with him first. Back to the present, Yi stood before the Liu family head, whose aura was like a queen. Qin Lan greeted him warmly. Yi felt awkward, bowed politely, and presented his gift. Qin Lan skipped small talk. You want to learn advanced martial arts, right? Yi nodded obediently. She immediately told Qingju to take him. Yi was almost confused. Why is everything going so smoothly? Qin Lan stepped aside, naturally giving them space. Qingju will take you to the Martial Archive Pavilion. The techniques inside cannot leave. You have 1 day to comprehend them. Her gaze sharpened. Deep inside are 3 Xuanhuang martial skills. Whether you obtain one depends on your ability. With the family head's approval, Yi cupped his fists and bowed sincerely. I am deeply grateful to the Liu family. Qin Lan glanced at him meaningfully. Grateful to the Liu family? Shouldn't you thank Qin Lan personally? Good. This boy knows his boundaries. She smiled in satisfaction. The more she looked, the more pleasing he seemed. Yi-hee, however, felt uneasy under her gaze. Qingju sensed it too but stayed silent. Soon Qingju led him toward the Martial Archive Pavilion. The path descended through a dark tunnel. She walked ahead while he followed quietly. After a while, Yi-hee asked directly, "Why do I feel like you are avoiding me?" The question hit her weak spot. She denied it quickly. Yi-hee suddenly stepped closer with a teasing smile. Really? The shortened distance made Qingju's face turn bright red. She hurriedly backed away and shouted, "Why are you suddenly so close?" Yi-hee only laughed loudly. Not long after, they arrived before a massive stone gate, and both looked up. Qingju explained, "This is a stone gate made of force-transforming stone from a secret realm. It can neutralize attacks from a Xuanwu master without damage." Yi-hee's eyes lit up. "Then can I punch it once?" Qingju kept a calm face but panicked inside. Most people would be amazed. This guy wants to test it with a punch? The moment she nodded, Yi-hee gathered atomic energy into his palm. A familiar blue glow formed as he clenched his fist, ready to strike. Qingju had seen that punch destroy a stage before, so the moment she saw that stance and the blue glow, the nightmare rushed back, and she instantly turned away with her eyes shut tight. Once the energy fully gathered, Yi-hee didn't hesitate, and slammed his fist straight into the stone gate, the shockwave making the entire corridor tremble. They expected an earth-shattering explosion, but the second his fist touched the door, all that power just vanished, and the air fell into an awkward silence. Qingju couldn't hold it in, and covered her mouth, giggling, while Yi-hee froze in confusion because that punch was no joke. Yet it felt like throwing power into a deep ocean, as over 90% got swallowed, and her laughter grew louder as she smugly thought he finally met his match. The clan head personally opened the door, and inside was a massive secret chamber packed with martial arts records, as Qingju introduced movement arts, defense, body tempering, sword skills, and more before handing Yi-hee an access card, but he only asked where the Xuanhuang martial arts were. Qingju led him to another section, with a modern card scanner at the entrance, and explained that even the deepest part of the chamber required clearance to enter. She then warned him seriously that Xuanhuang martial arts couldn't be comprehended in a single day, and at best he would only grasp the surface, and she even felt her mother giving him this access might not be a good thing. Hearing that, Yi-hee started teasing again, and leaned closer asking if she was worried about him, making Qingju blush and wish to stay away. But he boldly said, "If you're going to learn, aim for the strongest, or just go home and sleep." As they walked, Yi-hee curiously asked if the door was made of black force-dissolving stone, and while entering the password, Qingju confirmed it was extremely rare and used to absolutely secure the Xuanhuang martial arts. The heavy door slowly opened, and their shadows stretched across the floor as Qingju added that the stones here had been accumulated since their distant ancestors. Inside stood rows of towering vaults, each one reinforced to an extreme level. On every vault was the name of a martial art, and one of them read Flesh Body Imprisoning Demon. Seeing Yi-hee curious, Qingju explained that learning Xuanhuang martial arts wasn't about memorizing but sensing the creator's intent, and if you weren't compatible, you simply couldn't cultivate it, because these arts almost felt alive, choosing their own master. Yi-hee's eyes lit up, and he burst out laughing in excitement, because the harder it was, the more thrilling it felt, and just the name, Flesh Body Imprisoning Demon, already convinced him it was meant for him. The vault opened, and Yi-hee stood with legs apart and hands in his pockets, staring sharply as if waiting for a treasure, looking even more intimidating than whatever was inside. But that confidence lasted only seconds as his face stiffened with unease, because the Xuanhuang martial art wasn't a book at all. In front of him stood a grotesque and terrifying statue of a monster sitting on corpses and crushing the heads of those it had killed, leaving Yi-hee completely frozen. The moment the vault opened, his consciousness was dragged into another world, and in his confusion he saw a Guanyin statue behind him, with a demonic face and one missing arm. Yi-hee quickly turned with a guarded look, wondering if this was the so-called martial insight, realizing the true form of Xuanhuang martial arts wasn't written records, but these bizarre statues. Hearing his misunderstanding, Qingju corrected him that martial intent could be stored not just in statues but also paintings or tools, because for a grandmaster, anything could become a vessel of inheritance, snapping Yi-hee back to his senses. Qingju then looked straight at him and explained that only those at the grandmaster realm could condense their martial path and engrave it into an object for future generations. After speaking, she turned away coldly, leaving only one sentence that he had to rely on himself. He blinked in confusion and asked what she meant, since she hadn't even taught him how to learn. Qingju only gave a strange smile and said it all depended on luck, and if fate allowed, understanding would come naturally. That answer only made Yi-hee more confused, his face completely blank. Within minutes, he flopped straight onto the ground and muttered that if it was all about fate, he might as well sleep and hope for enlightenment. In the monitoring room, Qingju almost lost her temper seeing this, because Yi-hee was exactly the kind of person who could leave anyone speechless. Lying there, Yi's thoughts kept spinning. He wondered if this was some kind of spiritual space in the martial world. He couldn't sense any martial energy, and even his strongest techniques no longer worked, making him feel like he had returned to being an ordinary weakling. Then the system suddenly popped up a message, stating that his consciousness was in a special zones, and it would reinforce his spirit to prevent issues. Seeing that, he finally relaxed, glad the system still had his back. At that moment, a man suddenly appeared on the arm of the statue, looking identical to it. He laughed loudly and declared that his martial art was only for real men, and if no one deserved it, he would rather let it rot underground. He jolted in shock. The man sat above with glowing red eyes and shouted down like a challenge, telling him to prove whether he was worthy of being a true man if he wanted the inheritance. Seeing his face clearly, Yi was stunned. This guy looked exactly like the statue. A bolt of lightning split the space between them as the man continued. When thunder and rain arrived, the 100 ghosts would emerge. His task was to protect this ruined place and prevent the sacred statue from being tainted. If he succeeded, he would receive the inheritance. If he failed, his mind would be devoured by the ghosts until he went insane and lost all chance of the martial path. If he was weak, he should leave now. At that moment, a single drop of water fell from above. It landed on Yi's nose, and he looked up with a faint smile, realizing it was raining. Seconds later, countless raindrops filled the chamber, and Yi instantly understood the trial had begun. The rain grew heavier as Yi tightened his grip on his sword and poured energy into it. In front of him, countless strange black shadows with glowing eyes appeared, pushing forward, but Yi stood firm without retreating. His expression turned serious as he locked onto everything ahead, stabilizing his state. The shadows no longer waited and charged in. Yi raised his glowing sword, immediately taking a combat stance. A clean slash cut through the air. The charging shadow was split in half instantly, Yi's movement sharp and without hesitation. Without stopping, he spun and unleashed another strike, the blade's light slicing through with overwhelming force, while his expression remained cold. The rain kept pouring, but Yi had completely taken control. Standing firmly on the battlefield, he even wore a familiar smile, thinking this trial wouldn't let him fight ghosts empty-handed, and that tools must have been prepared. But the demonic aura ahead only grew denser. His attacks barely slowed them, as countless twisted arms formed and surged forward. Yi leapt into the air amid the storm and thunder. In the chaos, Yi looked like the main actor on stage, his sword dancing continuously, cutting everything he touched in half, growing more excited as the fight dragged on. The man on the rooftop looked down and smirked, saying all these ghosts were formed from his own energy. Yet a mere martial novice dared step out of the safe zone, calling this generation inferior to the past. Meanwhile, Yi kept fighting non-stop, his sword carving through the dense sea of ghosts. Strangely, the more intense he fought, the more enemies appeared. The man calmly noted he was usually the one cleaning up their remains. Just as Yi exposed an opening behind him, one ghost seized the chance, baring its fangs and lunging straight at him. But the top student of An City wasn't someone who could be ambushed that easily. Yi simply tilted his body slightly, and the black ghost missed completely, looking furious and twisted in frustration. Not long ago, the man thought this guy was average at best, but now his eyes widened in shock. The 100 ghosts couldn't even get close to him. Yi also began noticing something strange about himself. In the freezing rain, he looked at his hand and muttered that the system was likely protecting his spirit here, preventing any real damage. Realizing that, Yi grinned with excitement. To him, it was basically a full buff, and he immediately got cocky, laughing that this was no different from an immortal body. In the man's eyes, Yi was now fighting more and more aggressively, charging into the ghost swarm like a madman, and the reckless style actually suited him perfectly. The man finally realized he had judged too early and stared in confusion, wondering why this kid wasn't affected by the martial sound. Hearing that thought, Yi smirked and casually replied that it was just hard training. The black ghosts quickly retreated once they realized he wasn't an easy target. The man acknowledged it and said if he could suppress the 100 ghosts, he would keep his promise of inheritance. But it still depended on whether Yi had the real ability. Standing in the rain, Yi had clearly passed one stage of the trial and quietly looked forward. The statue from before had shattered, its fragments scattered everywhere, revealing a glowing well filled with strange energy. Yi approached the edge, and the man's voice echoed again, saying this place held all the accumulated demonic energy of his entire life. Before he could finish explaining that the flesh-body inner demon technique was inside, Yi had already jumped straight down, acting completely reckless as always. The man was left speechless, then couldn't help but praise him, saying he had never seen a junior with such bold personality. He then recalled his past glory, when he had once been a famous figure who entered and shrank secret realm and rose to fame with the inner demon body technique. But in the end, that same power dragged him into ruin. As his vitality declined, the inner demons inside his body fought back, causing him to lose control and harm those around him. Unable to repeat the tragedy, he ended it all with his own hands, sealing all resentment, ghost energy, and martial sound into the statue before dying. 100 years had weakened it, but what remained was still not something an ordinary martial artist could withstand. If someone could subdue it, the path of inner demon body would surpass his own. Outside the observation room, Qingzhu and her mother were monitoring Yi Hua's every move through the camera. Suddenly, the situation changed, and Qingzhu looked up in shock, her face filled with alarm. On the screen, Yi Hua was lying on the ground, surrounded by strange energy, his body twitching uncontrollably as Qingzhu panicked and asked what was happening. The mother and daughter stood frozen in front of the large screen, eyes locked onto Yi Hua's condition. Qingzhu stared without blinking, deeply worried. Just moments ago, he had been smiling like he was dreaming, but now his body was convulsing and even bleeding. Unlike her daughter, Qingzhu's mother remained calm, preparing medicine, while explaining that the third Xuanhuang technique was something her grandfather had accidentally obtained at the end of his life. Even at the Grand Master level, he was still blasted away by the martial sound and suffered severe internal injuries. Since then, no one in the Li family had ever succeeded in cultivating it. Qingzhu froze upon hearing this for the first time. Qingzhu's mother narrowed her eyes and continued, saying the stronger the power, the heavier the price to reach it. Her gentle expression faded, replaced by seriousness. As she said, the saying to wear the crown, one must bear its weight, had never been wrong, and since Yi Hua chose this path, he would have to bear everything himself. Back in the chamber, after a good sleep, Yi Hua finally woke up and stretched lazily with a relaxed yawn. The scene was fully captured by the mother and daughter. Seeing his confused expression, Qingzhu let out a helpless laugh and said he didn't look like someone undergoing intense cultivation at all, and even her mother had no words to respond. Inside the secret chamber, Yi Hua finished everything and stood up, bowing respectfully to the statue. A strange aura spread out from within it, as he sincerely thanked the predecessor's inheritance. Inside the statue, the true consciousness quietly observed him with satisfaction, thinking Yi Hua was the most terrifying genius he had ever seen, and might even uncover the truth of the secret realm. But behind that serious act, Yi Hua secretly grinned in his mind, thinking the predecessor was completely wrong, because he was just acting a bit too well. Then he stretched his body, and his aura suddenly surged. Feeling his new power, he realized that although his raw stats hadn't increased, this Xuanhuang martial art had pushed his combat strength far beyond before. Outside, Qingzhu and her mother rushed straight into the room. Even her mother was so anxious, she lifted her skirt while running, completely ignoring her image as she called out to Yi Hua. Seeing the two beauties rush in, Yi Hua immediately put on his familiar smug smile, crossed his arms, and proudly declared that yes, he had succeeded. Hearing that, Qingzhu's mother froze on the spot. She panted and explained that even Qingzhu needed days of intense training inside the martial fate space, just to grasp the basics of Xuanhuang martial arts. Yet this guy, did he even take an hour? One sleep and it was done? Beside her, Qingzhu silently stared at Yi Hua with complicated emotions, thinking that while everyone called her a genius, the real monster genius was standing right in front of her. Being questioned repeatedly, Yi Hua immediately acted confident. He tilted his head, smirked, and said if they didn't believe him, he would demonstrate it. The moment he finished speaking, he activated his power. His body lowered slightly, both arms spread out, and a strong aura instantly wrapped around him. He explained this was killing chi he learned in the martial fate world, like a game buff that enhances destructive power. Then he gathered all his strength into his fist and threw a powerful strike to show off. The glowing energy around his hand surged violently, making the impact feel overwhelmingly strong. Qingzhu couldn't help but be drawn in. Her eyes widened in shock as she felt the terrifying pressure, even hearing faint, eerie howls hidden within the force. Meanwhile, Qingzhu's mother was completely enchanted. She stared at Yi Hua without blinking, her expression softening as if she had suddenly grown several years younger. Seeing this reaction, Yi Hua smiled on the outside but was sweating internally, thinking the madam should at least keep some dignity with her daughter standing right there, or he might get dragged into becoming a son-in-law. At that moment, Qingzhu curiously asked if he wanted to try the other two Xuanhuang martial arts, since there was still one day left. Qingzhu's mother immediately sighed inwardly at her daughter's behavior, thinking whether she was pretending to be clueless or truly was, since her words said no interest, but her actions were already handing the Li family over. But Yi Hua firmly refused. He said one Xuanhuang martial art was already enough to digest for a long time, and learning more would overload him. Then he told Qingzhu's mother he was a bit tired and had matters to handle at home. Hearing that, she nodded thoughtfully and agreed, even kindly telling Qingzhu to send him back. She also mentioned that since he came on a shared bicycle, he could pick any car from the garage if he knew how to drive. Hearing about cars, Yi Hua suddenly remembered the arrogant boys he met earlier on the road. Thinking of that cool motorcycle he saw before, his interest was immediately sparked. So he excitedly asked if they had motorcycles. Qingzhu's mother happily replied that he liked bikes too, just like her spoiled son, and decided to give him the best one in the garage. At that moment, the young master of the family was walking inside the estate, muttering curiously about the so-called son-in-law candidate his mother had found, wondering what kind of guy could match his genius sister from An City. Coincidentally, fate really had a sense of humor, because this arrogant young master was the same guy Yi Hua had raced against earlier. Thinking about it, he was still furious, remembering how the guy on a shared bicycle scared away his new girlfriend, and he swore not to let him escape if they met again. But just as he was thinking about it, the main character appeared right away. A motorcycle shot past him at insane speed, and the young master froze on the spot, his heart skipping a beat. A few seconds later, he twisted his face in disbelief and stammered while watching the back view disappear. "Wait, isn't that the bicycle guy from earlier? And hold on, why is he riding my bike?" Night slowly fell, and the scene shifted back to Yi Hua's apartment. The newly received luxury motorcycle was parked right outside the door, standing there like a trophy. On the table was a bowl of beast core, with dipping sauce and wasabi placed beside it. Yi Hua looked at it seriously and said the last time he swallowed it raw, the taste was terrible. After speaking, he picked up his chopsticks with excitement, like he was about to enjoy a gourmet meal, saying this time he had to season it properly. Yi Hua picked up the beast core, dipped it in sauce, and acted like he was eating high-end sushi. He even decided to start with the green one first. The moment he swallowed it, the system immediately issued a notification. Overall stats increased, the Berserk Gorilla template reached a new compatibility level, and the Titan form was further upgraded. Yi Hua felt energy surging through his body, and recalled that last time in the Red Tree Mountain Secret Realm, his Titan form reached about 50 meters, but compared to the giant mountain-sized creatures there, it was still too small. Thinking that, he opened the system and muttered that it wasn't enough and needed to be bigger, then dumped all his points into the giant template. Without stopping, he also took out a golden beast core from a second-tier demon vine. Instantly, Yi Hua's body trembled violently as a massive surge of energy erupted. His body was nearly out of control, as the system warned that the Berserk Gorilla template had absorbed a special plant gene and was undergoing mutation, asking whether to suppress it. Seeing that, Yi Hua's eyes widened and his body stiffened. Mutation? At that moment, his physique had already changed noticeably, with his muscles becoming far more refined and powerful. Yi Hua looked down and thought that mutation meant evolution into a new form. If it was good, it would be a jackpot, but if it turned into trash attributes, it would be a regression instead of progress. After a few seconds of hesitation, Yi Hua slammed the screen and shouted that he would gamble on it anyway, going all in like turning a bicycle into a motorcycle. The system immediately issued a new notification. "Congratulations! Host has unlocked Shrank Symbiosis form." In front of him appeared the image of a massive spiked gorilla radiating blinding light. Yi Hua stared blankly at it, eyes wide and mouth slightly open, completely confused. The system continued explaining that once the Berserk Gorilla reaches 100% completion, there is a 2% chance of evolving into the Star Emperor Gorilla. Just hearing the name already sounded insane, and Yi Hua clenched his fist with excitement. But to unlock it, he first had to max out the current form, meaning he needed to level up even faster. Just as he was planning his next development path, a loud explosion suddenly rang out outside, making him flinch. Yi Hua immediately turned toward the sound with caution and muttered what was happening, wondering if it was a terrorist attack. Outside, rows of SWAT police vehicles appeared and surrounded the area. The once quiet night street was completely locked down as commands echoed non-stop. "Seal all exits. Search the entire area. Do not miss a single spot." Inside Yi Hua's apartment, the noise from below caught his attention. Before he could think further, a knock sounded at the door, instantly putting him on alert. Yi Hua stared at the door, full of questions. His current identity was that of a low-profile loner with no social ties, no deliveries, nothing. So who exactly was outside? But the strange part was, while the sound came from the front door, an uninvited guest also appeared behind him. A girl in tight nano battle armor stood there, her movements sharp yet fluid, like a sci-fi warrior. Yi Hua turned and coldly asked if she already knew his identity, and she smirked slightly, saying he really wasn't ordinary. She continued half-jokingly, saying she originally planned to hide something here and casually erase his memory, but now things had changed since Yi Hua had noticed her, so it seemed he was about to suffer a bit, and he shouldn't think about running. Hearing such threatening words, Yi Hua remained completely unfazed. He even looked indifferent and muttered that losing his house didn't matter anyway, since he still had savings and could just move. The girl behind him froze for a moment, completely confused by what he just said. Right after that, Yi He suddenly turned around. As if possessed by Li Xiaolong's aura, he pointed dramatically and declared the target was about to be crossed off the list. The scene cuts to the streets below the apartment complex, where a full-scale brawl is already underway between a lone man and a police squad. Both sides clash non-stop, fists and kicks flying without pause. Even against an entire team, the man refuses to back down. One officer spots an opening and shouts, ordering a full arrest, forcing him to finally step back. Closer look shows his condition is terrible. Blood is pouring out, one eye badly injured, yet his presence remains arrogant. He laughs and tells Nimei that no matter what, she must take the golden gene. He will stay behind to buy time. After speaking, he forces his power to erupt. Blinding energy surges outward as he throws his head back in wild laughter, declaring that trading lives is worth it. Then he activates a forbidden technique, blood burning. At the apartment above Yi He's location, a sudden flash of light erupts and shoots downward. Zhu Yi, who was still shouting moments ago, is nearly scared out of his mind. A terrifying force rushes in, forcing him to dodge as the ground explodes everywhere. When the dust clears, the one who appears is Nimei, but she is in horrible condition, her combat armor heavily damaged, and her body charred black. She struggles to stand. Zhu Yi shouts in disbelief, asking where her white armor went, and why she came back like a burnt corpse. Just then, Nimei's expression changes sharply. She quickly reports through her communicator that the item has been secured, and they must retreat immediately. At that moment, an explosion erupts behind the police line, throwing everyone into defensive panic. Looking closely, the nearby manhole cover is shaking. They had already used this chance to escape underground. The next scene shows an abandoned apartment complex, eerily empty with no sign of life. Nimei and Zhu Yi finally stop here, gasping for breath. After confirming temporary safety, Nimei sighs in relief, saying they finally shook off the police. Zhu Yi stares at the nano battle armor on her chest in shock, impressed by how fast it is recovering despite the damage. But before they can rest, a familiar voice echoes from the distance. Footsteps approach slowly, tightening the atmosphere. Yi He appears and coldly says she still owes him an explanation for breaking into his home. Yi He stands like a deathly shadow, demanding repayment. The two had barely escaped before he tracked them down. With a sharp smile, he says they picked the wrong unlucky neighbor. Now he will return the favor and play with them a bit. Hearing this, Zhu Yi instantly realizes something is wrong. He widens his eyes and shouts, demanding how Yi He found them. Yi He grins eerily, his smile stretching unnaturally wide. He explains he can track the radiation emitted from Nimei's body, making them easy to locate. Then he coldly adds that it's time to fight, so no more talking. Without another word, Yi He channels power into his right arm and bursts forward like a storm. His aura explodes as he shouts that he wants to test the demon-subduing physique. Zhu Yi instinctively steps back under the pressure. He grits his teeth, raising his arms to block, but panic fills his mind as he screams internally that this is bad. As expected, Yi He shows no mercy and lands a devastating punch. Even with Zhu Yi blocking at full strength, the force pierces through like a raging dragon. The ground shakes violently as the entire area seems ready to collapse. Just one exchange leaves Zhu Yi nearly unable to fight. His body stiffens as he coughs up a mouthful of blood. But Yi He still had no intention of stopping. His other hand clenched again as power rapidly gathered once more. His expression remained completely emotionless. Then another brutal strike came down. Zhu Yi, already on the verge of collapse, was sent flying straight into a wall. A massive explosion echoed out as his body was nearly torn apart, while Yi He stayed in his finishing stance with his fist still clenched. Seeing her teammate get completely wrecked, Nimei froze on the spot. Her nano armor had fully recovered, but her confidence was gone. She looked up at Yi He in panic and stammered, asking what kind of power this even was, and who his master really was. Zhu Yi could barely move, only gasping on the ground. Yi He casually smiled and waved like greeting an old friend, saying he was the successor of Gorilla. Nimei went silent for a moment, thinking she had never heard of that name before, but realizing this city was hiding a monster. Just then, Zhu Yi suddenly shouted with determination, telling him not to get too arrogant. Yi He immediately turned his attention toward him. A feral roar erupted as Zhu Yi awakened his true power. A giant rhino phantom appeared behind him, raging violently. He roared that he was a level 6 martial warrior, not someone to be beaten at will. With no more holding back, Zhu Yi unleashed his final trump card. The giant rhino stomped down, shaking the ground violently. He pushed forward step by step toward Yi He, his body fully transformed, with horns growing along his back. Energy exploded as he charged in, but Yi He still stood completely still without dodging. Instead of fear, Yi He looked more excited. He smiled in interest, cracked his knuckles, and laughed that this was getting fun, his eyes lighting up like he had found a new toy. Behind him, Nimei was already moving in secret. Using her nano armor's stealth function, she closed in quietly while thinking he would never expect this hidden feature. But Yi He had already detected everything. He showed no panic at all, casually raised one hand, and fired a burst of nuclear-level energy, while calmly saying she should step aside. That single strike instantly burned through Nimei's nano armor. She was blasted like a bullet into the wall behind her, the impact shattering the surroundings and burying her in debris. Nimei was heavily injured this time. Zhu Yi saw it, and his face twisted in rage as he insulted her for even failing a simple ambush. He clenched his fist and charged at Yi He again in his rhino form, fully intent on killing him this time. But Yi He remained calm as ever. He raised an eyebrow and smiled slightly, as if he found the situation amusing. He said softly, "Come," then threw his fist forward. Both sides collided head-on, releasing a terrifying shockwave that froze the air around them. But this time, Yi He was slightly surprised. He had expected a normal opponent, but the defense was tougher than he thought. He muttered that the durability was unexpectedly strong. Seeing Yi He react, Ju Yi laughed loudly, saying his true iron-horn rhino form couldn't even be penetrated by tank shells. As soon as he finished speaking, his massive horn shot toward Yi He's face. He leaned back just barely to avoid the lethal strike. Explosions rang out continuously. Ju Yi, now in full advantage, unleashed a storm of attacks, roaring wildly that Yi He should die. The abandoned building was already in ruins, and the surrounding area was now even more devastated after the violent exchange. After the relentless assault, Ju Yi finally stopped. He stared at the thick dust cloud where Yi He had been and sneered, saying that no matter how strong he was still trash before his iron horn rhino form. But after waiting for a while, there was still no sign of him. Ju Yi frowned in confusion and looked around. Where did he go? His eyes widened as he scanned frantically in every direction, unable to understand what just happened. That last attack should have landed cleanly. Then, suddenly, a massive shadow appeared in front of him, like a mountain blocking everything. Covered in heavy armor, it looked like an ancient titan awakening. Yi He slowly pushed himself up from the ground. Just that movement alone made the earth tremble violently. Ju Yi screamed in shock. What the hell is this? His mouth hung open in disbelief. This was beyond anything he could imagine. He trembled and muttered whether it was some kind of beast, and if that kid had transformed into it. At that moment, the titan-like Yi He slowly opened a giant hand and swung it down at terrifying speed. The air screamed as Ju Yi looked up, frozen in place. Boom! The colossal hand slammed down like a divine strike, splitting the ground apart with shockwaves spreading in all directions. Ju Yi reacted just in time, leaping away by a hair's breadth. The moment he landed, he barely had time to breathe before Yi He's arm swung again. Ju Yi's hands and feet were already starting to shake. Another devastating impact hit. Light exploded at the point of collision as Yi He's massive arm dug deep into the ground. Without stopping, his other hand began gathering glowing nuclear energy. The towering shadow in the darkness looked more terrifying than anything human. Yi He decided to return everything he had taken earlier. Locking onto Ju Yi, he unleashed a barrage of continuous heavy punches. A titan-sized body throwing combo strikes like this was enough to freeze anyone's spine. Moments later, Yi He's system interface appeared, showing massive stat boosts in his colossal titan mode. His face no longer looked human, more like a fusion of monstrous forms, with glowing eyes surging with nuclear energy pressure. Elsewhere, Ni Mei's nano-armor finally finished self-repairing. She forced herself up, still holding her injured body from Yi He's previous strike. But the moment she saw Yi He in titan form, she froze completely. That massive existence erased any thought of resistance. She realized what she had provoked and whispered in fear that she had made a huge mistake. Panic alone wasn't enough to solve anything. Ni Mei forced herself to stay calm and assess the battlefield. If this dragged on, Ju Yi would be completely destroyed, and escape was no longer possible. There was only one option left: gamble everything. Finding a suitable position, Ni Mei leapt to the top of a nearby building. She pulled out a strange glowing filament and carefully locked onto her target. Without hesitation, she dived down like a hunting bird. Her nano-armor boosted her speed to terrifying levels as she kept the mysterious wire clenched in her mouth. The filament stretched further and further. Yi He's titan body was too massive, making his movements slightly slower. Ni Mei used that gap to circle around and wrap it tightly around his neck. She shouted that it was a molecular wire from the Inanno battle system. She continued confidently, saying it could cut through high-grade alloy. Even if he had enhanced his body with genetic tech, human weak points still existed. And then the terrifying moment arrived. The thin wire sliced through the titan's neck as easily as a hot blade through butter. The massive head separated from the body and fell. Ni Mei landed gracefully, standing before the titan corpse, with a cold, emotionless expression as if everything had gone exactly as planned. Yi He's giant head dropped right in front of her. Ni Mei glanced at it, then pulled the molecular wire back. The titan body began losing energy, slowly withering away. Thinking it was finally over, Yi Mei let out a shaky breath and whispered, "Did we actually win?" But before she could relax, the titan's head split open again, and a massive nuclear core started forming inside its mouth. Blue light flooded everything, and Yi Mei instantly felt death closing in. From afar, the energy beam tore through the building and shot straight at her, leaving only endless blue in her final sight. When the blast faded, all that remained was thick black smoke and sparks flickering in the ruins. Then Yi He calmly stepped out from the titan's mouth, reverted to human form, his body still steaming. He walked toward Ju Yi, who was beaten half to death, yet somehow still breathing. Yi He looked down at him and said coldly, "Now it's your turn." Zhu Yi forced his head up and muttered, "You monster," blood covering his face like red paint. In the shadows, Yi He looked even more terrifying as he said, "If you kill, be ready to be killed, that's fair." Right then, police sirens echoed in the distance, lights flashing on the main road. Knowing he was done for, Zhu Yi laughed wildly and shouted that before dying, Yi Mei had hidden the golden gene in Yi He's room. With twisted eyes and a crazed grin, he cursed Yi He to be hunted to the ends of the earth. Annoyed to the limit, Yi He kicked his head straight into the ground, ending Zhu Yi for good. His instincts warned him again. The authorities were close, and the scene had to be cleaned fast. Looking at the massive hole in the abandoned building, even he admitted he went a bit overboard. The scene shifts back to Yi He's apartment. As soon as he got home, he called Aunt Chin to check how the police investigation was going. She assured him everything was under control, but warned him not to cause trouble before enrolling at Huadu. After hanging up, Yi He sighed, knowing if his energy signature was traced, he was finished. Only then did he notice the item hidden in his room, the golden gene they mentioned. On it was a winged creature emblem, the mark of Lei Shi Diao Biotech. Piecing it together, he realized those two had stolen it and got chased down. Remembering Zhu Yi's face, Yi He understood he was meant to be the scapegoat. With a blown-out wall and a hot item in hand, he decided to lay low and spend the night at a hotel. The story then moves to a brank secret realm called Swan Lake Core. On this island filled with mountains and forests, warriors hunted beasts for resources, and one female fighter stood over a corpse asking about the haul. But right then, something strange appeared, and the woman instantly called her captain in panic. The sky suddenly turned blood red as a massive figure slowly descended from the dark clouds. Behind it came a swarm of twisted beasts, all charging straight at the warriors. They weren't just on the ground. More monsters kept emerging from the sky and even underground. It looked exactly like an apocalypse crashing down on the island. Leading them was a giant reptile packed with sharp teeth and glowing eyes all over its head, and on its back sat a throne. On that throne sat a titan-sized gorilla, skulls piled beneath him like trophies. This was the blood-eyed black ape. The warriors completely lost their nerve and scattered in all directions. The ape lounged lazily on his throne like a bored king. But in the next second, his eyes widened and a terrifying aura burst out. The giant beast beneath him opened its 100-meter mouth, and a shock wave from its tongue shook the entire island. Sharp rocks ripped from the mountains and rained down as one warrior screamed into his radio. The Swan Lake Secret Realm Overlord has appeared, beast tide expanding. Just after sending the report, the shield-bearing man sensed death and cried out for help. A massive rock crushed him into pulp, leaving only his arm and radio, while headquarters kept calling for a response. As if answering that desperate signal, the giant ape slowly stood up with arms crossed like an absolute ruler. Grinning wildly with blood-red eyes, he gave the order, "All forces advance." The beasts instantly surged forward, hunting down survivors and rushing toward the secret realm gate. It was clear they were heading straight for An City, with the giant reptile clearing the path while the Ape King commanded from above. At the same time in An City, the sky darkened, and headquarters announced a large-scale beast tide from the Brank Swan Lake realm. Panic spread across the city as broadcast warned the defense line could fall in 20 minutes. Armed forces mobilized fast, and a grand martial artist called all local warriors to reinforce immediately. At An City Station, chaos erupted as security tried to stop people from pushing. The platform was packed with citizens, desperate to flee, and an announcement declared only children and students would be evacuated first. In the mayor's office, officials learned that beast tide alerts were happening nationwide, and no other city could send help. She keeps reading the report and says, even cities not under attack have started building defensive lines for disasters that could strike at any moment. The mayor's face turns pale. He looks at his secretary and asks about Huadu. Have we sent a request for reinforcements? Even one Grand Master would help. This time, the situation is really bad. His expression darkens. He drops into his chair and says it's worse than they think. An Srank Secret Realm just appeared near Guangshan City by Huadu, and almost all the capital's martial artists have been deployed there. He lifts his head and says time is running out. The battle to defend An City has officially begun. If they want to survive, they can only rely on themselves. The scene shifts to the Chu family. In the courtyard, Yi He and Chu Zhou are still sparring intensely, completely unaware of the chaos spreading through An City. Yi He is clearly enjoying himself. Every strike is heavy, with no sign of holding back. Even in a spar, Yi He's strength forces Chu Zhou back step by step. Chu Zhou struggles to steady himself before looking up at his opponent. Yi He nods with a confident smile. Not bad. You took one punch from me and didn't drop. That means you've got some real strength. Chu Zhou is still shaken from that blow. He wipes his sweat and asks about the profound yellow martial art Yi He used. Yi He stretches and yawns, saying he's only practiced it for a month. Then he smirks and asks why Chu Zhou seems weaker lately. Chu Zhou can only smile bitterly. It's not that he got weaker. Yi He just became ridiculously strong. Suddenly, urgent warning sirens echo in the distance. Both of them react at once, their eyes turning sharp. Chu-jo freezes. Did something happen in city? Is this a beast tide signal? At the same time, Chu-jo's phone receives an emergency alert. Reserve marshal trainees in city are ordered to evacuate immediately to the airport or train station. Chu-jo says it's a forced evacuation order. Yi-hee tilts his head and calmly asks, "So you're really going to run?" Chu-jo looks at him with mixed emotions and asks back, "Are you staying? With your personality, shouldn't you be running as far as possible?" Yi-hee turns with his signature smug grin. The more beasts there are, the more excited he looks. He cracks his knuckles and tells Chu-jo to stop talking. "If we're not leaving, then there's only one thing to do, bite." Chu-jo quickly steadies himself and prepares for the real battle. The scene switches to the Liu family villa. Inside the luxurious mansion, Liu Qingju rushes to her mother and begs to join the fight against the beast tide. Her mother stays calm and asks one question: "What are your chances of coming back alive?" Even counting retired and volunteer martial artists, city can barely gather 50,000. That force against a beast tide is like a small boat charging into a tsunami. Her mother also knows about the giant monster inside the secret realm. She says a beast overlord at that level is not something city can handle. Even a grandmaster could only barely stall it. "Qingju, your life no longer belongs to you alone. It carries the fate of the entire family." Liu Qingju falls silent. Her heart is restless, but she has no words to argue back. She turns and walks away without another debate, but her expression says she hasn't given up. A martial family that dares not fight magical beasts when the time comes has no reason to exist. Qingju is clearly in a terrible mood. The moment she steps outside, she slams the door hard to vent her frustration. After she leaves, her mother calmly lights a cigarette and tells the housekeeper to prepare to leave city. The older woman nods and asks, "What about Yi-hee?" The moment Yi-hee's name is mentioned, Qinlan's eyes flicker. She stays silent for a few seconds, then says send him a message. Let him choose for himself. The scene shifts to the Swan Lake secret realm. Countless martial artists have gathered, ready to face the beasts. No one shows fear. They stand there with pure fighting spirit. Some cross their arms. Some check their weapons. Someone teases old Chen for coming at over 60 instead of evacuating with his granddaughter. Old Chen snaps back, saying if lame old Zhang can come, why would he stay home? The old man with a cane laughs. Who would have thought that after 30 years, they'd stand together against a beast tide again? Old Chen replies with firm eyes. "Right, didn't you lose that leg in the battle 30 years ago?" He asks if old Zhang still plans to move to Jindu after this. Old Zhang fires back, saying a country bumpkin like him would get laughed at in a big city. Then he sighs and smiles. "Forget it. I'll stay in sit and play chess with you. I was born here, so I'll die here too." As his words fall, the elderly martial artists and the crowd behind them soar into the sky toward the battlefield. In front of them is an endless sea of beasts. Above it stands a gigantic monkey king and its mount, commanding the horde. At the exit of Swan Lake Secret Realm, rows of tanks and soldiers form a dense defensive line. Everyone is ready to fire. The order comes down. This is city's last line of defense. Not a single beast can enter the city. All soldiers respond in unison. "Yes, sir." The mayor steps forward and stares at the massive portal with a heavy expression. Over 60% of the army and top martial artists have already entered as the vanguard. Their mission is simple but deadly. Gather intel on the beast tide, assess the overlord's strength, and survive long enough to bring the data back. But before he can say more, his eyes suddenly freeze as if he sees something wrong. A martial artist covered in blood staggers out of the portal. His body is torn apart, barely holding together. His eyes are filled with desperate pleas. Medics rush forward, but he collapses before reaching them. Anyone can see Hez at his limit. The mayor shouts to save him, yet the man uses his last strength to call out Mr. Mayor. With trembling hands, he lifts a USB drive and says it contains all the data collected by the Vanguard team. The mayor immediately asks, "Where are the others?" The martial artist slowly looks up and says words that freeze the mayor in place. "They're all dead." Just a few words, but they hit like a hammer. The lone survivor, tears streaming down, chokes out that the beast tide crushed everything. They couldn't even bring back the bodies. In his terrified eyes, the image of the giant monkey king still lingers. Just mentioning it makes him shake. He warns everyone about the black ape blood pupil. It deceived them all. If not for that, at least a few thousand would have survived. But at that moment, the portal suddenly changes. A massive cocoon-like stone shoots out at terrifying speed. It flies like a giant artillery shell and smashes straight through a nearby building. Solid concrete means nothing against that impact. People around instantly scream in panic. The massive stone suddenly shatters into countless fragments, dropping precisely onto the landmines buried below. It was all calculated. The mayor's face changes instantly. Were they targeting the defensive line all along? The thought barely forms before the mines detonate together. The beasts haven't even arrived, yet the battlefield is already swallowed by fire and explosions. The mayor grits his teeth, so this was their plan. Trigger the mines and destroy the fortifications. Without hesitation, the tanks open fire. Cannon blasts shake the entire area. The mayor roars. They're attacking from inside the secret realm. All tank units aim at the portal, crack and fire. No hesitation. The tank division faces an overwhelming pressure from the portal, yet the mayor stands firm at the front, eyes locked on the battle. After watching closely, he realizes the truth. The beasts aren't rushing out yet. They're using long-range attacks to wear them down first. Since when did magical beasts know tactics? The mayor's face turns ice cold. He stares ahead and curses them as filthy beasts. Near the portal, countless sharp stone spikes rain out like meteors. The mayor shouts, "Second wave incoming." The number of stone spikes has increased. The stones crash down, causing heavy casualties. Tanks are crushed. Soldiers fall one after another. Before they can counterattack, the human defense line is torn apart. The area turns into pure chaos. Behind a soldier aiming his rifle, a strange shadow silently appears. Only then do they realize the monsters are crawling out from inside the giant stones. A winged, twisted creature slowly approaches. The soldier trembles and shouts, "Enemy ambush." Before he can finish, the monster lunges and bites his head off. It happens so fast no one can react. After claiming its first victim, the creature leads the rest in a frenzy charge. Bullets barely scratch them. More winged, multi-eyed beasts keep emerging from the stone cocoons. Their numbers are rising at a terrifying rate. The mayor quickly understands. Those stone spikes aren't weapons. They're transport pods delivering monsters straight into the rear. He orders everyone to stop them at all costs. Do not let them land. Inside the secret realm, the massive mount slowly approaches the gate. With every step, more beasts flood out. Above it, the Monkey King stands calmly. A smug smile spreads across its face. Then it gives the order. That's enough. Humanity has reached its limit. Soldiers, crush this place. The moment the command is given, the beasts go berserk. They pour out of the portal without restraint. The ground trembles like a tidal wave hitting shore. Waves of monsters rush out. Tanks fire instantly, taking down the ones in front. But the white ape at the lead barely takes damage, and behind it the horde stretches endlessly. How can humans possibly stop this? Artillery keeps pounding down, but it barely slows them. Soon, the frontline tanks are smashed apart by the demon apes and explode into pieces. At that moment, a lone figure appears on top of a skyscraper. He stands at the highest point, looking down at an city sinking into chaos. He mutters, "I wonder what this place will look like after today." His gaze is different from usual. He has only been here a few months, yet somehow he has grown attached. He refuses to watch these monsters destroy the life he built. As he finishes speaking, He transforms. The Godzilla battle armor covers his body. He dives down like a lightning bolt, tail slicing through the air, that familiar grin returning. The real fight is about to begin. The scene shifts once again. A few martial trainees are still fighting low-level beasts. One of them cheers after his teammate kicks a monster away. "Not bad, you've already taken down 5. The other just laughs and says it's nothing. Not far away, Tai Xiaoling also chose to stay and fight. She slices off a beast's head and stands on the corpse, mocking Luo Xuan. "You beat a few weak ones and start bragging? So much for being number 1 of number 3 high." Luo Xuan's face instantly darkens. Footsteps approach. The newcomer clearly just came out of a brutal fight. It's Chu Zhou. The moment they see the spirit stone in his hand, everyone freezes. "Did you just solo a third-rank beast?" Chu Zhou calmly walks over and asks instead, "Didn't expect to see you here. Why haven't you evacuated?" Before anyone answers, Chu Zhou looks into the distance with steady eyes. "Our seniors are risking their lives out there. As juniors, how can we run?" But as soon as he finishes, Luo Xuan's face turns pale. Sweat pours down as he points forward and screams, "Watch out." They turn and see a horrifying sight. A massive tank is being hurled straight at Chu Zhou. The distance is so close that 1 second slower and he'd be crushed. By now, the beasts have fully broken out of their stone cocoons and spread across the city. Back to Chu Zhou's group, the trainee beside Luo Xuan bolts instantly at the sight of the flying tank. Luo Xuan can only shout in disbelief. Who the hell throws a tank like that? Chu Zhou remains terrifyingly calm. He doesn't even look back. He slowly draws his sword. As the tank reaches him, a clean flash of sword light cuts through the air. In a blink, the tank splits in half mid-air. His strength has clearly risen to another level. That tank is dozens of times bigger than him, yet one casual strike is enough. The 2 steel halves crash down, sending dust everywhere. Tai Xiaoling's expression changes. She stammers to Luo Xuan, "Could that be the first Lord-level beast that escaped? But how did it get past the front line?" Before they recover, a gigantic white ape appears behind them. It charges forward and roars, shaking the air. Chu Zhou stays calm and says, "Don't panic. It's not Lord-level. The aura and size don't match." The white ape swings its massive fist at the 3 of them. The shadow covers the sky. It's huge and unbelievably fast. Even Chu Zhou can't stay calm now. He grits his teeth and curses under his breath. At that exact moment, a powerful energy beam tears through the sky. The familiar light blasts straight through the ape's head. Of course, the one who arrived is Yi. The sudden strike hits the ape right in the mouth. It screams in pain and crashes onto the ground, shaking the earth. The beast quickly raises its giant hand and slams it toward the attacker. but Yi He is already standing on its head. One hand gathers energy, his posture relaxed as if the incoming claw means nothing. A dangerous smile spreads across Yi He's face. He looks down and says with excitement, "Time to clean your teeth." The monster's eyes widen. It has no idea what He's talking about. It can only roar wildly. Yi He suddenly grabs one of its sharp fangs and grips it tight. Facing that blood-reeking mouth, Yi He shows zero fear. He plants both hands and feet, forcing the jaws wide open. Disgusting. "How many people have you swallowed?" As he speaks, energy inside Yi He gathers violently. Light erupts like a newborn star in the dark. His face glows within that dangerous radiance as he smiles. "Let's clean it properly." Locking the white ape's jaws with his legs, Yi He bends down and blasts a terrifying stream of energy straight into its body. The attack tears from its mouth down to its organs. Brutal and absolutely dominant. Below, Chuzhou and the others stand frozen. One of them whispers, while the beast is distracted, "Run." He clearly doesn't know who that is. Chuzhou stops him calmly. "Don't panic. That's Yi He." Luoxuan almost glitches. "Yi He? The guy brushing a monster's teeth is Yi He?" By now, the white ape is basically hollowed out. Only its outer skin remains. Yi He stands on top of the smoking, charred flesh. Chuzhou looks up and says quietly, "With him here, maybe in city really can survive this." Yi He grins excitedly and nods at Chuzhou. "Take care of this area. It'll support another zone." He's clearly enjoying being able to go all out. The moment he finishes, nuclear energy wraps around his body and launches him into the sky. After repeated use, he controls this power with ease. He looks like a humanoid mutant creature. From above, the city is pure chaos. Explosions mix with screams of humans and beasts. Even in daylight, the sky feels dark and suffocating. Yi He closes his eyes and activates his magnetic field vision to scan for the most dangerous targets. One thought fills his mind. Where are the beasts gathering the most? Within seconds, he locks on. In another district, a giant mammoth-like monster bursts from a cocoon. Countless sharp tusks protrude from its body. It charges toward the people below. Soldiers unload their ammo at its single eye, but it does almost nothing. After emptying their magazines with no effect, one soldier throws his gun down in near despair. Guns are useless. Switch to melee weapons. Following the captain's order, everyone draws their swords. They all know the power gap is massive. They could be wiped out instantly, but not a single one steps back. The mammoth grows more frenzied. Its massive legs slam the ground while its tusks sweep like scythes of death. Soldiers rush forward desperately. Soon, bodies are skewered onto its giant spikes. With a few simple moves, dozens fall. The losses are horrifying. The beast even raises its blood-soaked tusks like trophies. It stomps again, and fresh blood spreads across the ground. Many soldiers are crushed into pulp beneath it. Witnessing this nightmare, the remaining soldiers shout that they can't hold this line. Ordinary troops like them cannot fight this monster. But the captain grips his sword tighter, blocking attacks, while urging everyone to keep pushing. He turns and slices a smaller beast in half. He has real strength, but compared to the mammoth, has nothing more than sand before a mountain. Even knowing death is likely, he refuses to run. Facing his fear, he roars that they are soldiers. Even if they die, they will hold out until martial artist reinforcements arrive. But right after he speaks, strange shadows filled with killing intent appear around them. Two nearby soldiers look around in confusion. Could it be the martial artist really came? Then they see the mammoth's massive body wrapped tightly by those shadows like living chains. The corpses skewered on its tusks are pulled free and dropped to the ground, when only its head remains exposed. A destructive beam of light pierces straight through its brain. The mammoth widens its eye in pain, unable to understand where the attack came from. Blood sprays everywhere. In the next second, the giant body collapses, shaking the earth. One strike was enough to kill a beast of this level. That kind of power sends chills down the spine. The smaller beasts freeze when the mammoth leader drops. Then panic spreads in seconds, and their shrieks pierce the battlefield. Yi He crashes down from the sky, lands in the middle of the horde, and roars as he activates his nuclear battle form. In an instant, a violent explosion erupts, blasting the smaller beasts away like a miniature nuclear bomb just went off. On another battlefield, all of City is drowning in smoke and fire, with explosions echoing non-stop. Waves of demonic beasts rush out of their nests, shaking the ground with every step, and a young man realizes they are not retreating. They are gathering somewhere. At the same time, a girl reports that Yi He, the top scorer of City, has joined the fight, and countless beasts are converging to kill him alone. The captain looks toward the moving horde and feels a chill, because Yi He must not be crushed by the beast tide. He immediately rushes out with the girl, ordering everyone to focus fire and snipe the beasts at all costs to protect the top genius. Back at Yi He's battlefield, a giant white ape has half its head blown open by nuclear energy and screams in agony. Yi He is now facing the strongest monster in the area, surrounded by shredded corpses and rotting remains of beasts. Nuclear energy spins around him like a storm of death, crushing every beast that gets close, yet they keep charging as if programmed to die. More martial artists arrive to support, and the captain shouts that a high-level lord has locked onto Yi He, so protect him now. Across in city, the battle turns the place into living hell, and everyone roars that if anyone wants Yi-He, they must step over their dead bodies first. Near the secret realm gate base, a massive beast that looks like a mix of rhino and bull charges forward like a runaway truck. In seconds, it slams into the giant city wall, a structure built by the mayor's own power. To protect the city and its people, the mayor created the largest defensive wall ever, and now floats in the air to hold the line. Mayor Huang Kan focuses all his strength, knowing that stopping the tide is not enough, and the true leader must be killed. But beneath the wall, a nimble beast suddenly appears and climbs upward along the surface in a twisted path. The hairy monster opens its fanged mouth wide and lunges at Mayor Huang Kan. Facing the ambush, Huang Kan stays terrifyingly calm and slowly gathers light into his palms. The moment the beast reaches him, he gently pushes forward, and its head explodes mid-air. Right after that, Huang Kan senses an overwhelmingly terrifying aura approaching, and his expression turns serious. A massive figure appears beside him, the Monkey King leader himself, its sharp tongue shooting toward Huang Kan, making him look as small as dust. Looking up at the twisted monster, Huang Kan is shaken for the first time, and confirms it is a king-tier lord, meaning real trouble has arrived. His eyes grow heavier as he realizes this is the mount of the blood-eyed black ape, so that black ape has finally decided to move. After calming himself, Huang Kan slowly descends onto the massive wall, clearly calculating his next move. The mayor immediately unleashes a powerful skill, Mountain God Stone Wave, erupting with violent force from his palm. In an instant, earth and water tear apart and surge like a stone tsunami, dragging massive chunks of land and buildings to seal the secret realm exit. The monster's eyes turn cold, and the many lumps across its body light up as it senses the same earth element from Huang Kan. Under the control of Jing-A Chen Shan, the center of the stone wave compresses into a giant sphere, swallowing the surrounding mountains and weakening Huang Kan's attack. But what it fails to notice is that Huang Kan uses the chaos to hide within the debris and quietly close the distance. In his mind, there is only one thought, who said, "I used earth just to clash head-on with you." Jing-A Chen Shan senses danger and tries to form stone armor, but it is already too late as Huang Kan charges in to close the gap. He activates the Xuanhuang martial art and unleashes piercing mountain force, a spiraling punch that drills through steel-like defense and crushes one of its eyes. A furious and painful roar echoes across the city as the giant monster loses an eye and goes berserk. Its massive body trembles violently, and its huge mouth opens wide as if preparing something terrifying. The next second, a devastating sonic wave explodes outward, shattering countless windows and proving this is a true disaster-level beast. At the same time, violent explosions erupt all over the city. The ground keeps shaking, pushing the entire area into extreme chaos. Fueled by Jing-A Chen Shan's rage, hundreds of sharp stone pillars burst from the ground, forming a massive forest of spikes in seconds. Facing this monster, Huang Kan secretly sighs in relief, glad he evacuated the martial artist earlier, or the damage would be unimaginable. Without hesitation, he releases all his power and charges again, because if only its head is out of the gate, it is nothing but a target. Huang Kan's body begins to transform as countless arms grow around him, each one unleashing abilities and boosting his aura. A surge of violent lightning blasts into the monster, and though Huang Kan looks small, the destruction is terrifying as thunder wraps around its long snout. All the eyes on Jing-A Chen Shan's body open wide as it pours everything into resisting the attack. Huang Kan also struggles, enduring sharp stone spikes counterattacking his body. After a fierce struggle, the monster's massive head finally pushes almost completely out of the secret realm gate, revealing giant spikes like a supersized sea urchin. Even Huang Kan feels pressure, because a king-tier earth beast can form stone spears directly on its own body. But at that moment, something even more dangerous appears behind the battlefield, as the Monkey King hides behind a rock and silently watches Huang Kan. The instant Huang Kan senses something wrong behind him, a chilling pressure freezes his body, and when he turns around, his face turns pale, realizing there is an ambush. The thought barely crosses Huang Kan's mind before the Monkey King's massive hairy hand grabs his head at terrifying speed. The Monkey King finally reveals itself, its aura exploding outward as it mocks Huang Kan like he is nothing but an insect. Crushed in that giant palm, Huang Kan sees the truth. This is the blood-eyed black ape hiding inside the stone spikes all along. Its blood-red eyes glare down as it roars arrogantly that it will crush his head and show him how small humans really are. The Monkey King leaps high into the air with Huang Kan in hand, then slams him down like a meteor, shaking the entire battlefield. After the devastating impact, dust settles to reveal ruins everywhere, and countless sharp stone pillars rising from the ground. The Monkey King grins viciously and boasts that no one stronger remains in this city, so from now on it will kill whoever it wants. Huang Kan survives by activating stone armor at the last second, but his right arm is nearly destroyed as he hovers in the air, staring cautiously at the beast. His eyes burn with hatred and fury as he looks at the savage face of the Monkey King. Without hesitation, he raises his remaining arm and summons countless sharp crystals that swirl around him. In seconds, massive stone blades merge into a giant dragon that roars and charges straight at the Monkey King. Facing the overwhelming attack, the Monkey King only smirks and says it is useless, just delaying death. In its mind, humans are born to be crushed, and this battlefield is nothing but a game of despair for mankind. The stone dragon bites into the Monkey King's body, radiating terrifying pressure, yet it does not even try to dodge. It stands still and tanks the full attack without a single scratch, its arrogance reaching the extreme. After taking the hit, it calmly comments that the speed is decent, but the power is far too weak. Seeing no effect, Huang Kan shifts tactics and unleashes a massive quake that flips the ground and buildings upside down. But the Monkey King barely tenses its body and mocks that the destruction is fine, just too slow. It moves so fast it leaves afterimages, leaping over stone waves and dodging every attack while Huang Kan cannot even touch it. In a blink, the Monkey King appears before him and commands him to kneel, saying it hates lowly beings looking into its eyes. Huang Kan refuses to retreat and stares back without fear until he suddenly senses something off. Before he can react, a devastating punch lands, blasting him down like a meteor and triggering a massive explosion. From above, the Monkey King lowers its burning red eyes, watching the deep crater to see if the human can still stand. Even after being smashed into the ground and creating a giant crater, Huang Kanha slowly rises back to his feet. Huang Kan looks up at his enemy, fury burning in his eyes with not a single hint of retreat. That fearless stare only drives the Monkey King crazier as it snarls and asks why he still does not know fear. Huang Kan slams his hand into the ground and activates the Forbidden Art Blood Sacrifice Earth Vein Seal, then coldly says beasts are always arrogant. Power erupts from his shattered arm as golden chains shoot into the sky and bind the Monkey King tightly in midair. Only then does the Monkey King realize it was lured into a trap and roars if this was his plan all along. The seal grows stronger and the whole area turns into a raging energy storm, grinding the Monkey King at its center. Unable to escape, it glares at Huang Kan and mocks that this must be his final trump card. Even sealed, it laughs wildly and says he cannot hold it forever, and once free it will tear everyone apart. Huang Kan only smiles faintly and replies that this is not a trump card, this is a requiem. He rips open his shirt, revealing a massive scar on his chest, and declares this is humanity's song of courage. Then he thrusts his hand into his own heart, blood pouring out, yet he endures the pain without a single cry. The Monkey King's face changes as it shouts in panic, asking what he is doing. With blood filling his mouth, Huang Kan explains that City's only nuclear bomb was buried beneath Swan Lake and linked directly to his heart. Hearing that, the Monkey King finally loses its composure and screams that no one would gamble their life like this. Barely breathing, Huang Kan calmly says he never planned to survive because he is the mayor of City, Huang Kan. Memories flash before him of the day he became mayor and swore to give everything for City, even his life. Returning to reality, he closes his eyes knowing the only thing left is to drag this monster down with him. The detonation signal ignites as a beam of light erupts from the depths and shoots toward the Monkey King. His heart stops beating, and Huang Kan chooses mutual destruction as his final act to protect the city. A catastrophic explosion instantly engulfs the battlefield where they stand. The nuclear blast shakes everything as a giant mushroom cloud rises, and a sea of fire devours the forest. After the sacrifice, a soldier opens his phone and rereads the mayor's emergency order to evacuate the Swan Lake Gate because the bomb was about to activate. Looking toward the explosion site, he can no longer hold back his tears. The soldiers stand straight facing the sea of flames, eyes red as they mourn Mayor Huang Kan's sacrifice. On the other side, Tai Shaoling, Luo Xuan, and the other martial artists lower their heads in silence as the bomb detonates. The giant mushroom cloud rises like a monument in the sky, and everyone who escaped stands straight as if attending a final farewell. When the destruction ends, only a massive crater remains, sparks flickering inside while everything around it is reduced to rubble. At the very center of that crater, the Monkey King is left as nothing but a skeleton. The terrifying flames have burned everything away, even the bones are charred black. But suddenly, a spiked glowing fireball appears near the corpse, vibrating and releasing a strange life force. As it moves closer, streams of energy pour into the blackened skeleton like a living flame feeding it. Just when it seems over, the dried arm begins to regenerate, strands of flesh wrapping around the bones. Its body rebuilds layer by layer, red flesh slowly covering the skeleton as veins and skin reform across its face. Not long after, the Monkey King's eyes fully restore, and it slowly opens them, life returning once again. The energy from that fireball drags it back from death. Then the orb sinks into its chest, though its new body is still unstable and raw. Rage explodes inside it as it swears to crush the entire city and torture every human in revenge. Now hairless and wrapped in wrinkled flesh, it staggers away muttering that once it recovers, it will flatten this place. But a voice suddenly shouts nearby, asking where it thinks it is going, and the Monkey King freezes. Standing before it is Yi-He in his Godzilla form, waiting to finish this once and for all. Facing the root of City's tragedy, Yi-He suppresses his fury and coldly says he finally found it, just one step too late. Without another word, he charges at full speed and unleashes Super Atomic Burst Fist straight at its face. The shockwave explodes violently as Yi-He pours all his pent-up power into that single decisive strike. But just when it seems over, something unexpected happens, and even Yi-He is stunned. The Monkey King takes the punch and does not fall, instead counter-attacking instantly with a greedy grin. Yi-He stays calm, smears blood beneath his eyes to trigger a new state, and taunts that since it did not run, it can take another mini-nuclear blast. Realizing his intent, the Monkey King panics, wondering if this monster is even human. In an instant, Yi-He's body expands into a colossal form covered in savage bone spikes. A massive titan emerges through the dust, each movement sending tremors across the land. Without giving it time to react, Yi-He activates the power he mentioned, and a blazing nuclear core ignites at the titan's chest. A deafening boom rips through the air. The spot where Yi-He stood explodes again, shaking all of City as shockwaves and smoke sweep across the skyline. Even warriors far away feel the terrifying force. They stare at the blast in confusion, wondering if Mayor Huangqing left behind one last trump card. After taking another devastating hit from Yi-He, the Monkey King is barely alive. Its charred body lies in the dust, unable to even stand. This time, its eyes are filled with pure fear. Its trembling mouth can only squeeze out two broken words: "monster." Standing before it is Yi-He in his complete transformation. Steel-like Godzilla scales cover his body, sharp fangs gleam, and his glowing eyes crush the battlefield with pressure. Driven to despair, the Monkey King screams in madness. "Why do you look more like a beast than I do? Even a lord-level monster is not this terrifying." Yi-He looks down coldly and replies, "I am nothing like a mongrel monkey like you." The moment he finishes, Yi-He lifts his massive foot toward the Monkey King. The creature trembles uncontrollably. Boom! The stomp smashes the ground where the Monkey King stands, shaking space itself and sending dust everywhere. Hit head-on, the Monkey King is kicked away like a loose ball flying out of control. Yi-He watches and mocks. "Running already, little monkey?" His palm gathers power again, preparing to unleash the Black Flash heavy punch. But the Monkey King refuses to submit. With its torn body, it clenches its fist and charges, roaring. Do not underestimate a sovereign. Their fists collide head-on. A violent surge of power explodes between them, light flashing across the battlefield. Without Huang Qing's nuclear sacrifice earlier, this fight would not end so fast. After a few seconds of struggle, Yi-Hei's strength overwhelms completely, slamming the Monkey King into the ground and carving out another massive crater. Yi-He glances at his bloodied arm and relaxes slightly. A sovereign-level beast indeed. Even wounded, its defense is monstrous. But to me, you are still just a monkey. In mere moments, his injured arm fully regenerates. Yi-He clenches his fist and says, "In this Titan Godzilla form, my overall stats have surpassed 30 points. Yet you still managed to injure me, but that is still not enough." The Monkey King lies flattened on the ground, barely alive. It looks up in horror as the wound it caused heals at a terrifying speed. Panic floods its face. This monster cannot be defeated. It suddenly goes mad and turns to flee. No more sovereign aura remains, only a loser running for its life, muttering, "I cannot win, I cannot win." Just moments ago it wanted to destroy an city. Now it tries to escape. Behind it, Yi-He stands like a mountain, nuclear energy gathering in his mouth. Inside the Titan Godzilla body, Yi-Hei's eyes turn icy. How could a creature like you compare to the life of Mayor Huangqing? The next second, Yi-He releases the massive energy from his mouth. The destructive beam locks onto the fleeing Monkey King. Nuclear power seals off every path, leaving it no chance to escape. Its body shatters under the blinding light. Flesh is crushed into dust. In its final moment, it screams in hatred, "Damn human genius." But at that instant, the blood-eyed giant ape uses the shockwave from the punch to dive deep underground. Yi-He frowns as he realizes it is trying to escape. Without hesitation, he activates his magnetic life field, scanning the entire underground terrain. The moment he locks onto its position, Yi-He raises his foot again. Trying to run? Even underground won't save you. Yi-Hei's stomps crash down like meteors, splitting the earth as cracks spread like spiderwebs. But the blood-eyed giant ape is no weakling. Pure brute force is not enough to crush it. It swims through the soil and rushes toward the secret realm exit. Suddenly, a terrifying heat presses down from above. Its entire body trembles. It instantly realizes it has been detected. Furious and confused, it cannot understand how Yi-He locked onto it so precisely. Boom. A stream of atomic power tears through the ground like a bunker-busting bomb. The ape is blasted into the air like a fish thrown from water. Waiting above is a massive fist descending like a storm from the heavens. Mountain-suppressing black light slash. The blood-eyed giant ape is smashed straight back into the ground. Its body drives deep into the rock like a nail hammered into stone. Yi-He looks down in disdain. So fierce when causing chaos, Yet you only know how to run when beaten. I thought you were some ancient fiend. Turns out you are just a noisy monkey. The ape grits its teeth in hatred. Do not get arrogant. This is not over. You and your entire race will pay. With overwhelming fury, it ignites its demonic core to the limit, squeezing out every last drop of energy. Its body withers rapidly, flesh and fur drying up, while its right arm restores to peak condition. Black veins bulge, purple demonic aura coils like venomous snakes. This is its final desperate gamble. In a single breath, its right arm expands to the extreme. Dark bone spikes erupt, thick demonic smoke rises, and the ground below cracks apart. World-destroying fist. Seeing it still resist, Yi grows even more excited. True essence floods his fist, the air turning blue-purple as lightning rips across. Super atomic burst punch. Boom. The two wildly mismatched fists collide. The terrifying impact crushes the surrounding air, creating a flashing vacuum in an instant. Red-black lightning explodes from the impact point. The ape's counterattack pierces through, the shockwave shredding Yihe's arm and surging toward his shoulder and chest. His muscles twist and burst apart like torn serpents. Blood and bone fragments rain down on the scorched land, forming a crimson storm over the radioactive ruins. The blood-eyed giant ape believes Yihe has finally fallen. This injury must be fatal. But Yihe only smiles coldly. Out of tricks already. Atomic breath fire. The ape's demonic core runs dry just as the beam strikes its face. Thick blue light locks onto its body and burns through its nearly lifeless flesh. Just as Yihe prepares to finish it, a strange melody echoes across the battlefield. La la la. Soft and gentle, yet it sends a chill down his spine. A stabbing pain pierces his mind, like thousands of needles flooding him with dark emotions. Yihe's cold blue eyes narrow, so another one has arrived. He immediately channels mental defense to resist the invisible attack. When he regains clarity, the sight shocks him. From the scorched ground, countless flawless white arms rise like living sculptures. The half-burned blood-eyed giant ape is lifted by those strange hands. They pass its ruined body along and slowly carry it toward the secret realm rift. Yihe's face darkens. One sovereign is barely dealt with, and another variable appears from the shadows. He reaches out to grab them, but his body suddenly freezes. At some point, countless pale white arms grow from the joints of his giant form. They lock his body in place like gears jammed inside a massive machine. Trying to save it? Not happening. Yihe roars as blue light erupts from him. The atomic reactor inside pushes to the absolute limit. The temperature skyrockets. 100 degrees, 200. Then it blasts past 1,000 Celsius. His Godzilla armor begins to melt, revealing a lava-like blue core boiling beneath. The ground ignites under his feet. The white arms clinging to him catch fire, screaming like crying children before turning to ash. Meanwhile, the blood-eyed giant ape is dragged closer to the secret realm rift. Only 50 meters remain. For the first time, the arrogant beast truly feels death closing in. It screams in panic. Faster, hurry, that mad human is catching up. Boom, 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 Yihe marches forward. Each step turns the ground red hot, burning every strange arm beneath him. He roars and stretches out his massive hand toward the ape. The blood-eyed giant ape's crimson eyes bulge. Its fangs tremble. Impossible. I am a sovereign. I cannot die to a human. At that moment, the melody echoes again. La la la. This time mixed with a soft female laugh. From the towering rift, endless white arms surge out like a tidal wave. In the center floats a woman's head. Her eyes are covered by tiny hands, but her blood-red smile and dark tongue send chills down the spine. He feels his head about to explode from the eerie song. Even with his hearing sealed, the sound invades his brain like a parasite. His gaze turns heavy. Just standing beyond the rift, it exerts this much pressure. If its true body crossed over, he might be forced to kneel instantly. What kind of monster is this? The piled arms twist together, forming a full woman's face. Long black hair drapes down like a wandering, vengeful spirit. The hands covering her eyes slowly part. Fiery pupils snap open, killing intent surging like raging flames. The grotesque face opens wide. A blazing spirit sphere forms inside, unleashing a piercing shockwave straight at Yihe. His head throbs violently. He clutches it and roars in pain. His hearing is sealed, yet the sound drills straight into his consciousness. In his giant Godzilla form, Yihe can only grit his teeth and endure. The noise bores into his brain, draining him rapidly. His body grows heavier. He braces himself to avoid collapsings. After killing so many, you think you can just walk away from an city? Yihe explodes with fury. His entire body tightens as he roars. He has never been pushed this far. Not a chance. He begins channeling every last drop of nuclear energy into his body. The Titan frame floods with atomic power. Every corner boils violently as lightning and energy smoke burst wildly. Once fully charged, Yihe prepares to leave the Titan body. He accelerates to maximum speed, all calculations complete. Before leaving, he flashes a familiar grin and raises his middle finger. Here is a hometown specialty, a nuclear bomb. Make sure you receive it properly. Lunatic. The Titan body swells with unstable energy, launching straight toward the rift like a living warhead. Its target is the horrifying woman's face rescuing the Monkey King. She opens her mouth in shock but cannot dodge. Blinding nuclear light erupts, followed by another catastrophic explosion. A massive mushroom cloud rises once more over An City. Even distant warriors see the earth-shaking sight. The people far away erupt in discussion. They think Mayor Huang Qing's final plan has succeeded. The rift exploded, and City might truly be saved. With the blood-eyed giant ape finally erased, the number of invading beasts drops sharply. It seems the other side of the rift has stopped the invasion. The warriors of An City immediately begin a full cleanup. The purge lasts an entire day and night until not a single beast remains. In the end, An City wins, but the cost is brutal. Nearly 80% of soldiers and martial artists are dead or injured. The Swan Lake Secret Realm area is now nothing but a massive valley, carved out by the shockwaves of 2 nuclear explosions. After escaping the Titan body before detonation, Yi collapses from total exhaustion. Sometime later, his eyes slowly open. The battlefield is silent, only he remains. He sits up and mutters, "How long was I out? The Titan drained all my nuclear energy, but this place is full of radiation. Looks like I just recharged on the spot." After recovering a bit, Yi sighs. This battle was brutal. Huang Qing sacrificed himself to drag the ape into the blast zone. I relied on terrain and chain explosions to finish it before that woman-headed monster could save it. My monster template is strong, but against a sovereign-level beast head-on, I still lack absolute dominance. This victory needed timing and luck. With more time, I would reach the peak of Great Sia's combat power. But this Rift Riot gave me no such chance. For now, I must prioritize collecting high-grade plant-type demon cores for the Stellar Pillar Emperor Morax. I also cannot ignore the Xuanhuang martial system. The infinite monster template exploits space loopholes, but the warrior path holds long-term potential from a higher martial world. Yi starts to wonder, maybe his arrival here was never random. Maybe he carries a purpose set long ago. 1 month after the An City disaster, the citizens erect a bronze statue of Huang Qing in the central plaza to honor his sacrifice. Yi appears there as well, sitting quietly on a park bench, enjoying rare peace. News screens replay the aftermath. Across Great Xia, 18 cities were attacked. 12 fell. In Guanshan City, an Srank rift appeared, covered in gray fog. 30 Xuanwu warriors and 5 grandmasters entered under Grandmaster Du Jingming. This beast tide was unprecedented. Even in Srank rift joined the chaos. The strongest warrior of Great Xia, Nation Guardian Fu Hongsheng, entered Guanshan personally. 8 hours later, he returned severely wounded, with only 2 grandmasters alive. Guanshan became Global Forbidden Zone 11. 1.8 million confirmed dead. Hearing this, Yi feels heavy pressure. Even a Nation Guardian fell like that. Things are escalating fast. I cannot afford to grow slowly anymore. The scene shifts to the Liu family villa. As soon as the call connects, Yihe's voice sounds pleading. "Aunt Qin, I need your help." Qinlan lounges on a red sofa, looking tired. "Let me guess. You want to learn the remaining 2 Xuanhuang martial arts?" Yi laughs awkwardly. "Am I that obsessed?" "No. I need high-quality plant-type demon cores. The stronger the better. Blue grade or even purple lord grade." Qinlan nods slowly. "Plant-type beasts are rare. Lord-grade cores are even rarer. If you ask that big, what will you trade?" Yi reveals his trump card. In this year's freshman secret realm exam at Huadu University, he will team up with Liu Qingju and secure first place for her. But Qinlan knows Liu Qingju's strength well. Do not underestimate the geniuses out there. In previous years, Qingju would barely rank above average. You may surpass her, but compared to true monsters, you still have a gap. Yi smiles with strange confidence. "Aunt Qin, aren't you betting the Liu family's revival on me? I will write an IOU. If I fail to take first place, I will join the Liu family and serve you for life." On the other end, Qinlan lifts her heel and laughs. "Serve me for life?" That promise clearly shakes her. She sits up straight, all laziness gone, and finally agrees to help once more. At the inpatient ward of An City Central Hospital, Yi rides over on his warhorse. The moment he appears, he becomes the center of attention. Beautiful girls rush over for autographs, like meeting a superstar. Yi politely refuses, but inside he is blooming with pride. Soon he heads to room 6, where Chuzhou and Luo Xuan are recovering. Carrying a bag of fruit, he visits his friends. But seeing Chuzhou wrapped like a mummy, he bursts into laughter. The so-called #1 male god of An City looks miserable now. On the bed next to Chuzhou, a young man waves warmly at Yi. His friendly face shows no hostility. Yi blinks in confusion. "Who are you?" The young man points at himself. "It is me, Luo Xuan, your first opponent in the qualifiers." Yi finally remembers. What shocks him more is that Luo Xuan lost a leg in battle. Luo Xuan smiles calmly. "Do not look at me like that. I am not crippled. They can reattach it, or I can use a new combat prosthetic from Thunder Archer Bird." Yi stays silent, filled with respect. Sacrificing that much to protect An City is no small thing. Just then, his phone begins vibrating non-stop. He glances at it and tries to hang up. So many scam calls these days. But it rings again moments later. "Seriously?" He answers reluctantly. It turns out to be the principal, whom Yi had been blocking. Yi unblocked the VIP from Huadu. He almost calls him old man before correcting himself. Soon, the important figure speaks. "Hello, I am Wang Tao from Huadu University Admissions. Enrollment starts 1 month early this year. A private train will pick you up in 3 days. Any requests?" Chuzhou receives a similar call. "Hello, this is Teacher Liu from Huadu Admissions." Yi responds simply, "I will follow the arrangement." Chuzhou confirms as well. Luoxuan watches and sighs inwardly. In a room of 3, only I am not a monster. After hanging up, Yihe's expression turns serious. Before enrollment, there is one more thing to handle. Days later, near the ruins of Swan Lake, radioactive dust still blankets the sky, turning the area into endless darkness. Thick clouds cover everything. Even faint light is swallowed. Yi arrives and transforms into Godzilla form, sitting down to absorb the remaining nuclear energy. Streams of energy flow into his body, gathering like massive layers of mist that envelop him completely. After absorbing enough, Yi opens his eyes. Strange light flashes within. The system displays. Host Yi, overall physique 27.4, Godzilla compatibility 38.9, supergiant form 90%. After finishing his training, Yi stands up and feels the change in his body. The fight with Blood-Eyed Huo Yuan boosted his pattern by 1.5, and the leftover fission energy here turned this place into a leveling holy land. In just 3 days, he gained 6 levels. Insane growth. As soon as he says that, he stomps the ground hard. But time is up. It is time to leave. His body shoots forward at terrifying speed, blasting from the ground into the sky and leaving a streak of light behind. The scene shifts to City Station. The broadcast echoes non-stop. Train G6666 from City to Westhua Capital will depart in 5 minutes. Chuzhou has been waiting there for a while, luggage fully packed. Suddenly, he senses a familiar aura nearby and immediately turns his head. That guy is here. Chuzhou's eyes lock onto a blazing light in the sky, so bright it is hard to look at. Yi circles a few times in the air before landing right beside Chuzhou, shocking everyone around them. After landing steadily, he turns and smiles. Good thing. Made it just in time. The moment Yi appears, people recognize him. The crowd erupts. It is Yi. Someone turns pale. That pressure almost made my legs give out. I thought a high-level beast showed up. Damn, this aura is even scarier than a senior martial artist. Chuzhou studies him for a moment and nods slightly. You got stronger again. Yi. He then looks toward the place where he first arrived after transmigrating. There is a trace of nostalgia in his eyes. This is where everything began, the starting point of his journey. Goodbye, City. The train slowly rolls out of City. At this speed, people cannot help but wonder, with Yihe's current power, why not just fly there? Yi is in a great mood, eyes filled with anticipation as he looks ahead. Let's go, to Hua Capital. And just like that, the train carrying the 2 new students heads toward the top academy of Xia Country. After boarding, Yi cannot sit still for even a second, constantly looking around. Seeing this, Chuzhou mutters half asleep. Yi, can you act normal for once? Yi looks confused, and Chuzhou explains. Do not underestimate this train. It is filled with top scorers and elite geniuses. The train body is built from special materials that can withstand thousands of tons of force. At least Xuanwu martial artists are escorting us. Maybe even a grandmaster. Everyone here is the future of Xia Country. Yi quietly senses the auras around him and evaluates them. There are a few decent ones, but those who can survive 3 of my moves, probably less than 5. Just as the train runs steadily, a piercing alarm suddenly blares. Red alert, red alert. The Hua Capital train is under attack by unidentified targets. The announcement grows more urgent. Level 1 warning. Level 1 warning. Teachers and instructors are handling the situation. All students must leave the danger zone immediately. Do not engage. The entire carriage falls into chaos. Some think it is a freshman test. Others reject that idea. Someone analyzes that Xia Country is at its weakest. The nation guardian martial artist is in closed-door recovery. Grandmaster Du Jingming is missing. Many other powerhouses died in recent beast tides. It would not be strange for suppressed forces to strike back now. Hearing that, someone asks nervously, so we really have to retreat? While the crowd panics, Yi and Chuzhou remain calm. Chuzhou looks at him for his opinion. Yi lazily leans back and says, What a hassle. I have been training non-stop for days. I just wanted to catch up on sleep. But a few seconds later, he pushes himself up. Yihe's face lights up with excitement. The more he is told not to, the more he wants in. He clenches his fist and grins. Let's go see what is happening. Meanwhile, the train keeps rushing toward Hua Capital without slowing down. At the door between carriages, Yi and Chuzhou see a male student covered in blood, leaning there and gasping. Yi immediately asks, Classmate, what happened up ahead? The boy looks up in panic and speaks rapidly. The enemy has taken over the 3 front carriages. They have a special domain that drags people into a separate space to fight without affecting the outside. There is an extremely terrifying person hunting everyone inside. The Xuanwu martial artist teachers escorting us almost all died to let me escape and report this. This is definitely not a drill. Several students nearby stare at him with suspicion, trying to figure out who he is. His name is Zhu Jinhuang. Right behind Yi and Chuzhou, the crowd starts arguing. If it is really dangerous, show us proof. A tall male student with lion-like spiky hair frowns and presses him. Where is the teacher's token? Where is everyone else? Why did only you escape? His name is Yan Zhengxiong, also a freshman. He raises his voice. My best friend is in the front carriage. He can even compete for freshman chief. I do not believe he would die that easily. Two people behind him immediately agree. Makes sense. Yan Zhengxiong crosses his arms, clearly annoyed. Move aside. I am going forward. He steps ahead without hesitation. He walks straight past the restricted door. Yi and Chuzhou calmly step aside. Zhu Jinhuang panics and shouts, Wait, I am telling the truth. It is extremely dangerous ahead. Do you all have a death wish? Seeing he cannot stop them, Zhu Jinhuang suddenly looks at Yihe. You are Yihe, right? Yihe is secretly scanning the area with his magnetic ability and senses nothing strange about him. He turns over. That is me. How do you know? Zhu Jinhuang quickly mentions Liu Qingju. A girl named Liu Qingju showed me your photo. She told me to warn you no matter what. Do not go to the front carriages. The moment he hears Liu Qingju's name, Yihe's expression changes. She really said that? Zhu Jinhuang takes a deep breath and explains. Yes, when she saved me, she was already badly injured. He recalls the scene. Liu Qingju had tears in her eyes, but forced herself to stay conscious. She said she could not stop those seeking death, but no matter what, she had to protect the one who must survive. Hearing this, Yihe instantly gets irritated. He knocks Zhu Jinhuang on the head. Damn it, she is still alive. Why are you talking like it was her last wish? Chuzhou calmly asks. Still going? Yihe stares forward and answers firmly. Of course, I already promised her family. As Yihe moves toward the door, Zhu Jinhuang spreads his arms to block him. I will not let you pass. Yihe looks at him speechless. How did this blockhead even get into Hua capital? Blocking others is fine, but picking Yihe and Chuzhou is a bad choice. The two release a bit of their aura and Zhu Jinhuang freezes. Yihe says softly, Chuzhou. Instantly, Chuzhou understands. His sword flashes with cold light, lightning and frost intertwining, sending chills down the spine. Chuzhou nudges the sword forward as a warning, but Zhu Jinhuang stubbornly stays in place. I am trying to save you. Why are you so unreasonable? Liu Qingju is so gentle. How did she become friends with two brutes like you? Tired of the chatter, Yihe steps forward and casually throws a punch infused with nuclear energy into his stomach. Too much talking. Zhu Jinhuang bends over clutching his stomach, face twisted in pain. The gap is too big. Yihe tosses him a qi and blood pill. Sorry, keep this. We are in a hurry. With that, Yihe rushes forward and calls out, Chuzhou, let's go. Chuzhou follows right behind. Zhu Jinhuang can only shout helplessly, Do not go. It is really dangerous ahead. Not long after, the two reach carriage number 3. They both stop at the same time. In front of them stands a strange gate. With one glance, Yihe knows it is likely the entrance to a separated space. He casually lifts a large suitcase and grins. Let us test it first. Without hesitation, he throws the suitcase straight inside. After watching for a few seconds, he frowns. No reaction at all, not even a sound. Even the life magnetic field cannot be sensed inside. Looks like everyone who went in has already been dragged away. Without wasting another second, Yihe jumps in. Seeing that, Chuzhou immediately follows. Seems interesting. The moment Yihe steps inside, his gaze changes. The scene is nothing like he imagined. This is no longer a train carriage, but an endless space like the universe. In the vast void, a floating path stretches toward a distant light. Yihe rubs his forehead. This is dizzying. Who is behind this? He looks around again and notices something strange. Chuzhou is gone. They entered together, yet now there is no sign of him. But Yihe does not overthink it. A strange light in the distance catches his attention. Go there first. The closer he gets, the worse the feeling becomes. Ahead is a ruined city like it just survived a massive war. Buildings collapsed everywhere. He looks around, confused. Where the hell is this? He raises his hand to sense the surroundings, but finds his life magnetic field completely blocked. This place has sealed all perception. Without hesitation, Yihe erupts with nuclear energy and shoots into the sky like a rocket. One simple thought in his mind. The old method is still the most reliable. In a blink, he lands on a nearby rooftop, looking ready to go big. A blazing sphere of nuclear energy gathers in his palm. Yihe shouts impatiently, Drop the act already. He thrusts his hand forward. The energy sphere swells wildly, like a mini nuclear bomb about to explode. He roars, Blow up for me. A terrifying shockwave rips through the space. A massive mushroom cloud rises and spreads at insane speed. The ground and buildings tremble violently. The martial artists who entered earlier notice the disturbance. They hide behind structures and stare up in shock. What kind of explosion is that? Someone blurts out. Damn, which powerhouse just showed up making that kind of entrance? In another area of this space, Chuzhou also hears the earth-shaking blast. He does not need to think to know who caused it. He grips his sword and rushes toward the source. In a hidden corner among the ruined buildings, someone can clearly see the explosion site. A girl leans against a wall, breathing heavily, barely able to stand. It is Liu Qingju. Her injuries are severe, but the moment she sees the explosion, she knows who made it. She bites her lip and murmurs weakly, I told them not to let that guy come. back to Yi-hee. After the massive signal flare, he stands high above and quickly notices unusual movements. The corner of his mouth lifts. Looks like not only allies were drawn here. Uninvited guests too. Behind Yi-hee, a figure slowly approaches. The body looks human, but the head has large, oddly twitching ears. Even though Yi-hee sensed the sneak attack long ago, he still acts carefree. A closer look reveals a pighead mask. Clearly, the organization behind him wants to hide his identity. In his hand is a long butcher knife coated in a terrifying aura. One glance is enough to know it has taken many lives. Red eyes behind the mask lock onto Yi-hee. Yi-hee keeps his back turned, but nuclear energy gathers silently in his palm. He suddenly leaps into the air and punches straight at the pighead, cursing. Wearing a pighead too? Just looking at you is annoying. Enough with the tricks. Let me rip that mask off. But the pighead man is no weakling. Facing in City's #1 genius, he does not dodge. He raises the large blade to block and tightens the black chain wrapped around his arm. As Yi-hee's nuclear punch crashes down, the man reacts instantly. He twists the blade and thrusts it straight through Yi-hee's body. The terrifying punch engulfs the pighead in blinding light. The nuclear heat burns the mask, turning it into a smoking roasted pighead. Yet strangely, the man still stands there, almost mocking. Yi-hee frowns slightly, a hint of surprise in his eyes. You took my nuclear punch head-on and are still alive? Not bad. The pighead man grips the knife harder and pushes it deeper into Yi-hee's body, even twisting it to widen the wound. Absolutely ruthless. But seconds later, he is the one startled. His face is charred black, smoke rising with a bizarre smell of roasted meat. The reason is simple. Yi-hee was pierced through, yet he shows no sign of serious injury. He stands there smiling provocatively. Surprised by my recovery speed? Locking your weapon with my muscles is easy. He glances at the blade. Your strength is average, but this thing is special. It ignores defense? With that, Yi-hee calmly raises both hands, grabs the upper and lower parts of the pig head, and forcefully pulls them apart. The man has no chance to resist, forced to watch Yi-hee as if about to perform an inspection. Let me take a closer look. The moment he finishes speaking, Yi-hee's mouth suddenly morphs into a giant Godzilla jaw filled with razor-sharp teeth. A blast of nuclear energy fires straight from his throat through the enemy's mouth, burning him from the inside out. Anyone who touches Yi-hee never ends well. In an instant, the sneak attacker's head is completely incinerated. He collapses before Yi-hee even sees his real face. Yi-hee lifts the pig head and shakes it. Told you I'd rip it off. I meant it. But when he looks closer, Yi-hee suddenly pauses. There is something inside the mask. From the charred mouth, he pulls out a blue necklace engraved with a strange symbol. His eyes shift slightly. Oh, a drop item? So this really is not simple. He was about to grab the butcher knife and mess with it a bit more, but the weapon suddenly dissolves. He clicks his tongue. Looks like those masked guys use special martial weapons. Sharp while powered, normal once the energy fades. But what really interests him is the blue necklace. What is it for? Maybe he needs to hunt a few more masked guys to find out. While focusing on his loot, a sharp arrow suddenly shoots toward his back at insane speed. If you did not notice it, you would be dead meat. But it is not that he failed to detect it. He simply does not care about this kind of sneak attack. A slight flow of magic power in his body is enough to stop it from even touching him. Looking into the distance, Yi finally spots the attacker. He smirks. The next wave already? Far away stands a half-man, half-chicken figure holding 2 crossbows. He thought the shot was guaranteed, but the target casually snapped the arrow. He jumps in rage. Yi turns around, that familiar grin back on his face as he locks onto the target. Looks like it is time to warm up. He hates cowards who hide and attack from behind. Just as Yi prepares to charge, something changes under his feet. A spear suddenly shoots up from the ground. It is so sudden that even he is caught off guard, and since he is already moving forward, he cannot react in time. Seeing the opening, the chicken man instantly unleashes a barrage. Arrows tear through the air one after another. He goes crazy with excitement, jumping and screaming like a wild beast while firing. The entire wave of attacks pierces Yi's body. Another enemy below locks his position with the spear, leaving him no room to dodge. Arrows go through his back and out his abdomen. Blood spills everywhere. Anyone watching would think he is finished. But Yi is not someone who falls that easily. This kind of pain is nothing to him. He has already walked the edge of death before. He lifts his head, staring at them, and laughs coldly. You want my life with just this level? His body erupts instantly. The Titan bloodline inside him awakens. A massive skeletal frame manifests around him, raging energy swirling like wildfire. The terrifying heat burns away every weapon lodged in his body. Trying to injure him with that junk? Not even close. The attacker nearby looks up and freezes. What stands before him no longer looks human, but like a terrifying giant. Yi wastes no time and throws a punch at the chicken man. The moment the punch lands, the entire secret realm trembles. The enemy is blasted through a massive structure, dust rising like a collapsing mountain. Above, Yi's fist shines like lightning crashing down. The impact is so powerful that the whole building collapses. Martial artists in the distance can only watch and whisper, "What the hell happened over there?" The whole building just flew away. After finishing the chicken man, Yi He picks up the large spear from the one who ambushed him and walks forward slowly. His voice carries heavy pressure. Let me see what kind of character. Almost made me suffer. But when he arrives, he realizes this opponent is not simple either. The figure wears a strange rabbit head, crouched in silence. He studies him for a moment. Rabbit head? So it really is the 12 zodiac style. The rabbit-headed man's hind legs begin to swell like inflated balloons, crackling with energy. He scratches the ground hard, building momentum. In the next second, his body shoots forward like lightning. Both hands grip the massive spear as he charges straight at Yi He. His red eyes burn, killing intent locked on a single target. Yi He reacts fast and throws out a kick to intercept. But this opponent is different. The rabbit head moves with insane agility, dodges cleanly, twists his body, and thrusts the sharp spear straight at Yi He's head. Only now does Yi He get serious. He pauses for a split second and mutters, "Damn, this guy actually knows martial arts?" The spear tip is already inches from his face. Yi He leans back to the limit, barely creating space. In that suffocating moment, his body tightens, energy surges to the peak, eyes locked onto the strange rabbit. Yi He shouts, "Ice wall." A massive shield of ice forms in front of him. It buys only a moment before the spear crushes through the thick defense. Watching the monster close in, Yi He senses real danger. The surrounding air suddenly slows. Waves of freezing cold spread across the area. In the blink of an eye, the rabbit-masked man is trapped inside a giant block of ice, covered in sharp spikes. His eyes dart around in confusion, not understanding what just happened. From above, Chuzhou dives down, sword blazing with icy power. He calls out, "That was close, Yihe. I will take this rabbit." The rabbit head looks up, startled by the terrifying speed. A sword slash crashes down with overwhelming frost energy, but the rabbit reacts instantly, springing into the air and barely dodging. His red eyes flash with fury. The prey was almost his, and now someone has ruined it. Anyone can see he is about to explode with rage. The battle between Chuzhou and the rabbit head erupts. One presses forward with spear thrusts. The other counters endlessly with precise sword swings. After dozens of exchanges, the spear is finally frozen solid by Chuzhou's cold energy. The rabbit tries to break it, but it is useless. In that instant, Chuzhou strikes with his free hand. The force blasts the rabbit head away like a toy. As he flies back, his back suddenly burns with intense heat. Chuzhou's strike has sent him straight toward Yihe. The moment he touches the outer layer of Yihe's titan form, his body stiffens. His expression says it all. It is over. Turning around, the first thing he sees is nuclear light gathering wildly. One glance is enough to know there is no escape. His body trembles, mind in chaos. In giant form, Yihe reaches out and grabs the masked rabbit, squeezing tightly. Blazing energy leaks through his fingers. He grins. "Finally caught you, little bunny." From above, a massive pillar of nuclear energy shoots into the sky. The blinding light covers the entire ruined zone. Yihe basically just turned on the lights for this dark world. A few minutes earlier, in another building, two freshmen stand on a high floor talking. One says, "It went quiet over there. Guess the noisy guy got taken out." Among them is a beautiful orange-haired girl with a striking figure and an arrogant attitude. After seeing Yihe's earlier nuclear blast, she scoffs. Who just entered and started showing off like that? Probably some countryside kid from a minor city. She continues dismissively, mentioning the lion-headed guy Yihe met before. The gap between major cities and other places is huge. I heard Yan Jiang from Magic Capital, Ouyang Ze and Lan Yusi from Shen City, and Xin Chen from Liuli Island have already started hunting masked enemies. No idea how they are doing it. The person beside her asks, "That strong already? So the freshman chief will be one of them?" She shakes her head. Not necessarily. Most previous chiefs were from Hua Capital. Compared to the monsters there, students from other regions cannot compete. Their training conditions since childhood are completely different. Just as she finishes speaking, another explosion erupts from Yihe's direction. This nuclear pillar is even more dazzling, instantly drawing both their gazes. They freeze in place, faces twisting with the same thought. After a while, one stammers, "What was that just now? A railgun? No way. That kind of thing cannot exist here." That energy beam instantly caught the lion-head guy's attention, while he was still cutting down masked fighters. His face darkened as he turned to the pink-haired youth beside him and asked, "Jay, what do you think?" Ouyang Jay glanced at the beam and calmly analyzed that it didn't match the masked group style, so it was likely a freshman. As they spoke, the lion-head guy casually drove his greatsword through a horse mask's chest, killing him on the spot. Now intrigued, he muttered that aside from the monsters in Hua Capital, who else could unleash power like that, while listing the pendants they had collected. Ouyang added that Xin Chen had the snake, Liu Qingju held the ox, and if this was truly the 12 zodiac, only pig, rabbit, tiger, dragon, and a few others remained. His eyes narrowed with determination as he whispered one word, "Dragon." But at the mention of it, his expression turned wary, because that monster was someone you run from, or you die. Ouyang continued that the freshman with the blue beam must have several pendants, and Xin Chen and Lan Yusi would surely be drawn here, then smirked at Shi Xiong and said the real game had just begun. A calculating smile formed on his face as he coldly concluded that the only way to win was to steal from others. Back to Yi and Chuzhou. Yi was still staring at the pendant in his hand, deep in thought. He explained that before Chuzhou arrived, he had killed a pig mask and taken another pendant, guessing the test required collecting all the zodiac pendants. Chuzhou looked down cautiously and asked if that meant they had to actively hunt the masked fighters. Yi nodded, recalling the chicken guy and the crossbow sniper who had escaped during the chaos. As they moved forward discussing, unaware they were being watched, Yi suggested tracking the sniper through the arrow left behind, and Chuzhou agreed immediately. The two pushed deeper into the secret realm where everything grew more ruined and decayed. He quickly noticed strange marks on the ground and realized someone had fought here not long ago. Chuzhou touched a crack in the earth and said it was still warm, meaning the enemy wasn't far. His expression turned serious as one thought flashed through his mind. They're close. Without hesitation, Chuzhou drew his ice sword. With one swing, a freezing wave shot forward, and an ice wall slammed into the hidden target. It revealed a striking freshman girl who looked stunned as her arm regenerated, and she gasped that even her optical invisibility was detected. Chuzhou didn't stop as massive ice spikes rose, and he stepped forward, accusing her of spying with bad intentions. Suddenly, another figure appeared shouting for him to move. As Lan Yusi showed herself, and a youth engulfed in crimson flames activated his Yanma battle form. With a fierce wave of his hand, a blazing firestorm exploded and forced Chuzhou's ice wall back as the heat pressure surged. As the flames settled and smoke curled around him, Shin-chen lit a cigarette and mocked Lan Yusi for being exposed, and she snapped back, telling him to get lost. Just as they appeared, Yi stepped forward and asked if they were planning an ambush, but Lan Yusi quickly smiled and claimed it was a misunderstanding, saying they had just killed a chicken mask and were baiting others. Shin-chen didn't even bother explaining, calmly lighting a cigarette and taking a slow, satisfied drag. He caught that attitude instantly, looked at him coldly, and asked what this little setup really meant. In the next second, Yi suddenly grabbed a girl who looked exactly like Lan Yusi and lifted her by the throat like a toy. The real Lan Yusi frowned in annoyance as her clone was exposed, while Shin-chen laughed and said they never expected that sneak attack to work anyway. He flicked the cigarette to the ground and smirked, saying it would be boring if it were that easy. Then his cheeks rapidly puffed up, swelling with more and more air, until his whole face looked ready to explode. He squeezed his cheeks and spewed out thick black smoke that spread fast, swallowing everything in sight. The smoke rushed toward Yi and Chuzhou, forcing them to retreat to avoid direct contact. At the side, Lan Yusi waved her giant fan and giggled, her energy rising as she promised they wouldn't escape. She shot into the air, spread her arms, swung the fan hard, and shouted for the wind to rise. A violent gust instantly drove all the toxic smoke straight at Yi and Chuzhou, trapping them inside the dense black fog. But Shin-chen wasn't done as a massive fireball formed in his hand, blazing like a miniature sun. He hurled the fireball into the smoke, flames and poison, merging into a terrifying inferno that pressed down on the two inside. Shin-chen smiled in satisfaction, claiming they were strong but still no match for them, while Lan Yusi fanned proudly beside him. Suddenly, Yi's voice echoed from inside the smoke, asking what they were laughing at, as a glowing hand filled with nuclear energy appeared. Yi calmly clapped his hands, and a burst of nuclear power exploded outward, blasting away all the smoke and flames in one shockwave. Shin-chen's eyes widened in disbelief, shocked that a single clap wiped out his entire attack. Before he could finish speaking, Yi appeared in front of him like a storm and coldly said, "Lan Shan Fist." Without another word, Yi unleashed a furious punch, spinning once as Shin-chen vanished from sight in a flash of blood and blazing fist light. From afar, Shin-chen was seen flying dozens of meters away, spinning helplessly in midair after that crushing blow. Watching her teammate get destroyed so easily, Lan Yusi finally felt fear, realizing that even within the martial disciple limit, Yi's body had already surpassed the level of any normal freshman. The moment fear crossed her mind, Lan Yusi looked down and saw Chuzhou's ice spreading beneath her feet, freezing her legs in place. Meanwhile, Yi walked toward her step by step, his aura so heavy, it felt like the air itself was crushing down. She knew fighting was suicide, so her only option now was escape. She swung her fan hard, blasting the ice apart and breaking free in one burst. Without wasting a second, she shot into the air and activated her invisibility, her mind screaming one word, "Run." But before she could celebrate, something suddenly grabbed her ankle mid-air. She looked down in shock and cursed, yet this time real fear spread across her face. Yi showed no mercy as he slammed her straight into the ground, the impact carving a huge crater while he coldly told her to stay down. He activated Xuanwang martial art, power gathering into his fist as he slowly raised it for the next strike, eyes locked without hesitation. At that critical moment, countless clones of Lan Yusi burst out in every direction, distracting him just long enough for her to slip free. Instead of getting annoyed, Yi grinned wider and laughed, asking if she really thought she could run. Suddenly, thick demonic energy exploded behind him, ghostly shadows rising like something straight out of hell. The dark power spread across the area and seized every single clone, leaving Lan Yusi with nowhere to escape. Moments ago she was confident, but now, she was completely restrained, unable to move as the demonic force crushed down on her, screaming that she couldn't even fight back. He laughed again, telling her to keep running if she could, his eyes shining like a hunter who just caught new prey. Before he could continue, Lan Yusi suddenly shouted that she surrendered. Shaking the pendants in his hand, he asked her to spill everything, and she obediently explained that passing the trial required collecting all 12 zodiac pendants, and now it had entered the final stage where everyone would start stealing from each other, especially monsters like Ouyang-je and Yanzhengjiong from Hua Capital. Yet behind her obedient look, her eyes flickered with calculation as she offered to guide him to them, secretly hoping the monsters would tear each other apart. He instantly saw through her scheme, replied coldly that it wasn't necessary, but his half-smile made her shiver, especially when he casually mentioned her fan. The scene then shifted to another area of the secret realm. Ouyang-je and Yanzhengjiong were rushing forward at high speed, aiming to find pendant holders, each with their own plans to steal everything at the right moment. Just as Yanzhengjiong was burning with ambition, he suddenly stopped and stared ahead, calling Ouyang-ji to look. They slowly approached and found a corpse split clean in half, lying in a pool of dark blood. The moment Yanzhengjiong recognized the corpse, his face changed, because the one lying there was Xin Chen, eyes still wide open in death. Just minutes earlier, after being blasted away by Yi He, Xin Chen staggered up alone, gasping and admitting Yi He was a true monster, even worrying Lan Yusi might already be finished. As he walked, a strange sound suddenly echoed around him, and he spun around shouting, demanding to know who was there. From the darkness stepped a long-haired figure, holding a sword, each step heavy and filled with killing intent, enough to make Xin Chen sweat instantly. When he looked closer, he saw the opponent's eyes were abnormal, each with a second pupil locking onto him, like marked prey. The moment he recognized it, his whole body trembled as he stuttered in terror, "Dragon." Above them, a broken streetlight suddenly sparked with electricity. As if power returned, the lamp lit up the dark street. The light exposed Xin Chen's shadow on the ground, and in the next second, the dragon mask slashed him clean in half, blood spraying everywhere. The dragon mask showed zero mercy, treating Xin Chen like nothing more than an insect, walking past with 2 pendants in hand. Back to the present, Yanzhengjiong studied the body in shock, but Ouyang-je immediately confirmed it was Chen Long, the dragon of the zodiac, because only that mask could kill with one absolute strike. Yanzhengjiong questioned how dragon could appear here when it was supposed to stay in the underground parking lot, and Ouyang-je explained they once led over 20 people there to hunt it. After that encounter, only 2 survived. Seeing their classmates blood soaking the street, Yanzhengjiong finally felt a chill, realizing this trial was far from fake. Even Ouyang-je, always calm, turned pale and trembled slightly. Yanzhengjiong asked what they should do next since Xin Chen's pendants were gone, but Ouyang-je kept his head lowered in silence. He then analyzed that dragon likely moved because certain conditions were met. Maybe all other masks were cleared, making it the final boss now free to hunt pendant holders directly. His aura suddenly exploded with determination, as he declared that facing dragon head-on was suicide, so the only way was to seize pendants before dragon did. Releasing his power, Ouyang-ji leapt into the air as radiant wings unfolded behind him, and he shouted, "Bloodline awakening, golden-winged rock." Hovering above, he told Yanzhengjiong that hiding was pointless now, and they needed to send out signals to lure other pendant holders for one decisive battle. From the sky, Ouyang-je spread his energy to scan the area, clearly aiming to find and take every remaining pendant. In another corner of the dead city, Liu Qingju leaned against a wall in exhaustion, weakly muttering that she never expected entering Hua University would drag her into this nightmare where so many freshmen were slaughtered by the dragon mask. She looked down at her exhausted body and recalled that a teacher once appeared but could only save one person, and at that time she chose to stay. With nothing else to hold on to, Liu Qingju opened her phone and stared at a photo with Yi He, whispering that she had to warn that idiot not to come here. She leaned against the wall thinking of him again, believing that with his strength he would be fine, as long as he didn't run into the dragon mask. Suddenly, a strange feeling crept up her spine, and she instantly looked back with sharp vigilance. Her eyes widened as a terrifying thought surfaced. Had she been discovered? She quickly analyzed the situation and realized running was useless since her aura was already locked. So if she couldn't fight, she would lure them somewhere else. The one chasing her was Ouyang-je, flying through the sky with his bloodline ability, while searching for weaker targets, and he grinned the moment he spotted Liu Qingju below. He remembered hearing about the fallen Liu family and the awakening of the Nether Sparrow bloodline, and after noticing the ox pendant on her, he knew this was a gift from heaven. From above the buildings, Ouyang-jae tracked her movements and laughed when he saw she was trying to lure him to the underground parking lot, unaware that Dragon had already left. He flapped his radiant wings and soared higher, shouting to Yan Zhengxiong to wait as he went to capture her first. Reaching the building where Liu Qingju had hidden, he unleashed a crushing attack from the sky that tore through the floors like they were paper. The structure collapsed quickly as Ouyang-jae descended with blazing wings, declaring that Liu Qingju had nowhere left to run. But just as he felt victory was certain, a strange sound echoed beside him, and his expression instantly changed in shock. Turning around, he saw a distorted shadow in the darkness with a grotesque dragon head, and in that second he recognized the killing intent of Chen Long. Panic finally took over as he realized facing this monster meant almost no chance of survival. Then it hit him that he was carrying 4 pendants, making him the most tempting target in Dragon's eyes. The dragon mask's abnormal eyes flashed as terrifying killing intent crushed down on Ouyang-jae, leaving him with no escape and no clear thought. The dragon-headed figure stepped closer, darkness spreading behind it, while Ouyang-jae stood frozen under overwhelming physical and mental pressure. After sensing just a fraction of that power, he muttered in horror that this was a domain, as everything around him seemed completely locked in place. His face turns darker by the second, teeth grinding hard enough to creak. One glance at the caster's eyes is enough to drag you into this special space. The only way out is to kill the one who made it. This time, Hez truly cornered. The dragon-headed figure suddenly vanishes. A moment ago it was 100 steps away, now it's right in front of him. That black dragon head and those blood-red eyes crash in like a living nightmare. Ouyang-jae knows instantly, it's here. He doesn't dare fight back. He folds his wings and curls up to defend. The dragon-headed attacker keeps circling him, slashing non-stop like a storm. Ouyang-jae can only grit his teeth and endure. The dragon-headed man grows more insane with every strike. His mouth stretches wide in a terrifying roar. The glowing sword in his hand swings wildly as he charges like a demon unleashed. Just watching it sends chills down your spine. The scene suddenly shifts to another battlefield. On Yan Zhengxiong's side, things aren't any better. Hez being forced on the defensive, barely holding on under constant attacks. The one attacking him is Yi He. Smoke still rises from his palm after that last blow. He glares at Yan Zhengxiong and asks who dared to blast a system announcement to provoke everyone. Behind Yi He, Chuzhou still holds his heat-emitting sword. He steps forward and says he wants to handle this himself, to test how strong Hez become. Yi He looks slightly surprised. But Yan Zhengxiong won't surrender that easily. He activates his ability, grabs his greatsword and leaps high. A roaring phantom tiger appears behind him. He shouts that they shouldn't think Hez easy prey. Chuzhou calmly raises his sword. His eyes glow faintly. In a chilling voice, he says just 2 words, ice veins. The sword slash shoots toward Yan Zhengxiong, but unexpectedly, his counterattack shatters the incoming ice. Clearly, Hez no weakling. After breaking the first move, Yan Zhengxiong grins smugly. He looks at Chuzhou like victory is already his. He charges again like a beast out of control. His massive blade slams down on Chuzhou's smaller sword. Chuzhou calmly steps back and deflects with clean, precise movements. But as he turns, Chuzhou's eyes suddenly change. He sees something ahead. Yan Zhengxiong seizes the moment and brings down another heavy strike. Chuzhou blocks with both hands. Sparks explode everywhere, and the impact makes his arms tremble. Growing impatient, Yan Zhengxiong roars his technique. Sword intent. Fallen soul. Chuzhou frowns. Has he merged with his sword? If his opponent is going all out, Chuzhou won't hold back either. He awakens his power. A massive ice dragon manifests behind him. It bears sharp fangs, cold breath surging out. Frost spreads from its scales, freezing the surrounding space. The longer they fight, the stronger Yan Zhengxiong's aura becomes. The phantom tiger behind him roars against the ice dragon. Its eyes lock on the target as Yan Zhengxiong swings his great blade down without hesitation. Ice dragon versus fierce tiger. Neither side gives an inch. The ice dragon fires endless razor-sharp frost attacks, while Yan Zhengxiong counters like a madman. The shockwaves collide so violently it feels like the air might explode. While the battlefield shakes, Yi He is in a completely different mode. He casually drags over a rock and sits down, resting his head on his hand like Hez about to nap. The two fighting beside him don't even catch his attention. But mid-fight, Yan Zhengxiong suddenly senses something from his ally. His face changes. Is Ouyang-jae calling for help? His mind wavers for a split second, and he quickly retreats to dodge. His focus is no longer steady. Chuzhou doesn't miss the chance and presses forward. Yan Zhengxiong grits his teeth and roars in frustration. If he didn't have urgent matters, he would have broken a few of Chuzhou's bones by now. But leaving isn't that easy. Yi He finally steps in. He stomps the ground, energy exploding as he dashes straight at Yan Zhengxiong. With an annoyed glare, he snaps, "You think you can drop a cool line and run? Did I say you could?" Yan Zhengxiong turns around and instantly feels a crushing pressure. His whole body freezes. What the hell is this? Yi He clenches his fist and throws a straight punch. Yan Zhengxiong reacts fast, raising his great blade to block. But the impact is so fierce it triggers an explosion, dust blasting everywhere. He thinks he blocked it. He's wrong. Yi He's power is way beyond his expectations. Yan Zhengzhong is sent flying dozens of meters, spinning midair like a kicked ball. He crashes to the ground and coughs up black blood. Struggling to stand, he feels like he was rammed by a monster. Yi He laughs and says, "Yeah, that was me. Your scream was annoying, so I added a bit more force." Yan Zhengyong can't believe it and asks if that was a sneak attack. Yi He smirks. "Not a sneak attack. You're just too slow." That line makes Yan Zhengxiang's eyes turn red with rage. Blood drips from his mouth, but he still roars that hell kill Yi He. Sadly, 3 minutes later, that towering aura is gone. Blood pours from his nose and mouth. He lies there like a stranded fish. Yi He casually tells him not to feel too bad. Lasting 3 minutes against him is already impressive. Chen Xin got knocked out in one punch. Yi He then picks up the massive great blade and weighs it in his hand. He grins and says it's pretty heavy. Maybe he'll borrow it for a bit. Yan Zhengxiong trembles on the ground, not even daring to object. Yi He channels his Godzilla energy straight into the blade. After observing it for a moment, he nods and says it still needs a little reinforcement. In the blink of an eye, the great blade transforms. Layers of Godzilla scales cover it, and its aura surges to a whole new level. He looks at his upgraded weapon with a satisfied grin. Now this feels right. Right then, Chuzhou walks over holding something. He says he couldn't find the pendant in the opponent's storage space, but he found this instead. Yi He leans in with curiosity. In Chuzhou's hand is a pendant different from the others. It keeps flashing, like it's sending out a signal. The scene shifts back to Qianlong's domain, where Ouyangze is being completely crushed. Ruins are everywhere. The whole area feels cut off from the outside world. Ouyangze is so battered, he's barely recognizable. One arm is gone. The other is nearly useless. His wings are shredded, feathers scattering in the wind. Blood covers his body, yet he forces himself to stand. Blood keeps flowing from his head. His breathing grows weaker by the second. He lets out a bitter laugh. So this is how it ends. In front of him, Qianlong floats in the air. Blood drips from the weapon in his hand. Even on the verge of death, Ouyangze grits his teeth and thinks of his final move. He used the chi-locking nail from the secret realm. If it pierced the heart, it would seal the enemy's power and weapon. Looking closely, there is indeed a nail stuck in Qianlong's chest, but Ouyangze can only sigh in despair. He sacrificed an arm for that chance and still missed the vital spot by inches. He has no strength left to fight. Ouyangze lowers his head and accepts his fate. The massive dragon head slowly approaches, ready to devour him. His only chance to kill the monster is gone. After finishing Ouyangze, the domain created by Qianlong slowly fades. He then leaves to search for his next target. Ouyangze is pinned to a wall, a sword stabbed deep into his chest. His eyes are wide, mouth open in agony, blood pouring down. Looks like hell never returned to see Hongxi again. Somewhere else, Liu Qingju rushes up a staircase with all her strength. Each hurried step pushes her forward. The rooftop is close. After escaping Ouyangze, she has no choice but to run to the top of the building. Gasping for breath, the image of that monster fills her mind. Qianlong is terrifying. Even Chou Niu can't compare to it. Liu Qingju's face turns paler by the second. She knows Ouyangze can't hold on much longer. Once he's done, she's next. If she wants to survive, there's only one way. She has to wait for Yi He to come and take her out of here. This is the highest point already. Yi He once used a signal to mark his location. Now it's her turn. Liu Qingju gathers her remaining energy and shouts as she activates her bloodline. Nether vermilion bird, awaken. Centered on her, divine wings spread wide. Waves of energy ripple outward in all directions. Her only hope is that Yi He can feel it. But her exhausted body can't handle the strain. She collapses to the floor. Gritting her teeth in pain, she whispers, hoping Yi He notices the signal. Suddenly, chilling sounds echo around her. Footsteps grow clearer. Something is approaching. Liu Qingju forces herself up. Her expression changes instantly. Even before seeing it, she feels something is wrong. She leans over the edge and looks down the building. Her body freezes. Qianlong is walking straight up the vertical wall like gravity means nothing. The sword in his hand and the killing aura around him make it look like a living nightmare. Her face turns ghostly pale. She trembles uncontrollably. He found her this fast? This is bad. She has to send a warning so Yi He stays away. Those terrifying eyes appear again. Qianlong's glowing pupils lock onto his next prey. Standing on the rooftop, Qianlong uses the same move. A domain expands instantly, sealing Liu Qingju inside and cutting the area off from the outside world. He calmly steps into his own created space. Nothing can stop him. In front of this monster, Liu Qingju can only retreat. His dragon eyes flash strangely, even showing a hint of excitement. He raises his sword, ready to finish her. In Liu Qingju's desperate gaze, the glowing blade draws closer. Tears spill down her face. Her voice trembles. It's over. There's no time. But at that exact moment, a massive explosion erupts in the air, growing louder and more violent. Yi He appears. He shatters Qianlong's domain and charges in with the great blade he borrowed from Yan Zhengxiong. Without hesitation, he kicks Qianlong straight in the face, forcing him to stumble. Yi He shouts that he promised her guardian he would protect her, and he never breaks his word. Just when all hope seemed lost, Liu Qingju sees Yi He. Her eyes instantly redden. In that moment of despair, he arrives like a beam of light. She blurts out in disbelief, "Yi He?" Qianlong quickly shifts his attention to Yi He. His gaze turns cold and irritated. He snorts and steps back slightly. From his expression, it's clear he treats Yi He differently. Theories caution there. He doesn't waste time. He charges straight in, shouting up at him. "What the hell are you supposed to be, you dragon-faced freak?" Before Qianlong can respond, Yi He unleashes a heavy slash infused with Godzilla power. The crushing force slams down. Yet Qianlong calmly raises his slender sword and blocks it without changing expression. Yi He's blade sweeps across like it wants to split the entire battlefield in half. The building they stand on cracks open from the top floor all the way down. Yi He quickly turns to Liu Qingju. "Chu Zhou and that Earth-type guy are in the East Alley. Go there first." She nods, still worried. Standing atop swirling Godzilla smoke, Yi He tells her to relax. "Let's see what this dragon-faced guy is really capable of." With that, Yi He shoots forward at terrifying speed. From above, he dives straight toward Qianlong's last position. Dust and smoke explode, swallowing his figure. The building where Liu Qingju stood is now split clean in half, the center buried in thick smoke. If Qianlong survived that strike, he's definitely not easy to deal with. Yi He lands on the ground, plants the great blade down, and scans his surroundings. That strange sound echoes again. Slow footsteps draw closer. The dragon-headed man is still here, dragging his glowing sword along the ground. Yi He grips his great blade and rolls his wrist to loosen up. He grins. "Another domain? I knew this place was messed up the moment I felt Qingju's signal. What, you only know how to fight hiding in your little space?" Then Yi He notices the nail stuck in his chest. It's only partially embedded, yet he can't pull it out. After connecting the dots, Yi He narrows his eyes. So this is the plan Yan Zhengzhong mentioned to deal with Qianlong. Yi He's last slash tore off the dragon-headed man's outer layer, revealing a twisted, muscular upper body. He suddenly charges forward, dark aura exploding violently. This time, He's truly enraged. The stronger the opponent, the more excited Yi He becomes. He pulls the great blade back, Godzilla energy flashing in his eyes. "Fast, I like it." Yi He lifts the blade off the ground. Around them, the dragon-headed man's dark domain keeps spreading. The dragon-headed man slashes first. Yi He meets him head-on. Their weapons collide, pressure exploding outward. The opponent keeps forcing him back. This is the monster who terrified every student in the secret realm. Yi He roars. "Who even rated you at this level? I'm waiting for your next move." At that moment, the surrounding buildings start shaking, like something is crushing them. In a blink, a nearby building is sliced into 3 pieces mid-air. Blue and red streaks flash past so fast it's impossible to follow. Debris rains down everywhere. At the same time, the 2 streaks of light, Yi He and the dragon-headed man, shoot upward and crash into each other again above the ruins. The battle explodes in the sky. Every strike Yi He throws is matched instantly. No one backs down. Blade and sword energy collide non-stop, sending shockwaves across the area. The dragon-headed man completely loses control. His mouth stretches wide, a long twisted tongue hanging out. He looks like a beast gone mad. His energy-charged sword slams down at Yi He. Yi He reacts fast and blocks with his great blade. But the force is terrifying. He grits his teeth just to hold it. No one expected such a violent burst of power. With one heavy slash, the dragon-headed man forces Yi He from the sky straight into the ground. The impact detonates like a massive explosion, light flashing as debris blasts everywhere. But within the sea of dust, streams of blue nuclear energy slowly crawl outward, spreading across the battlefield. The dragon-headed man's expression changes instantly. His eyes widen. He senses the danger rising below. Then the ultimate scene begins. Godzilla Yi He opens his mouth and fires a nuclear beam straight ahead. The dragon-headed man is blasted through multiple buildings, shattering them like fragile stones. As the dust settles, a massive figure steps out of the ruins. Yi He is now fully in Godzilla form. He wipes his mouth after the blast and laughs. "Finally in this world, I've met a real opponent." Yi He locks his gaze onto him. There's no fear in his eyes, only pure excitement. An opponent like this won't fall easily. From the mountain of rubble, one of the dragon-headed man's arms suddenly bursts out and grips a broken wall. Even buried under debris, he shows no sign of serious injury. He stands up proudly, aura rising even higher than before. Those 4 killing eyes glare at Yi He like he wants to tear him apart. In contrast, Yi He just smirks. That's more like it. If Boss Qianlong went down that easily, where's the fun? The dragon-headed man goes completely berserk and charges. A deadly light flashes in his eyes. His sword swings non-stop, and the cracked dragon head finally splits open, revealing a human face inside. The moment Yi He sees it clearly, his eyes widen. Even he didn't expect this. In just a few breaths, the dragon-headed man's speed jumps to a terrifying level. The sword light twists forward, forcing Yi He to slide back even while blocking with his great blade. Yi He grits his teeth and holds his ground, eyes analyzing everything. Once the mask shattered, both speed and strength skyrocketed. What stands out most now are those 4 blazing pupils. They look like they want to devour him alive. He can withstand the pressure. Sadly, the great blade he borrowed cannot. One brutal slash shatters it completely. He glances down, stunned for a second. What? My blade's broken? After destroying the weapon, the dragon-headed man tightens his grip and pulls back, preparing a finishing strike. He instantly senses something's off. The situation flips in a heartbeat. The next attack is already coming. But losing a weapon doesn't mean losing the fight. He doesn't panic. He lunges forward and bites down on the enemy's sword. It was intentional all along. His Godzilla-enhanced jaws clamp tight. The dragon-headed man freezes for a split second, completely caught off guard. He grips the blade in his teeth and smirks. Got you now. He tightens his spiked Godzilla fist. Cracking sounds echo non-stop. The dragon-headed man senses what's coming, but has out of time. He's devastating punch slams straight into his face. Nuclear force explodes on impact. Blue light engulfs him as he flails his sword wildly, unable to hit He. This round clearly goes to He. The final disguise collapses. His true face is fully exposed. His body snaps backward, eyes losing focus. The mask is shattered beyond recognition. But He isn't done. He grabs the enemy's arm and yanks him back in. Not over yet, honored guest. Yehe's excitement peaks. He clenches his fist tighter, gathers all his strength and roars. Technician number 23 at your service. Then comes a brutal combo. Nuclear-charged punches rain down on the dragon-headed man's face. He turns into a living punching bag, completely overwhelmed. Grinning wildly, fangs exposed, He calculates in his head. Temple, throat, heart, spleen, kidneys, lower core. All fatal points. The nail embedded in his body is already disrupting his meridians and blood flow. Once killing energy seeps into those spots and detonates from within, it's over. He planned everything. The dragon-headed man looks miserable now. His real face exposed, hair disheveled, aura clearly fading. Hez barely holding on. He can't even grip his sword anymore. His hand trembles before finally letting go. But this isn't random. The sword suddenly reverses direction and shoots toward He. One hand still restraining his opponent, He instantly turns his head at the first hint of danger. Reflexes. Perfect score. In a flash, the fan he once took from Lan Yusi appears in his palm. His expression turns serious. Without hesitation, he snaps the fan open and blocks the incoming strike. Thanks to that treasure, he avoids a lethal blow. Calmly, he says, I knew you hadn't given up. Your best chance to kill me was when I first appeared. Using surprise. He flicks the fan hard, sending the sword flying away. Standing firm, he continues. That would've given you maybe 30%. The moment he finishes speaking, He gathers power and swings his arm outward, shouting, Rise. Within seconds, the wind from the fan condenses into a massive tornado. The energy inside rages like a forming superstorm. The sky above darkens rapidly. The tornado keeps growing, shooting past 100 meters as demonic energy pours in and the pressure skyrockets. The dragon-headed guy gets sucked straight into the core, his body shredded mid-air like meat in a grinder, black blood spraying everywhere. He watches and smirks, saying the treasure fan is way stronger now. Then he charges in wrapped in Godzilla-like energy, glowing like a flying nuke, yelling it's not over yet. Atomic burst fist. He clenches his fist, eyes turning savage and roars first punch. Boom. The moment it lands, it explodes like a massive bomb, blue nuclear light tearing through the raging storm. The dragon-headed man gets blasted away, body torn to pieces in the air, yet he still grips his sword. But he doesn't stop. While the enemy is still falling, he dashes in again at insane speed and shouts, second punch. He throws another strike. Even with his body nearly destroyed, the dragon-headed man desperately blocks with his sword, spinning mid-air. Even after blocking part of it, Hayes sent flying through multiple buildings like a bullet out of control. After two brutal punches, Hez smashed into a giant wall, body crushed and bleeding, yet his hand still clutches the glowing sword. He slowly floats over and looks down at him, mocking that this so-called dragon is nothing special after all. As the dragon head shatters, his real face is revealed, no nose or mouth, just glowing eyes filled with hatred, still growling to kill. But suddenly, the sword he was holding is forced against his own neck, and all four of his eyes widen in shock. He appears beside him, pushing the blade with one hand, looking completely dominant, and the next second, the head drops from the sky. In the end, He takes the dragon pendant, lifts it up, and says the game is finally over. After dealing with him, He returns. Yan Zhengzheng has lost all arrogance and stands there silently. Yan Zhengzheng even kneels, but He casually walks past with his hands in his pockets and heads straight to Liu Qingju, who has been brought to safety by Chu Zhou. Seeing He back, Liu Qingju's eyes light up. She blushes and says he shouldn't have faced the dragon mask alone. Chu Zhou calmly replies that without He, the rest of them would only be a burden. Liu Qingju lowers her head, feeling useless since she's badly injured and can't even use her martial arts, wishing she were stronger. He walks over teasingly and asks what she's thinking about, leaving her flustered. Remembering something important, He holds out his hand and asks for the ox pendant, and Liu Qingju shyly hands it over. Now that He has gathered all 12 zodiac pendants, he says they should try arranging them from rat to pig. But no matter how they arrange the pendants, nothing happens, and Yi starts getting a headache. Yan Zhengzheng steps forward and explains that the dragon is different, not prey, but a hunter, so collecting its pendant was never required. As he finishes speaking, he picks up the dragon pendant. Instantly, the space around them trembles violently, and everyone panics as something activates. Thick black clouds gather above, golden lightning crashes down, and a blinding light covers the buildings like a supernatural scene. Yi is the first to notice, pointing at the sky and shouting for everyone to look. From the center of the light, a gigantic eye slowly appears, pushing through the clouds and descending toward them. The energy from that eye directly affects Yi, and he feels something wrong with his body. The giant eye begins pulling him upward, an invisible force dragging him as he completely loses control. In the next second, Yi feels like he's falling into endless space, with no direction and nothing to grab onto, screaming into the void. Suddenly, his eyes snap open, still staring forward in confusion. At the same time, all the students on the train wake up in shock, wondering if everything was just a dream, even though they all remember the same nightmare. Then the train broadcast announces that they just experienced an illusion created by the Divine Eye artifact, a test for new students of Huadu. Yi quickly understands, but the announcement continues, saying his team from N-City ranked first after collecting all 12 zodiac pendants, and Yi will receive a special reward. The entire train erupts in discussion, everyone asking who Yi is and how someone from a small city beat the big names. Right then, a green light shines on Yi, and his eyes glow as he realizes it's finally here. The system interface appears, congratulating him for dominating the trial and granting one draw, and Yi nervously asks Chuzhou for a wet wipe to clean his hands. This is a pure luck moment. Either he hits the jackpot or gets nothing. Demonic energy bursts out as the card flips, revealing a horned vampire named Rakudo, with abilities like corpse form, blood manipulation, and immortality, though compatibility is only one. Meanwhile, the train continues toward Huadu, and after that intense test, the journey finally seems peaceful. Holding the rare golden card, Yi grins to himself, excited about the vampire's future evolution that can stop time, when someone suddenly walks up and asks if he is Yi. The one who approaches is Ouyang-ze, clearly no ordinary guy, and he directly asks if Yi was the one who killed the dragon. Yi doesn't even look at him and calmly corrects him, saying it wasn't defeat, it was execution. Ouyang-ze freezes for a moment, sweat forming as he repeats, "You killed him?" But in front of everyone, he keeps his leader image and openly invites Yi to join his new faction, even offering him the president position. His attitude flips instantly from arrogant to friendly, saying Yi has the strength to break tradition and should join him. The entire train explodes with gossip, shocked that the proud Ouyang-ze is personally recruiting someone and even giving up leadership. Yet Yi cuts him off without hesitation, saying he has no interest in power or factions and prefers staying free. Ouyang-ze doesn't get angry. He simply hands over a business card and says he hopes they can cooperate someday. Soon night falls, and the train arrives at Huadu University. Chuzhou looks out the window and says they've arrived, and Yi is surprised it was that fast. The moment he sees the view outside, his eyes go wide and he can't stop staring. Huadu shines brightly and feels far beyond N-City, making Yi realize what a true metropolis looks like. The train doors open, and the martial students step off in order. Staff members guide the freshmen to line up according to their seat numbers. Yi walks forward with the crowd, along with Chuzhou and the others. But suddenly, everyone stops, faces filled with shock. In front of them stands a massive futuristic aircraft, looking like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. The freshmen quickly line up to board, and Yi notices the familiar back of Liu Qingju. He runs up and casually pokes her, calling her name, making her jump. Liu Qingju overreacts, remembering her mother's warning about keeping distance before marriage, and scolds Yi for acting so casually in public. But when Yi innocently asks why they need a plane, her anger fades into pure helplessness. She points upward and briefly explains that Huada is in the sky, a city above the clouds. It's a floating city with technology far beyond imagination, likely built because humanity was forced to evolve under the threat of monsters. The aircraft carries the new martial students into Huada's safe defense zone, beginning their journey to protect Blue Star. On the flight, Yi looks outside and notices a massive electromagnetic barrier around Huada, blocking monsters and even suppressing life signals. After landing, staff remind the freshmen to keep their student cards safe, especially country boys like Yi. His card clearly shows his name, gender, and class information. An announcement tells everyone to head to the magnetic rail station for transport to the dorms, and the system here moves insanely fast. Skyscrapers stretch into the sky with endless transport lines, like a futuristic Chongqing floating above the world. Yi acts like it's his first time in a big city, pointing everywhere and shouting in excitement, making people question his sanity. He and Chuzhou take the elevator up, and when he hears she lives on the 45th floor, he casually says, "Hell, get off first." The The moment he steps into his assigned room, he freezes, shocked by the 100-square-meter single dorm. He rushes to the high-end computer setup and ergonomic chair, yelling that this place is fully stacked. Then he storms into the bathroom and nearly loses it at the sight of a luxury massage bathtub. He throws himself onto the premium mattress, feeling like he just checked into a 5-star hotel. Just as he plans to nap, he suddenly remembers something more important. He pulls out his phone and prepares to upgrade Rakudo, logging into the Huada app and converting 30 million cash into study points. He receives over 300 points, but when he sees the exchange rate of 100,000 per point, his face turns pale. Still, he buys a pile of blue Delement magic items, confident it's enough to upgrade the template. The system thanks him and even asks for a 5-star review, and moments later, a drone delivers everything at lightning speed. Opening the box, he sees a pile of crystals and stares at them like a wolf at meat, saying hell devour them all. As soon as he consumes them, his body changes, claws growing sharp and monstrous, and the system announces Rakudo has reached perfect compatibility. He runs to the mirror and sees pale skin and black veins around his eyes, but he can clearly feel his power rising. When he grins, he notices his fangs have grown longer and sharper. Looking closer, he sees special grooves on his teeth, perfect for draining blood in one bite. Even his fingers feel unfamiliar, the claws now sharp enough to be deadly. Suddenly, Yi stares at his hand and mutters that he just thought of something crazy. Without hesitation, he drives his claw straight into his own neck, and blood bursts out like a broken pipe. Yi braces himself against the toilet, body trembling as black blood keeps dripping down his back. Blood pours from his throat and mouth like a flood. This guy really gambled his life, just to test the new power. But then the wound on his neck starts closing on its own, and the blood slowly flows back into his body as his color improves. In moments, the stab mark almost disappears, healing far faster than before, and Yi nods in satisfaction. He admires his hand and says Rakudo's regeneration is solid, but what he really wants to test is the new combat power. He heads into the private training room inside his dorm, impressed that even a university dorm comes with its own practice area. Clearing his mind, Yi enters full focus as energy surges through his body and his muscles tighten. He slowly opens his eyes, gaze sharpening, and prepares to test his new strength. Rakudo appears before him, wings spread wide, black aura pressing down like a tyrant from the abyss. He stares straight at it and orders it to come at him with a full strike. Rakudo immediately unleashes its power, bowing slightly before a violent storm of energy sweeps across the room. Its massive black wings fold inward, dark aura wrapping around it like a twisted cocoon. In a blink, its form changes into a thorn-covered figure with a rosa-shaped head and glowing red eyes, arms crossed as it stares at Yi. Without hesitation, the creature clenches its spiked fist and charges forward. Yi raises both arms to block, locking his eyes on the incoming attack. The punch slams into him, and even though he stands still to test his endurance, the force nearly blasts through his body. Looking down, he realizes the bones in his arms are basically shattered. This thing is no joke. He slides across the floor and crashes hard into the reinforced wall. But he rises again as his broken arms regenerate visibly fast, smiling and saying the power is enough. Now it's time to test time stop. The moment he activates Rakudo's ability, a gray domain spreads out from him, freezing everything inside. 1 second passes, then 2, 3, 4, and 5, as the domain keeps expanding. But cracks begin forming across the frozen space, like an egg about to shatter. Yi strains to hold it together, face turning serious as he forces himself to endure. The pressure crushes down on him. At 5.1 seconds, it feels like his ribs snap. At 5.3, blood bursts from his body, and his eyes nearly explode. The space behind him distorts violently, even the rose-headed creature resisting with shocking toughness as the entire area trembles. At 5.9 seconds, the domain finally collapses, space shattering like broken glass, and time flowing again. Yi wipes the blood from his mouth and smiles, saying 5 seconds may be others' limit, but not necessarily his. The next morning, Yi meets Chuzhou, and the two stroll casually down the road. Ever since absorbing Rakudo's power, He started finding sunlight irritating. He instinctively covered his eyes and muttered that the sun felt too harsh today. Chuz didn't notice anything strange. On the surface, He said he was fine, but deep down he knew the truth. After merging with Rakudo, his body began rejecting light, though not to the point of burning up like the original form. Chuzhou didn't dwell on it, and suddenly asked if He had seen Huada's new reform notice. Still shielding his eyes, He looked confused and asked what happened. He had been fighting Rakudo all night, so he hadn't paid attention to anything else. Seeing that, Chuzhou explained right away. This year, Huada scrapped the traditional system and switched to a mentor group model. Each student would follow one main professor per year, but could still learn from others. He asked if that meant they had to formally take a master. Chuzhou handed over her phone and said bluntly, "The one who needs to do that is me, not you." The more he listened, the less he understood. Chuzhou pushed the screen closer and told him to read the freshman group notice from last night. It clearly stated that since Dai-He collected all 12 zodiac pendants, the school granted him a special privilege to choose any mentor directly, and no professor could refuse. After reading it, Dai-He could only grimace. A reward was one thing, but did they have to announce it to everyone? The scene shifts to Training Zone A. Crowds of students lined up in long rows, chatter filling the air. The process seemed simple. 3 students entered at a time for evaluation. Then mentors selected disciples through a light system. Standing outside the test area, Di-He waved at Chuzhou and told her to go in first. He wasn't in a hurry. With his special privilege, he could choose a mentor anytime. Dai-He wandered off alone, muttering in boredom. Choosing a mentor? Just hearing it already felt pointless. But as he walked, his nose suddenly caught a strange scent. It was sweet like candy, yet mixed with a metallic tang. Taking a deeper breath, Di-He immediately confirmed it was the smell of blood. Without hesitation, he ran toward the source. His mind analyzed quickly. If it were normal blood, that would be nothing. But this carried hidden killing intent and deeply buried sin, like a dark current under the sea. Worse, it stirred the murderous instinct inside him. After tracking the scent for quite a while, Dai-He suddenly froze at the sight before him. The person he found was just a small modern-dressed girl squatting by the roadside, happily munching on a roasted sweet potato. The strange part was that the thick, bloody aura pulling him here was coming from her. Watching her bite into the sweet potato so casually, Dai-He didn't know how to react. Thinking he found the wrong person, Dai-He quickly scanned the surroundings again, but there was no one else nearby. Looking at the cute, white-haired girl in front of him, his mouth twitched. This harmless-looking kid was the source of that terrifying aura? That was hard to believe. At that moment, the girl suddenly glanced at him and let out a puzzled sound. Still holding half a sweet potato, she stared at Dai-He in surprise and addressed him arrogantly. "Kid, are you training in body-tempering arts?" Di-He was surprised she saw through him and stepped closer to ask how she knew. Inwardly, he judged her. No matter how he looked at her, she was just a child. Yet she talked like an elder and even called him kid. The girl calmly chewed and replied, "I personally helped Xiaohu perfect that martial technique." Hearing that name, Di's eyes instantly changed. He narrowed them and thought, "Xiaohu, don't tell me." The girl put her hands on her hips confidently and continued, "Lu Chenghu was my disciple over 90 years ago." Di-He reacted immediately. What kind of joke is this? Martial artists can extend their lifespan, and masters in their 80s or 90s still look strong. But how do you explain a little girl who still smells like milk? Di-He kept analyzing silently. Some special martial artists could adjust their bones to maintain a childlike form, but this silver-haired girl in front of him looked either innocently adorable or completely clueless. If this was an act, her performance deserved an Oscar. The little girl suddenly turned serious and stared straight at Di-He. "You don't believe me?" Di-He showed his doubt openly. He smirked and said calmly, "I'd rather believe Im Qin Shi Huang's. Send me 50 first, then we'll talk." The moment he finished, the world before him twisted. Everything turned blood red like a sea of gore, and he was forced to kneel before a massive guillotine. His eyes widened in shock. He was just standing on the street a second ago. Then the blade actually dropped. The pain of being severed felt horrifyingly real. His head flew off like a ball kicked away. The head rolled all the way to the silver-haired girl's feet. Even with extreme effort, Dai-He could only make broken sounds. He gasped hard, and the entire scene vanished. His body returned to normal. Di-He's eyes stayed wide in fear. An illusion? That killing intent was so pure it made him truly feel decapitated. Still shaken, Di-He screamed out 3 words in shock, "You monster." But while he was stunned, the girl casually stuffed a lollipop into his mouth. He reflexively bit down, eyes wide. She smiled and said it was her favorite strawberry flavor. Then she flipped her attitude instantly. With a cute face, she softly apologized. She said she might have used too much force and begged him not to report her to the school. She only gets 1 or 2 hours outside each week. It's very pitiful. With the lollipop still in his mouth, Dai-He could barely speak. He stared blankly and asked, "Who exactly are you?" The girl immediately struck a charming pose and introduced herself. Her name is Gongke, a super powerful grandmaster. Then she leaned in mysteriously and whispered that Huada's principal, Shi Jingwen, used to be beaten by her until he cried as a child. She even gave a proud wink. Hearing the name Gongke, Di-He froze on the spot. His legs went weak and he dropped to his knees. In his mind, he was screaming, "Gongke is the one who perfected the Xuanhuang martial arts. If she guided him, his bottleneck could finally break. And she's a grandmaster focused on killing arts. This investment is pure profit." The next second, he clasped his hands respectfully and adjusted his expression to the most serious level possible. He directly asked to become her disciple. Dai-He even looked tragic, like a wandering protagonist finally meeting his true master. Gongke stared at this lightning-speed face change and went completely blank. She could only stammer in confusion. Huh? The scene shifts back to Zone A of Huada. Top-tier teachers of the academy were seated across the entire observation area. Students whispered non-stop. Rumor says even the deans of the largest academies came personally this time. If chosen by one of them, your future is basically secured. But someone quickly argued back. There are 5 deans here. Why would they care about ordinary freshmen? Another replied immediately. They didn't come for nothing. They are all here because of Dai-He, the one who cleared the 12 Zodiac Challenge. The freshmen had no idea that the 12 Zodiac City competition was live-streamed to all Huada faculty. From the moment the subway announcement appeared, every student's reaction was evaluated. The school's AI used big data to analyze expressions, behavior, and decision-making. Those who rushed in recklessly without a plan were heavily penalized. Later, during the fights with the Zodiac mask figures, combat IQ, real battle skill, and leadership became key scoring criteria. Even those who failed to secure the final target could still receive high ratings if they stood out in any aspect. But Dai-He was completely different. From start to finish, he was the only one who received full marks. Even so, that alone wouldn't have brought all 5 deans here. What truly shocked them was that Dai-He killed Boston Long, an extra target outside the challenge design, a monster that almost guarantees death upon encounter. At this moment, a scruffy bearded professor looked at the freshman below and spoke to the female teacher beside him. Perhaps even Dai-He doesn't know what level of figure he just dealt with. Boston Long was a model created by Xia Nation's supercomputer Manhwa, based on the admission data of Fu Hongsheng from that year. Even though the supercomputer couldn't fully recreate the sacred double pupils inside the Dream Sea illusion, Fu Hongsheng was the strongest martial artist in Xia Nation's history, maybe even the world. His record at Huada has stood unbroken for 100 years. Yet Dai-He defeated a model trained on data from a gaudier figure like that. It wasn't the full original power, but it was more than enough to prove his terrifying talent. As long as nothing goes wrong in his growth, he'll at least become a grandmaster, maybe even a great grandmaster. All they had to do now was sit calmly and wait for Dai-He to choose a master. But right then, someone rushed in with urgent news. The man gasped that Dai-He had already taken a master, and it was Gong Ke, former professor of Dita, now a special grade staff member. The professors who had been waiting nearly jumped out of their seats. All that effort for nothing. The scene cuts back to Dai-He and Gong Ke. Dai-He was clinging to Gong Ke like glue. No matter how she tried to push him away, he refused to let go. She asked if he truly wanted to become her disciple. He confirmed without hesitation. But inside, he thought differently. This loli has to be over 100 years old. If I kneel to a little girl in broad daylight, I'm finished. Gong Ke kept trying to shove him off while loudly explaining that she had long been expelled from Dita. But Dai-He's eyes were burning with determination. He looked straight at her and said if she accepted him, he could help her regain freedom within 2 years. That sentence hit her weak spot instantly. Gong Ke's eyes shone even brighter than Dai's before. She agreed on the spot, while Dai smiled inwardly. The bait worked perfectly. Just as things seemed calm, a violent sound exploded in the air, like the atmosphere itself had been shaken. The moment they heard Dai chose Gong Ke, the professors who lost their chance teleported over, rushing straight toward them. Gong Ke glanced at them and casually said, "Looks like the gossip squad is all here."